Every night he dreamed of escaping his monotonous reality. He longed to be transported to a fantasy world. He was determined to search every corner of the world to find it. One day, his prayer was finally answered. But this was not the dream he desired. It was a nightmare. He had been reborn as a barbarian named Kettle, in a frozen hell known as the White Wasteland, filled to the brim with desolation and remnants of a forgotten world, stretches endlessly before us. A variety of overpowered monsters. For years, he has been trapped in this icy prison by a mysterious system, with its message always remaining the same: quest incomplete. Today is just another typical Tuesday in the White Wasteland. A girl with long white hair stomps down, crushing a massive scorpion monster beneath her feet. Another warrior seizes one of the scorpion's arms and tears it away with a thunderous roar. Our main character approaches with calm confidence. In a burst of purple light, he effortlessly slices the monster into pieces. He watches his screaming comrade with indifference, muttering that only barbarians would take pride in such ignorance. He's clearly had enough of these brutes. The girl suddenly appears and asks, "What's ignorant? Can you eat it?" Before he can even respond, the other two begin chomping down on the fowl. Stringy green meat served as if it's a 5-star meal. What is wrong with these people? He's in total disbelief. Didn't I just tell you that thing would kill you if you ate it? It's been less than a week, and here you are again, he growls, looking like he's on the verge of losing it. The girl and the bald man give a proud thumbs up. It was a truly noble challenge. Suddenly, the bald man's expression goes blank. He begins convulsing and foaming at the mouth. He collapses, and a torrent of green bile erupts from his mouth. The girl screams in horror. In a state of panic, she slaps him repeatedly. As the disaster unfolds, Cadell simply looks away. This isn't the life he envisioned for himself. He desperately needs a break. Meanwhile, in the wasteland, a group of mercenaries is gathered, with one of them complaining about the cold. Another person expresses that crossing the wasteland is a suicide mission regardless of the paycheck. The captain firmly shuts him down. "You all knew what you signed up for, didn't you?" "Yeah, but we didn't expect it to be this bad," the merc replies, shivering. Inside the warm carriage, an old butler listens to their bickering, completely unimpressed. He clears his throat and turns to his audience. A passenger inquired, "Are you all right, my lady?" A beautiful woman with blue hair, Melina, captivates everyone around her. Akasha simply smiles back and replies, "Yes, I am fine." Hearing more complaints from outside, the butler scoffs, finding it quite rude. But Melina is kinder. She says, "Don't be so harsh. They're the only ones willing to take this job." She looks out with concern. "Shouldn't we let them inside? They look like they're freezing." "No," the butler says firmly. "My lady, you forget the legends of this place." Melina falls silent. "You mean the monsters?" The butler shakes his head. "It's worse. Do you recall the story of the Emperor, the only person to ever return alive from this frozen hell?" He rambled like a madman about all the monsters he had encountered, from giant serpents to bears that could cause earthquakes. But his final desperate warning was this: the real danger wasn't the monsters. It was the barbarians. The butler simply dismisses it, stating that it's just a legend, of course. Melina isn't so sure. Many of the monsters he described have since been proven to be real. Yet, the butler laughs, for no one has ever truly seen a barbarian. Melina has to admit that he has a point, and that is true. Suddenly, the mercenary captain yells, "Everyone, halt! There's something out there," he says, and his partner asks what he sees. They squint into the blizzard at a swirling mass of snowflakes, struggling to see through the whiteout conditions that envelop them. A lone figure stands in the distance, but I can't quite make it out. The captain's eyes widen. "I've got good news and bad news," he says grimly. "Just spit it out," another merc yells. The captain replies, "The good news is, it's small. The bad news is, it's coming straight for us." Immediately, everyone is on high alert, gazing into the storm with a mix of fear and confusion. The captain draws his sword, his expression tense as the figure approaches. He can finally see it clearly. It's not a monster, it's a person. The man continues walking, his white hair blowing in the wind, and his bare chest revealing a warrior's build. It's Kettle. He comes to a halt, his glowing purple eyes locking onto them. The mercenaries snap to attention, utterly stunned as the man draws near. They can hardly believe their eyes. A barbarian, just like the legends, stands before them, his eyes glowing with a menacing purple light. But the guy just smiles, saying he got bored with his own people. He decided to take a stroll. He flashes a charming smile and introduces himself as Kettle, the Ashen Barbarian. He didn't expect to encounter anyone out here and is pleased to meet you. Kettle sizes them up, inquiring about their intentions and whether they are merchants with hired muscle. He offers some friendly advice: turn back. However, he already knows they won't listen. His gaze then drifts over to the carriage, where he senses someone is inside. The captain begins to panic, but Kettle simply grins and makes a shocking offer: "I'd like you to hire me." The mercenaries are stunned. Kettle clarifies that he wants to be their guide through this desolate wasteland. The captain cautiously inquires whether Kettle is an enemy. His response is utterly chilling. "If I were," he smiles, "you would all be dead by now." The threat lingers in the air, leaving the guard stood pale and completely speechless. The leader knocks on the carriage and asks his lady if she heard everything. Melina claims she heard everything. The butler is curious about what is happening. The captain conveys Kettle's offer for her to be hired, leaving the final decision in her hands. She poses the most important question: what would happen if we tried to fight him? Observing the imposing barbarian, the captain offers his candid assessment: "I would not recommend it." After a tense pause, Melina takes a deep breath and makes her decision. "Understood. Let him know we accept his offer." The captain strides forward, back to Kettle, and he delivers the "She agreed." Kettle's eye glows while a sly grin spreads across his face. A smile spread across his face. "Well, that is great news." In an instant, he finds himself standing right in front of the captain, stumbles back in shock. Kettle brushes him aside, insisting that he needs to speak with the real boss. The captain warns him not to pull any stunts, but Kettle meets his glare with a confident grin. Reluctantly, the captain has no choice but to lead him to his destination, the carriage, much to the dismay of his men. He dismisses their protests, stating that their employer, having already agreed, fighting Kettle would be tantamount to suicide. Inside, the butler is in a state of panic, but Melina urges him to calm down. Then a knock sounds at the door, and Kettle's voice calls out, "May I come in?" The butler shrieks, but Melina, after taking a moment to compose herself, remains unfazed. Taking a deep breath, she calmly replies, "Yes, come in." Outside, Kettle flashes one final triumphant smile. His plan has succeeded flawlessly. An elderly butler is sweating profusely, his face reflecting sheer terror. Across from him sits an imposing figure, a barbarian casually relaxing with his arms crossed. The barbarian's voice is surprisingly calm as he speaks, simply telling the old man to relax. He promises he has no intention of harming him, but the butler isn't buying it for a second, inwardly screaming, "Don't lie to me." Meanwhile, the blue-haired girl stares in shock, unable to believe that a legendary barbarian stands right in front of her. She manages to stammer out a greeting, and he responds coolly, "The pleasure is mine." Our guy gazes out at the blizzard, noting how surprisingly warm it feels inside. The blue-haired woman explains that it's all due to magic. He's genuinely intrigued. This guy has never seen real magic before. Looking back outside, he warns them that their chances of survival are slim. Then he adds, "That's why I will protect your lives. However, there is a catch." He informs them that there is only one condition. She nervously asks him what he could possibly want. With a slight smirk, he reveals his price. It's not gold or silver, but something far more valuable. He seeks power, but his true desire is to gain information about the world beyond the snowfields. She is completely floored by this information. He simply smirks, aware that it's a pretty sweet deal for her. And yes, what other choice does she have? She reluctantly agrees. He is pleased with her answer and asks for her name. She formally introduces herself as Melina of House Akasha. He grins back and introduces himself as Kettle, sealing the deal. We flash back to Kettle's previous life, where he was an avid fantasy enthusiast, immersed in games and surrounded by books. Then one day, he suddenly woke up as a barbarian in a frozen wasteland. There was no time for an existential crisis. The place was freezing and crawling with terrifying monsters. He did what any main character would do. He became the leader of his tribe, fighting day in and day out to survive and escape the snowfield. But every time he attempted to leave, a system would intervene. A window popped up, informing him that the quest was incomplete. Just when he was about to lose all hope, people from the outside finally began to arrive. And that's when it hit him. The world beyond the snowy prison. It was the exact fantasy world he had always dreamed of. From that moment on, he wasn't just surviving. He was grinding. He began tackling quest after quest, driven by one goal: to escape. This brings us back to the present, highlighting why information from outsiders like Melina is invaluable to him. Unfortunately, every other human he has encountered has either attacked him on sight or succumbed to madness from the cold. He feels relieved to finally be having a civilized conversation for a change. He then changes the subject, noting that he can tell that they are transporting a significant amount of weapons. He tells her he can actually hear the steel clanging in the wagons. This man has extraordinary senses. He gets straight to the point and asks if there's a war happening in the outside world. Melina confirms that the Empire and the Kingdom are at war. Kettle realizes that the outside world is not as peaceful as he once thought. She explains that the Empire has far more soldiers, but the Kingdom is holding on, thanks to two things, swordmasters and a hero. Kettle's ears immediately perk up. A hero? A swordmaster? He needs to find out what kind of power they possess. Melina realizes he has no idea what she's talking about. She asks him if he has ever heard of mysteries. Melina explains the power system in detail. It all revolves around something known as mystery. Only a small fraction of people can actually wield this power, and they are categorized into 5 tiers. First up is third rate. These guys can sense power but aren't really able to use it effectively. Then you have second rate. This is where you can truly begin to harness the power for real. Next up is first rate. Here you'll find the standard knights and mages, showcasing their power through mana or aura. But after that, things become absolutely insane. The next ranks are reserved for those who have transcended human limits. You've got transcendent beings capable of literally splitting the heavens. And the Swordmaster is one of these formidable entities. At the very top stands the hero, a legendary being who not only wields power, but also transforms the world itself. She concludes by stating that even being a lowly third rate makes you a big shot in a small town. After hearing all of this, Kettle's response is both simple and absolutely epic. He says, "I want to meet them." Melina is completely stunned. Did he really just say he wants to go meet a god-tier being? But Kettle is dead serious. He has been trapped in this frozen hell for an unknown length of time, simply trying to survive. He's trapped in his dream fantasy world, which feels more like a prison. His only true desire is to finally discover what lies on the other side. His expression hardens with pure determination as he declares his strong desire to escape this place. Then he corrects himself by saying, a confident smirk, no, he must get serious. As the carriage rumbles on, Melina finally voices the question that has been on her mind. Is he truly the Barbarian? He doesn't deny it, noting that she clearly seems to have heard of him. She confirms this, telling him that she knows him from the legend. Now, Kettle is the one who is completely surprised. There is a legend surrounding him. Melina can't believe it. How could he not know his own legend? Kettle laughs, recalling a wild night when he once met a certain guy. So that guy was the Emperor, he chuckles. He plays it cool, smirking as he tells her that the legend is probably true. He quickly redirects the conversation to the crucial matter at hand. Why are they transporting all of this across a frozen wasteland? She clearly does not want to answer, stammering as she searches for a response. Kettle's intense stare finally breaks her resolve. Her family is in desperate need of money. Turns out her family used to be wealthy merchants, but they were sabotaged by rivals and are now drowning in debt. Kettle's mind operates at lightning speed. He quickly realizes that she is selling weapons to the kingdom for their war against the Empire. His logic is flawless. The Empire possesses a vast army, which means they do not require additional weapons. In contrast, the kingdom must be in desperate need of them. He points out that high demand, coupled with low supply, results in a hefty price tag, one significant enough for her to risk her own life. He continues on, assuming that her territory must border the Empire, which is why she is taking this completely insane route. Melina is left speechless. All she can do is confirm that he is absolutely right. She's completely shaken. The legends depicted him as a mindless brute, but this guy is an absolute genius, and she wonders who he really is. Before he can respond, the carriage suddenly jolts to a stop. Then, a blood-curdling screech pierced the air. While everyone else panicked, Kettle remained focused. Remains perfectly calm. He knows exactly what is happening. They have company. Suddenly, a monstrous black slime erupts from the snow, falls gently as the entire party freezes in absolute terror. Kettle simply squints at it, but Melina confirms their worst fears. This creature is a legendary monster, straight out of the history books. She explains that this snowfield serves as a graveyard for powerful warriors, The few who survived all warned of this very beast. Kettle grins like an absolute madman and says, of course, they're chewy and make for decent snacks. Melina's jaw drops in disbelief. You eat them? He tells her to go catch it herself if she's interested, leaving her utterly speechless. But the monster isn't waiting for a dinner conversation. With a terrifying screech, it lunges directly at them. The guards quickly begin to panic. Melina screams desperately for Kettle, calling out for help, but Kettle remains unfazed. He simply crosses his arms and says he will only intervene if there is real danger. He tells a shocked Melina that he can handle it. He wants to see what the fighters from the outside world are truly made of. The slime crashes down upon them. The captain immediately calls for a shield defense. A soldier raises his shield just in time, bracing for the full impact of the monster's charge. But it's not enough. The impact is tremendous. The soldier is sent flying backward as another warrior steps forward to launch a direct axe attack. However, he too is thrown back like a ragdoll, his weapon inflicting no damage. The leader thinks quickly. He coordinates their attacks, and it truly works. A spearman wields his weapon with precision and skill, vaulting right over the beast and landing a clean strike on its side. The monster lets out a piercing shriek of pain. The warrior sees his surroundings with keen awareness, scanning the horizon for any signs of movement. Chance channels his energy into his spear and delivers an even bigger blow. With the slime staggering, the captain took a moment to assess the situation. He charges in with his own glowing sword. He shouts for his men to intensify the assault. He calls out its weak point, a concealed center. Powering up his blade, he unleashes a devastating attack, a powerful downward slash. It's a perfect hit. The attack shatters the red. The crystal core begins to glow, and the monster starts to dissolve. Victory! The mercenaries erupt in celebration, in cheers. Take a look at Keitel. He just watches, completely unimpressed. The following, a challenge arises. Now it's a group of giant wolves. One of the mercenaries becomes overconfident and declares, perhaps the rumors about this place were exaggerated. The captain quickly shuts him down, warning that they aren't even halfway there yet. Meanwhile, some of the mercenaries begin to whisper among themselves, growing suspicious of Keitel's intentions. They suspect he might be a freeloader and want to test him. One of the mercenaries breaks away from the group and approaches him directly. Melina insists that they need to talk. He reminds her that they are risking their lives for this job. She gratefully agrees, acknowledging that they are the only ones brave enough. However, there is one significant problem he cannot overcome. The so-called Barbarian, Kettle, has not lifted a finger to help. He formally requests permission to test Kettle. He wants to determine whether he deserves the special treatment he receives. Melina appears completely stunned as the mercenary captain explains the situation. He sighs, admitting that he tried to stop his men, but they simply would not listen. Kettle smirks, completely unfazed by the threat. So you want to test me? Fine by me, but not right now. The mercenary is completely caught off guard. Kettle glances up past them, weapon in hand. It seems you'll have to wait your turn. We've got company. Suddenly, a chilling presence looms over them all. A deep voice echoes, announcing that the frail mortals have arrived. The voice persists with its unsettling monologue. It seems I'll be savoring a rare delicacy today. Suddenly, a massive white serpent bursts forth from the snow, roaring at them. Bark for me, mortals. Struggle all you want. It will only make you taste better. Melina lets out a piercing scream as the guards approach. They are doing everything possible to withstand the monster's power. But a commanding voice cuts through the chaos. Enough. It's Keitel, and he looks seriously angry. He declares that they are his guests, ordering the attacker to stand down. Why are you here? The snake hisses. Has he forgotten the laws of the land? He is far outside his tribe's territory. Kettle retorts that it's none of its business. This, of course, only makes the giant snake even angrier. With a massive surge of power, the creature reveals its true form and roars. I am the snake. How dare you give orders to someone who has promised immutability? Kettle has heard enough. Then you need to be taught a lesson, he says. Before delivering a punch that unleashes a devastating shockwave, the blast strikes directly at the giant snake, generating a mushroom cloud of crackling blue energy. The sheer force of the impact is incredible, sending others flying backward. Melina is knocked off her feet as one of her men screams her name in a state of total panic. When it's over, the snake's head lies in a bloody mess in the snow. Kettle coldly remarks that you're the type who only listens after a beating. Melina can only stare, completely stunned by the display of power. Lord Kettle, she whispers in disbelief. With his eyes glowing a menacing purple, Kettle tells her he'll be right there after he finishes cleaning up the trash. He stomps on the ground, shattering it with dark energy. He then launches himself forward at blinding speed, and another massive explosion rocks the plains. A few minutes later, Melina and the butler are in shock as the mercenaries plead with Kettle for forgiveness. Inside the warm carriage, Kettle remains surprisingly calm. He tells them he understands their hesitation in trusting a total stranger. The journey continues, and somehow the butler, he has been kicked outside. Poor guy. Kettle turns to Melina, his expression blank. That said, there is something I am curious about. He wonders why a noble lady like her would personally risk her life on such a perilous trade mission. She hesitates for a moment, then admits she is the daughter of a concubine, essentially the second wife of Lord Akasha. She explains that her mother was part of a political marriage and was then completely abandoned, left with no power at all. Clenching her fist, she confesses that they are treated. They function like servants, essentially family in name only. I volunteered for this trade mission, she declares, clearly catching Kettle completely off guard. Her reason is simple, yet powerful. Someone has to set an example. A small smirk plays on Kettle's lips as she is described as intelligent, ambitious, and somewhat greedy. Melina is completely taken aback by his words. However, before she can respond, a sudden jolt from the carriage interrupts her thoughts. A voice calls out announcing that they have finally arrived. Stepping outside, her men gasp in total awe. The endless blizzard has completely disappeared, giving way to a vibrant, lush green valley that stretches out before them. After thanking Kettle, Melina remarks that her trip back will be easy since she won't be packing weapons after selling the goods. But she can't shake off his earlier comment. She turns and asks what he meant by calling her ambitious. He insists that he meant exactly what he said. He knows her well. A once powerful family is now on the brink of financial ruin. He connects all the dots. If she succeeds where the main family falters, she will emerge victorious. Everyone's loyalty is at stake. He asks, "Your goal is to seize control of your family, isn't it?" She admits he's right. Kettle simply smirks, observing that the tale of a discarded heir ascending to power is a timeless classic. Melina is shocked. This barbarian is genuinely intelligent, far more clever than anyone she has ever encountered. Considering the incredible power he possesses, an idea sparks in her mind. She asks if he has ever thought about leaving the snowfields. "How would you like to join me?" she asks boldly. He turns her down for now, explaining that he still has things he needs to take care of. Melina gracefully accepts his response. She then takes off an ornate emblem from around her neck, offering it to him as a token of their encounter. She tells him to show it to the Akasha family if he ever decides to venture into the outside world. Kettle accepts the gift, beaming with a huge grin. They go their separate ways, each hoping they will meet again someday. He watches as her carriage vanishes into the lush valley, leaving the endless snow behind. 5 years pass, and once again, we find ourselves in the endless expanse of snow. A declaration is made. At last, all conditions have been fulfilled. A series of system notifications suddenly appear, confirming that the quest is complete and the rewards have been distributed. At last, the message he has been waiting for finally appears. You may now leave the snowfields. Kettle stands at the edge of the snowy wasteland, poised to finally step into the fantasy world he has always dreamed of. With a confident smirk, Kettle looks ahead, fully prepared for a new beginning. It's time for him to take his first step into the fantasy world. In a vibrant green forest, Kettle takes a deep breath, savoring the exhilarating sense of this new realm. The scent of grass, wild animals, and fresh river water. Water is a world away from the frozen wasteland he escaped. He opens his eyes, a broad grin spreading across his face. Nice, very nice. But then, his entire demeanor changes. He turns sharply, his gaze fixed on a distant, frozen mountain peak. "You cursed snow, let's never meet again," he roars, finally savoring his freedom. This is the fantasy world he has always dreamed of, a land of pure wonder he once thought impossible to reach. The journey to get here was a total nightmare, but he survived. And now, he is going to enjoy this world to the fullest. I'm talking about magic, swords, dragons, and elves, the entire fantasy package. That burning desire for a new life was the only thing that kept him going. In the snowy plains, merely wanting to survive was never enough. As he strolls through this paradise, something shimmering in the distance captures his attention. That glow must be from a village. Finally, civilization. He is absolutely ecstatic. Finally, a civilized village in this world. He remembers attempting to communicate with the barbarians back home, but they only stared at him as if he were speaking gibberish. He really misses genuine conversation. He begins to rehearse his introduction. Should he opt for a simple hello, or go with a classic isekai line? What world is this? He decides to play it cool and be a gentleman. With a plan in mind, he sprints toward the lights. Meanwhile, in a different part of the world, in a peaceful clearing, an elderly figure sat quietly, surrounded by the gentle sounds of nature. The elf addresses his people. "Elf villagers," he declares. "From now on, this will be our home." The entire crowd of elves erupts in cheers, overjoyed to finally have a new place to call their own. One of the younger elves approaches the elder, looking worried. "Elder, is this place really safe?" he asks. The elder shoots him a confident look, but the young elf remains unconvinced. "I understand that humans can't come here," he says, "but the snowy plains are just ahead. It's a breathtaking sight. Yet, it's too close. What about the monsters that inhabit that area?" The elder simply scoffs. "Not a problem. For thousands of years, nothing has ever crossed those plains. Besides, we've put up a barrier just in case." He explains that it's a powerful barrier woven from ancient elven magic. It completely conceals their presence and prevents anyone from approaching. He adds that even if something did get through, it wouldn't matter because we have Her Majesty the Queen. He smiles, completely confident that no threat could ever reach their village. Soon, he will be proven very, very wrong. Right on cue, Kettle stepped forward and felt his hand pass through something unusual. It was like tearing a piece of fabric. He pauses, completely confused. It felt like something just tore. "Did I touch something?" He simply shrugs it off and continues on his way. However, suddenly, a sound causes him to freeze in his tracks. Peeking through the grass, he spots a small child with pointed ears. Could that be an elf? He can hardly believe his eyes. A real elf, one of the most iconic fantasy races of all time. He never dreamed he would meet one this quickly. Talk about unexpected surprises. Incredible luck. For the first time, he feels genuinely grateful to be alive. The little elf child is completely lost and on the verge of tears. "I'm scared. I think I wandered too far," they say. Suddenly, she hears a voice right behind her. Her eyes widen in pure shock. Kettle looms over her, his massive frame casting a terrifying shadow. All he says is a friendly, "Hello." The poor girl is completely petrified by the situation. The sight of him overwhelms her, and she faints from sheer terror. Kettle stands there, holding the unconscious child. A single bead of sweat rolls down his face. What just occurred? He thinks to himself that he didn't even get a chance to say anything before she fainted. "I suppose I should take her back to the village." He's already envisioning the scene. He returns. The lost child is welcomed by the grateful elves as a hero. He smiles to himself, eagerly anticipating that warm welcome. Cradling the sleeping child in his arms, he strides confidently into the elven settlement. The welcome he receives is far from what he anticipated. The elves erupt in screams of sheer terror. "A human, and he is my child." Instantly, spears are pointed directly at his face as they demand to know who he is and how he shattered their barrier. This is definitely not going as planned. The child's mother screams in pure horror, her face a mask of utter fear. The elder is in complete shock. It's impossible. This land has remained untouched by humans. The barrier was flawless. How did he manage to get in? He realizes the barrier is cracked and begins to panic. He screams for the queen, but she is out on patrol. Of course she is. Kettle attempts to explain that he is not an enemy, but they refuse to listen. An elf screams, demanding that he return the child or face their wrath. The elder's mind races as they realize the barrier was forged from ancient magic. No simple trick could have broken it. He arrives at the only logical conclusion. This was a coordinated attack. The humans must have been tracking them for years. Kettle is completely baffled. Do I really look like a... The kidnapper knows he needs to resolve this situation quickly. Just then, the little girl in his arms smiled brightly, her eyes sparkling with joy. Arms begins to awaken from her stress. He gently places her on the ground and says with a kind smile, "Go on, go back to your family." The child looks up at his kind face and her mind races with thoughts. This instantly portrays him as a terrifying, shadowy demon. So, naturally, she lets out a blood-curdling scream. She screams and sprints back toward her parents. Kettle is completely crushed. Is my face really that scary? I thought I looked pretty good back on the plains. He turns back to the elves, raising his hands. "Look, I returned the child. As you can see, I'm not your enemy." But the elder isn't having it. The hostage is free. "Everyone, attack!" In perfect unison, the elven archers draw their bows, taking aim at our utterly bewildered hero. Fire! The glowing volley of magic arrows rains down from the sky, heading straight for their target. Kettle stands there, completely dumbfounded. Can they really not hear me? He begins to realize that the elves are not what he expected. They are much more savage out here. He always believed they were a gentle people. However, in the wild, it's a matter of survival, kill, or be killed. As arrows rain down, Kettle stands there, completely unfazed, as they bounce off him like nerfed bullets. His attackers are growing desperate, shouting to keep firing, convinced that his barrier has a limit. Kettle has had enough of this. He calmly raises his hand, prepared to put an end to this little party. And in a single instant, he realized everything had changed. A massive shockwave is unleashed. The blast completely devastates the elves' position, ripping through the forest. The elven archers are sent flying. One of them screams for a barrier, but it's far too late for that. Trees are torn from the ground as the elves. They are tossed through the air, screaming in terror. This wave of destruction carves a massive path directly through the woods. When the dust finally settles, an old elf stares in total disbelief. What just happened? At the end of the trench stands Kettle. He calmly tells them, "I am not your enemy." He becomes a bit awkward, admitting, "Whoops, I guess I used a bit too much power." Suddenly, out of nowhere, a flaming object appeared. The phoenix arrow comes screaming directly for his head. It connects and erupts in a massive explosion at the very spot where he was standing. The old elf and his companion are utterly bewildered. At that moment, an elegant elven woman lands gracefully on a nearby cliff. It's none other than Helia Royce, the queen of the elves, who demands to know what's happening. The elder immediately shouts that a human has attacked them. The queen's expression hardens as she realizes that this place isn't safe for them either. Kettle emerges from the smoke unscathed. "Hey, wait! I'd appreciate it if you could listen to what I have to say." The queen and the elder are completely astonished. How is he unharmed after taking a direct hit from Her Majesty? The queen glares down from her cliff, convinced that even a powerhouse like him is after her people. Her eyes fill with disgust, revealing her deep-seated disdain for humans. She introduces herself as the queen of the Leaf Clan and knocks another arrow. Aiming a fiery arrow directly at him, she declares that he will pay the price for his greed. Kettle feels completely lost. Can't they understand me? We're speaking the same language. Is she just ignoring me? Or is the relationship between humans and elves really that strained? He sighs, realizing that talking isn't effective. He recalls a lesson. People pay attention once you land a hit. The arrow soars through the air, striking its target with precision. The crowd erupts in cheers, celebrating her remarkable skill and unwavering focus. It crackles with brilliant blue energy, but this is no ordinary arrow. It possesses unique qualities that set it apart from the rest, transforming into a massive, roaring spectral beast. Kettle responds by clenching his fist, channeling an incredible amount of power. He throws a single punch, and a devastating beam of pure energy slams directly into the magical beast. The Elf Queen can only stare, her expression a mask of utter shock. Kettle's attack completely overpowers hers. Oops, it seems he's done it again. The resulting explosion obliterates the spectral beast and crashes directly into the Elf Queen. She is thrown to the ground, defeated and surrounded by debris. Kettle scratches his cheek, pondering whether he should have held back even further. The queen looks up, her face pale with fear. She is utterly speechless. She realizes he is on the level of a transcendent being. Why would someone so powerful be here? Sweating, she makes a frantic call, urging everyone to get away immediately. Her people are taken aback, but she screams at them. Once again, they were ordered to flee for their lives. As her people escape, she turns to confront Kettle, defiantly shouting that he will never achieve his goal. Kettle feels more lost than ever. He was simply trying to have a conversation, but everything has gone completely sideways. The queen, however, is not listening. She closes her eyes and begins a powerful incantation. Suddenly, her eyes snap open, unleashing a surge of energy. A massive eruption of pure fire. From this explosive event, flames surged into the sky, illuminating the surroundings with an intense glow. A magic circle forms, and from it emerges a colossal bull made of fire. Pigo. Kettle's eyes light up with pure excitement at the summon. Resembling a kid on Christmas morning, he recalls the ugly, grotesque monsters from his home in the frozen tundra. But this a majestic bull with horns, made of blazing fire, is something else entirely. He thinks to himself, now that's the spirit. This is what a true fantasy world is all about. The queen delivers her final command. Pigo, annihilate the enemy before you. However, the highest grade fire spirit merely grumbles, expressing that contracts are nothing but a hassle. The queen immediately interrupts him, stating plainly, she understands that the stronger and more ancient a spirit is, the larger its ego becomes. She can hardly summon this creature and only secure the contract with assistance from another tribe. Fulfill the contract, Pigo, she commands, her voice leaving no room for argument. The spirit stomps its hoof, poised for battle. So, I just need to eliminate the human, right? But then it gets a good look at its target and completely freezes. Kettle stands there engulfed in a dark aura, flashing a terrifying grin filled with razor-sharp teeth. The mighty spirit is shaken to its very core. It wonders to itself, is that creature even human? A gigantic flaming bull spirit bursts forth from a magic seal, roaring with raw power. Kettle is completely losing his mind. This feels like something straight out of a fantasy novel, and he's witnessing it all in real life. But his fanboy moment is interrupted when a voice calls out to him, "You humans have intruded upon our land." The fiery bull, Pigo, glares down at him as a pathetic human dares to covet the races of nature. It threatens to turn him to ash, but Kettle remains completely unfazed. He's just confused. Pigo doesn't wait for a response. Its eyes blaze with pure fury. It digs its hooves into the ground, charging up an immense amount of power before launching its attack. And it's off. The spirit beast launches forward like a blazing meteor, poised for total annihilation. But Kettle doesn't flinch. He simply braces for the impact. The collision is intense, ripping the very earth apart. The nearby elf queen is thrown back by the sheer force of the blast. She looks up, and what she sees is utterly unbelievable. Somehow, Keto managed to catch the charging bull with one hand, gripping it firmly by the horn. This massive creature is suspended in midair, its charge completely neutralized. Kettle cracks a chilling smirk, believing that his beastly form makes him easier to handle. His eyes blaze with purple energy as he pulls back his fist, driven by a simple logic: just beat it to death. The elf watches in absolute horror, unable to believe what she is witnessing. With a single punch, Kettle lands a solid hit. A blinding flash of light erupts upon impact. The shockwave carves a massive trench through the heart of the forest. This explosion is so massive that it can be seen from space, resembling a mushroom cloud. Back on the ground, the landscape lies completely obliterated. The elf screams as the fiery flames engulf him. The aftermath rushes toward her. When the dust finally settles, she collapses to her knees, staring at the devastation. She can only whisper, "This can't be real," as she gazes at the massive crater he left with a single punch. She gazes up at Kettle, who stands calmly at the edge of the crater. Absolutely terrified, she lowers her gaze. She bows her head and pleads with him to spare her people. Kettle calmly looks down at her and says, "I am not your enemy, elf." She looks up, completely stunned by the unexpected turn of events. His words left everyone in confusion. What is happening? It turns out this was all a massive misunderstanding, a truly significant one. She bows her head in shame, expressing regret for having judged him so quickly. She explains that they believed he was an enemy because he had just returned. A lost elven child now feels terrible. Kettle understands the situation. Other humans have made them this cautious, but he still feels a bit disappointed that they didn't allow him to explain. She asks cautiously, just to be sure he's really not one of the humans chasing them. He confirms that it's his first time seeing an elf, as he hails from the White Wasteland, a place where they do not exist. Her eyes widen. The White Wasteland? Kettle truly embraces it. "They call me the Ashen Barbarian of the Wasteland." She is in complete disbelief, having never imagined that humans could survive in such a place. She wonders if others might have emerged from the Wasteland as well. Is there an army of Kettles out there? Kettle simply crosses his arms, but I seriously doubt. He explains that the Wasteland has strict rules that even giant, powerful serpents cannot defy. For some reason, a special hidden quest enabled him to bypass those rules. He's fairly certain that was a one-time occurrence, a very rare exception. The elf breathes a sigh of relief. Kettle then asks if the creature she summoned is all right. He starts to sweat a little, recalling that he, kind of punched that bull in. She assures him not to worry, explaining that it was a spirit, not a summon. Forcibly unsummoning it simply sends it back home. Feeling indebted to him, she offers to do whatever she can to assist him. Now Kettle's interest has shifted to Pete. A spirit, huh? He immediately wonders whether non-elves can also make contracts with spirits. The elf's expression shifts, and she informs him that it may not be possible. She explains that only those with a profound connection to nature can achieve it. Therefore, for someone like him, it is likely impossible. She trails off for a moment, but then an idea strikes her. "If you truly want to contract a spirit," she says, "go to the Elf of Sagrado." Kettle repeats the name, intrigued. It's the sacred land of all elves where their god resides. If it's possible anywhere, it is there. Kettle is excited, but he wonders if a human would even be permitted in a sacred elven land. Normally, that wouldn't be possible. However, with her introduction, it should work out. She'll reveal the secret location to him. Elf of Sagrado is the ultimate dream destination for anyone who studies elves. She explains that allowing a human near a place more precious than life is a significant risk. No elf would typically take such a chance. But still, she wants to pursue her dreams. She believes in him and wants to trust him. Take this with you, she says, offering him the glowing red crystal. He gratefully accepts the gem, symbolizing their new alliance. She warns him that even if he reaches his destination, the elven god may still put him to the test. She has a feeling that he'll succeed. Wishing him luck, she receives a grateful response from Kettle. She finally introduces herself as Marcelia Hazian Carusia, the Queen of the Elves. That's right, the Queen. He responds with a confident grin. Kettle the Barbarian. Without another word, Kettle stomps his foot, shattering the ground beneath him. He propels himself into the air like a rocket, leaving a trail of blue energy behind. His eyes glow as he soars through the forest canopy. He's moving so fast that he appears as just a blur. The trees rush by in an instant. From above, he resembles a comet, carving a path through the landscape and creating a massive shockwave. Meanwhile, at the border of the Varkan territory, a sudden and powerful tremor shakes the fortress. The guards are in a state of panic. They have no idea what is happening, only that something is approaching quickly. A massive object plummets from the sky, trailing smoke as it descends directly toward them. With a heavy thud, a figure lands, embodying the essence of a superhero. The landing kicked up a massive cloud of dust. The guards are frozen in terror, fully aware of who has just dropped in on them. Meanwhile, Kettle casually approaches the guards and greets them with a simple, "Hi, nice to meet you." The guards are stunned, each of them thinking, "The loud noise we just heard, was it him?" One guard squints to get a better look. Okay, Ash. With gray hair and a prominent scar on his chest, the gears are turning in his mind. And then it hits him like a ton of bricks. Wait a minute, could this be the legendary Ashen Barbarian? Our boy takes one small step forward, and suddenly, bam! The guards draw their swords as if their lives depend on it. He throws his hands up and says, Whoa, chill out, guys. I'm friendly, I promise." The lead guard remains skeptical, his tension palpable as he demands to know what the giant wants. The Barbarian, a fierce warrior from the wilds, embodies strength and resilience. With a rugged appearance and a fierce determination, he navigates a world filled with danger and intrigue. His skills in combat are unmatched, and his loyalty to his tribe is unwavering. As he faces formidable foes and treacherous landscapes, the Barbarian's journey is one of survival, honor, and the relentless pursuit of glory. Just points, not at them, but beyond them, right at the castle wall. He said, "I would like to visit your territory." The guards, they just stare, completely baffled. Is this guy for real? Next thing you know, he finds himself in an interrogation room. The guard says, "So you just want to pass through, right? If possible, I'd like to stay for a bit," he says, then introduces himself as Ketal. The guard asks for ID, and Ketol responds that he doesn't have any. Of course, he doesn't. But then a memory strikes him, a flashback to Myelena, presented him with a beautifully crafted crest. Back in reality, he slaps the crest on. "Will this work?" he asks, looking at the table. The guard is shocked. Ketol explains that it is from House Akasha is quite significant, it seems. The guard recognizes the name, a powerful merchant family from another kingdom, is making strategic moves. He remains skeptical. It looks real, but verifying it with another kingdom is a hassle. Finally, he agrees. But of course, there's more to the story. There's a catch. There's always a catch. They need Kettle to complete their mission and prove that he is not a threat. The challenge is to team up with 3 other strangers, form a party, and clear a dungeon to demonstrate their worth. Kettle believes this task seems incredibly easy. "Sure, why not?" he says with a bright smile. But here is the fine print. After the dungeon, he must report everything that transpired. Kido understands right away. It's a clever plan to have all the newcomers spy on one another. Very smart. The guard is a bit flustered that he figured it out so quickly. "Really a barbarian?" Keto proudly confirms. "I am." The guard is taken aback. He believed barbarians were merely savage and uncivilized. He quickly wraps things up after that. Meanwhile, in the waiting room, we meet our next winner, Alessandro Tyrannus. A self-proclaimed, a paladin, enters a dungeon, accompanied by a rat that targets people's pouches. "This is so tragic," he mutters. A thief named Casson Hark hears him and immediately starts taunting him. "You picking a fight, old man? Are you upset because a thief ripped you off?" Tyrannus erupts in anger, calling him a bastard. Casson simply laughs in response. His armor was so ragged that it raised doubts about whether he was even a real paladin. He even calls Tyrannus a bottom feeder, just like himself. The paladin is absolutely fuming now, but the final straw comes when Casson makes fun of his name. That's all there is to it. Sword as Casson grins, completely prepared for this moment. He pulls out a dagger, its blade glistening with a fresh coat of liquid. With poison? You think your tin can armor can protect you from this? He challenges. Their blades clash, but a third figure suddenly appears, interrupting the fierce duel. A nun steps in to break it up. All people, could you please stop? Meet Hayes, the cleric. She is already questioning how she will manage to clear a dungeon with these two clowns by her side. She knows they're waiting for one more person and is already dreading who it might be. Just then, the door swings open, and the guard announces that their final party member has arrived. In walks a massive shadow of a man, towering and imposing, with glowing purple eyes. What an entrance it was! The entire room goes silent, with everyone staring in complete disbelief at the sheer size of this absolute unit. Keatle breaks the silence with a big, friendly smile. Heya, are you guys my new party? They are terrified. Terenas is deep in thought. He is enormous. Hayes is contemplating whether Hikasan feels the weight of human expectations pressing down on him. The guard steps away, allowing them to get acquainted. Katal, completely unaware of the situation, cheerfully begins the introductions. Hi, I'm Katal, and I'm a barbarian. He looks at Kassan, who is sweating profusely as he stammers that he is a thief. Next up is our armored friend, proudly puffing out his chest. I am a paladin, Alessandro Tyrannus. Keatle quickly seizes on this. Oh, a paladin? So you wield holy power? Terenas begins to sweat. Normally, that would be the case, but as a special kind of paladin, I am unable to use it. The nun steps forward, appearing a bit nervous. I am Hayes, a cleric of Colossia. She introduces herself. Keatle's expression turns serious. A cleric, and yet they're still questioning your identity. She becomes quite flustered. After all, my god is the god of lies and deceit, so he isn't exactly the most popular figure. Keatle simply replies, I see, and the room falls into a heavy silence. A paladin stripped of holy power and a cleric who thrives on deception. What an intriguing duo. Fortunately, the guard intervenes to ease the tension. Everyone ready? Let's go. They exchange glances, and no one appears to be happy about this situation. Hayes and Kassan look particularly miserable, clearly questioning what they did to deserve this situation. After a brief walk, their hooded guide comes to a halt. We are here. Keatle looks up, appearing somewhat surprised by the view. In a forest clearing, they stand before a dark cave. This is the dungeon they need to clear. All right, let's start the raid. What's the plan? Keatle asks Kassan while Dude flinches at the sight. He stammers and addresses the barbarian as Sir. Keatle simply laughs it off and tells Kassan to relax with the formalities, reminding him that they're a team now. Feeling totally embarrassed, Kassan attempts to play it cool as he begins to outline the strategy. His plan follows classic RPG 101. The warriors are positioned at the front. The thief checks for traps while the cleric provides support from the back. Solid teamwork. Keatle is completely on board with it, but Kassan already seems to be regretting this entire adventure. With the so-called plan in place, Keatle takes the lead and prepares to charge in. The team ventures into uncharted territory, ready to face the challenges that lie ahead. This dark, icy cave. Hayes is already feeling spooked, whispering about how dark it is. Meanwhile, Kassan's instincts are on high alert. He finds the absence of traps to be highly suspicious, and just like that, he spots something. He held out his hand to stop Keatle, warning him that there were monsters ahead. Keatle looks down and sees bone fragments scattered everywhere. It's a skeleton party, and they're about to rise up and attack. Kassan quickly realizes this is a setup. This isn't a test, my friends. It's an ambush intended to eliminate them. Keatle is incredibly curious about skeletons. Kassan explains that skeletons are no joke. Apparently, they're like the Terminator. They just keep coming, even if you chop off their limbs. Additionally, their bones provide a significant boost to their defense. The difficulty of this dungeon has just skyrocketed. Kassan shifts into leader mode, instructing the cleric to prepare her buffs. He instructs the warrior to gear up and tells Keatle to prepare for battle. Keatle simply replies, got it, believing Kassan to be some sort of tactical genius. The irony is truly beautiful. All right, it's showtime. Keatle steps forward. That single step is all it takes. His skeleton begins to awaken. Keatle's face reflects pure amazement as the skeleton comes to life with a clatter. The rest of the team is in a panic, preparing for a fight. The skeleton warrior charges directly at Keatle, swinging a sword that's larger than my student debt. But Keatle just slaps it, and bam, one. A single punch is all it takes to completely shatter it. Oops. The skeleton is transformed into a glittering pile of bone dust. The rest of the party is left in stunned silence, their jaws dropped in pure, unadulterated shock. Keatle simply smirks and says, "Ha, so, removing the head really does work. No joke, Sherlock." Kassan appears utterly defeated. That's not what I intended at all. What Ketel just accomplished should be impossible. These skeletons are enhanced with dungeon mana, which makes their bones incredibly tough. Normally, you would need to chop at their neck like a lumberjack. Taking down the skeleton in one shot is truly unheard of. Keeson is utterly stunned. He knew the guy was strong, but this is an entirely different level of overpowering. Now the entire team is trembling, questioning whether this absolute monster is even human. Meanwhile, Ketal just cracks his knuckles. Knuckles crack and grins spread wide. Alright, let's keep this party going. The others quickly snap to attention and rush to follow him. He reassures them that there is no need to rush, but his terrified demeanor suggests otherwise. Teammates salute and shout, "Yes, sir." Their inner monologue is quite straightforward. They desperately do not want to die here. A short while later, Ketel comes to a sudden halt, a puzzled expression crossing his face. His foot collided with something. The entire party freezes, staring down at the terrifying skull that now lies on the ground. And just like that, another skeleton comes to life with a clatter. The team watches intently, in pure horror. Yes, round 2 is officially starting now. Ketel turns to them and calmly asks, in the midst of an undead ambush, he wants to take them all on by himself. Apparently, he's eager to test something out. They quickly reach an agreement. Smart move, everyone. Ketal thanks them, and his eyes begin to glow with an intense purple light. Things are about to get interesting. He casually strolls up to the skeleton as the party watches. From a safe distance, I wondered what this guy was up to. He leans in close, examining it like a science project. His genuine curiosity about how it is constructed is evident. The skeleton isn't backing down and takes a swing, but Ketel halts it mid-swing using just 2 fingers. He breaks the blade in half and looks at the skeleton, silently asking, "What now?" A broken blade won't hold old Skelly back. It lunges forward and takes another swing. Instead of dodging, Ketel quickly grabs. The skeleton is positioned by the wrist. He flashes a brilliant smile and says, "Then how?" He is clearly enjoying this way too much. With a crunch, he shatters the skeleton's hand, causing it to fall to the ground. He watches it, utterly captivated. The poor skeleton stares at its broken hand, utterly confused. Question marks hover above its head, but confusion quickly turns to rage as it lets out the creature lets out a battle cry and swings its massive sword with its other hand. It even features a fancy weapon toss, catching it effortlessly. It's in good hands to keep fighting. That's some serious skill for just a pile of bones. Ketal is genuinely impressed. He says, "Oh, so you know how to switch hands?" The skeleton charges forward, but its attack is ineffective. Stopped in its tracks, Ketel casually catches its wrist. With virtually no effort, he breaks off. On the other hand, the skeleton is sent staggering backward. But wait, it's not over yet. The skeleton lunges again, this time wielding its arm like a sword. Ketal is amazed by its ability to substitute parts of itself as weapons. Its intelligence is remarkably high. This brutal display is a bit overwhelming for the party that looks like they're about to lose their lunches. They can only watch and tremble in silence. This man is a true barbarian, and we can't help but feel sorry for that poor skeleton. With a menacing crack, our glowing-eyed warrior, the barbarian, puts the unfortunate skeleton in its place. Its skull rattles to the ground, and believe it or not, the main character starts rolling around, filled with amazement. It can move with only its head, he mutters, finding it amusing. And with a crunch, he stomps on the poor creature. Then, the vibe suddenly shifts from that of a psycho killer to a friendly neighbor. He apologizes for the delay. Casson, who was on the verge of wetting his pants, frantically, he insists it is no problem at all. Thanks, I guess, Cassil replies. Then he turns to leave. Then it was time to go. The rest of the party nervously. They agree, as if they have a choice in the matter. A while later, the group comes to a stop stood at the base of a massive staircase. They finally reaching the 2nd floor, we encounter even more stairs. The atmosphere is charged with tension. The entire party looks exhausted from the ascent. Casson cautiously suggests that they take a short break. To his absolute relief, Ketel actually agrees. Casson weeps with overwhelming emotion. As the party begins to unravel, gratitude fills the air. Ketel simply sits and observes. He breaks the silence by saying he has a question. He admits that he's not very knowledgeable on the subject. This should be interesting. Hayes, feeling a bit flustered, encourages him by expressing that a desire. Learning is a virtue. She then asks him what he wants to know. Ketel poses a surprisingly logical question. Why? A dangerous dungeon shouldn't be allowed to exist so close to a populated town. Hayes explains that monsters generally remain hidden. Inside, any exceptions are addressed promptly. Casson jumps in, explaining that dungeons are a natural part of the adventure experience. They can resemble caves or even towering structures of doom. The key detail he adds is that they tend to appear near densely populated areas. How convenient for our heroes. Hayes continues, stating that when a dungeon appears, the local lord hires mercenaries like them to handle the cleanup. Ketal clarifies that dungeons never appear directly within a town. They are always located a certain distance away. Alessandro confirms this. It's a bit suspicious, isn't it? Suddenly, Ketal's eyes light up as he asks the most important question of all. Is there a reward for clearing them? Hayes confirms that for a dungeon of this size, defeating the final boss is likely to drop some seriously valuable loot. A dark, knowing smile spreads across Ketal's face, reflects his thoughts. It's just like the game. Hayes overhears him but quickly brushes it off, saying he was talking to himself before shifting the subject. He then poses a question that leaves everyone stunned. Who creates these dungeons? Now we're getting to the interesting part. Hayes replies that dungeons are simply a natural part of the landscape. However, Keto, he isn't buying it for a second, stating that there are too many oddities. He points out that they conveniently appear near towns, almost as if they are strategically placed. As if they are beckoning exploration and enticing adventurers with hidden treasures. For a natural event, he concludes, it feels far too orchestrated, deliberate. You can see the realization hit Hayes like a truck. She's completely shocked and admits she never even considered questioning something so fundamental. Welcome to the Conspiracy Club. Hayes is experiencing a similar crisis. He always believed barbarians were often seen as ignorant savages, but this line of questioning reveals a much deeper understanding. Recalling how cruel this guy can be, he begins to wonder, if Ketal is truly a typical barbarian, then what do you think? Casson's train of thought is interrupted when Ketal cheerfully chimes in. The group checks in to see if everyone is feeling rested, noting a noticeable shift in the mood. Startled from their philosophical funk, the party members they quickly agree that they're ready to move on. They just want to get out of here. The party ventures deeper into the mysterious forest, where the trees loom tall and shadows dance in the fading light. As they navigate the winding paths, the air thickens with anticipation, hinting at the secrets that lie ahead. Each step brings them closer to the heart of the wilderness, where danger and adventure await in the dungeon. Suddenly, Ketal comes to a halt, looking surprised. He spotted a large treasure chest. Casson tells his companions about the discovery, excitement evident in his voice. It's a dungeon reward, his for the taking if he can unlock it. But there's no chance they can open this chest. They would need a high-level rogue for that. Just then, Ketal turns to Casson and asks, "Can I unlock it?" Oops. Casson is completely dumbfounded by Ketal. Just lays out the simple logic. That's a treasure chest awaits and you are a rogue. There's no denying that. Ketal is genuinely excited, stating that it is a rogue's job. Kassan begins to sweat with pure panic as he handles the chests. He panics internally, screaming that if only he had the skills to actually unlock it. With a chest like that, he certainly wouldn't be a bottom feeder trapped in a low-level dungeon. Kassan is in a panic. He feels he cannot possibly reveal the truth to Ketal, especially with the big guy looking at him with such pure, sparkly-eyed expectation. His mind races to the worst-case scenario. Ketal's disappointment morphs into a heavy weight pressing down on him. He imagines her cold, deadly glare as she calls him useless before crushing his skull. With a strange, sweaty smile, Casson forces a laugh and agrees to give it a shot, all while crying on the inside. As he kneels, Ketal leans in close, watching with intense curiosity. Talk about pressure. Casson is certain that if he fails, he won't make it out of this alive. He desperately tries to remember the lock-picking skills he observed from other adventurers when he was just a porter, carrying their gear. With trembling hands, he starts to manipulate the lock. The sound of metal scraping reverberates through the stillness of the dungeon. As Ketal looms over him, radiating a dark, impatient aura, Casson realizes this is a moment of reckoning. He must risk his life on this one shot. This is the moment of truth for Casson the rogue. Just as he feels like he might lose his mind, he hears a click. The lock opens. Ketal glances over and notices that Casson is trembling. Oh, he's really ugly crying now. Through his tears, he manages to sob out that it's opened. Hayes, the cleric, is completely astonished. Wow! I thought only skilled thieves could pull this off. You are incredible. Even Ketal cracks a grin, clearly impressed. Is that so? That's impressive, Casson. Even Casson can't believe it. He has always prided himself on being someone who gives his all. But am I not doing my best until now? This sparks a full-blown existential crisis. Ketal cuts straight to the point, asking what the loot is worth. Hayes estimates it's enough for a family to live like royalty for a month. Understood, Ketal says with a nod. With a smirk, Casson, you're assigned to loot duty. Casson immediately snaps to attention and replies, "Yes, sir." He eagerly reaches into the chest and pulls out a sparkling, gem-studded goblet. He has never held this much loot in his life. Suddenly, Keto calls out, "Hey, Kassan." He screams in sheer surprise and terror. Keto is completely lost. "Do you need some help?" he asks, but Kassan just shakes his head frantically. "Does something hurt?" Keto asks. Kassan, panicking, yells, "No, I didn't do anything." The rest of the party is completely unaware of what is happening. After that brief moment of oddity, the party ventures deeper into the cave. Suddenly, Kassan calls out, "Wait, please stop. It's skeletons." Keto assesses the situation and sees 4 skeletons. He decides he will take on 3 of them. The entire party flinches. "Did he really just say that?" "You guys handle the last one," he says, looking energized. Casson clutches his bag of loot, realizing this is a real turning point. Alessandra nods grimly, signaling her understanding. The moment Keto takes a step forward, the atmosphere shifts, charged with anticipation. A pile of bones on the ground begins to stir. With a cacophony of rattling sounds, the skeletons start to piece themselves together. Casson watches in complete horror as the man observes the bones reassembling themselves. The sight is undeniably eerie. The 4 skeletons had eyes that glowed with an eerie light. An eerie blue light filled the space, prompting a collective, silent scream. Kittal is a vibrant and bustling city known for its rich culture and diverse population. The streets are filled with the sounds of laughter and conversation as locals and visitors alike explore the numerous shops, cafes, and markets. The architecture reflects a blend of historical influences and modern design, creating a unique atmosphere that captivates everyone who walks through its neighborhoods. Festivals and events throughout the year showcase the city's artistic spirit, drawing in crowds eager to celebrate and participate. Whether you're indulging in local cuisine or enjoying the lively art scene, Kittal offers an unforgettable experience for all who visit. Gives the order. Everyone, the battle begins. Kassan is the first to act, rushing forward. He moved toward the skeletons, his blade flashing in the dim light. The first skeleton is caught off guard, but just as Kassan prepares to strike, Kittal steps in to intercept, holding 3 skeletons in a tight, bear hug. "You're witnessing a rare spectacle, so do not interrupt. I will take care of you 3, he declares. The 4th skeleton, now completely alone, swings its sword down, but Alessandro is ready, effectively blocking the attack. The blow resonates with a deafening clang against his shield. Kassan springs into action. He leaps over it, daggers drawn. They were ready to strike. Meanwhile, Hayes' eyes begin to glow as she casts a spell called Shadow of Confusion. Alessandro takes the opening, swinging his arm with precision. A glowing sword cleaves through the air in a massive overhead strike. The skeleton crumples to the ground, but hold on, they weren't able to break its core. The skeleton simply reattaches its parts and launches another attack. Kittal watches all of this with a pleased smile. It is truly a sight to behold. It's impressive to witness a party's core in action firsthand. Quite rare, he adds before crushing the 3. He is holding skeletons with his bare hands. Boom! "Well then," he says as the bones dissolve, "with the obstacles cleared, let us enjoy the show." As the 3 party members prepare for the second round, they all have the same thought in mind. Somehow this barbarian is testing us. They all look fired up. The poor skeleton blinks in surprise. Confusion sets in. It realizes it's finished. Hayes' eyes burn with intensity, showing any weakness could mean death. Fueled by determination, Alessandro charges forward with a fierce expression, overpowering the last enemy. A flurry of red slashes fills the screen as the entire team gives it their all. At last, the skull clatters to the ground. With the fight finally over, the party collapses, panting from exhaustion. Kittal observes his weary party with a contemplative look. The adventurers he encountered at the White Snowfield must have been formidable after all. This party could barely manage to defeat a single skeleton. So, off they went to the next floor, where they encountered even more monsters. However, with Kittal leading the way, it was hardly a problem. Finally, they reached the top floor. At the far end of a vast hall, a figure stood shrouded in shadows. Ominous black armor rested silently on a stone throne. It is a skeleton knight, and the realization hits hard. Hayes hits her like a ton of bricks, and she begins to tremble in fear. Kittal calmly turns to his party and asks if this skeleton is different from the others they have faced. The response is grim. Yes, it is strong, very strong. It can expertly wield a sword, and is a knight-level fighter. They have no chance of winning. Hayes is terrified, convinced they cannot possibly handle this monster. Kittal asks what will happen if they cannot clear this, and decide to retreat. Hayes explains that if they decide to bail, they need confirmation from the territory. If it is deemed a reasonable retreat, there will be no issues. A slight smirk appears on his face as he gazes at his tense comrades, find this reasonable, and he agrees with them. Meanwhile, the skeleton knight sits on its throne, its entire body pulsing with ominous energy. Deep in the dungeon, we encounter the final boss, a skeleton knight radiating a menacing purple aura. It stands its ground, prepared to confront our hero, Kital. Kital simply smirks. A skeleton that can maintain its own form? Fascinating. My friend is easily amused. The skeleton knight remains unfazed. It raises its massive sword, ready to turn him into paste. Before anyone can even blink, the knight leaps into the air. It unleashes a devastating wave of energy. Hayes conjures a golden barrier. She is trying her best, but it's clear that it isn't enough, and it shatters. But it's Alessandro who steps in, too. He uses his shield to protect the party. The entire group is sent tumbling, completely and utterly outclassed in this situation. Kital appears surprised for a brief moment. Even the party's tank, Alessandro, can't believe the incredible power behind that single blow, realizing that its opponents are, essentially, answer-like knights. Lunges forward to complete the task. But this time, Kital is ready for anything. No more standing around and looking impressed. He counters the attack with a single devastating punch, sending a shockwave through the dungeon. The knight is sent flying backward and vanishes completely from existence. His party members can only stare, their jaws dropped, and their minds officially short-circuited. Kital casually dusts the shelves. He wiped the dirt from his hands. Is that all? Following that one-punch demolition, the party discovers the true prize, a large gleaming treasure chest. Kital turns to Kasan and requests that he unlock it. Kasan panics immediately. There's no way he can handle it. The lock is far too advanced for his current skills. Kasan explains that they will have to leave the loot behind. From behind, Kital winds up and delivers a powerful punch to the chest. The chest bursts open, revealing its contents. Kasan and the rest of the party gathered together, ready to embark on their next adventure. Completely speechless, once again, Kital simply grins and says that this way is much better. He tells a dumbfounded Kasan to take care of the loot. Poor Kasan is left utterly bewildered. If only he had known what was coming, perhaps he could have prepared himself for the chaos that ensued. You could have just broken it. Why did you even ask him in the first place? Having cleared the dungeon, the party celebrated their hard-fought victory. They gathered their spoils and shared stories of their harrowing encounters, each member reflecting on their unique contributions to the success of the mission. With newfound confidence, they prepared to embark on their next adventure, eager to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Emerging from a cave entrance, they step into a bright, sunny forest. Suddenly, poof, the cave vanished and the entrance behind them collapsed. Kasan explains that a perfect clear defines the dungeon, indicating there was no secret room. The idea of a secret room brings a grin to Kital's face. He thinks that sounds fun as well. This guy just wants more things to hit. Back at the city gate, the guard is surprised to see them return so quickly, having expected them to take their time. He nervously inquires about the dungeon. Kital responds with a bright thumbs up, declaring it was satisfying. The guard then begins the official entry procedure, interviewing each member of the party individually. He asks Hayes if the Barbarian is prepared for the upcoming challenge. Kital should be allowed to stay. After a moment of hesitation, she agrees. The guard's true responsibility is to identify and eliminate dangerous elements, but both sides remain vigilant. Kasan and Alessandro speak in support of Kital, confirming that, despite his monstrous strength, he did not harm the party. The guard comes to realize that Kital is not a barbarian. When it's Kital's turn, he expresses nothing but praise for his teammates, describing them as excellent and reliable. This behavior is highly unusual for the guard, as they typically do not force strangers. Partying together almost never ends on good terms like this. Convinced, the guard allows them to enter the city, but he warns Kital to stay out of trouble. He hands over the dungeon reward, a heavy bag of gold. Usually, the guards confiscate the loot, but this time, one of the guards decides to give it to them. Kital happily takes the bag and smiles, feeling a sense of excitement as she prepares for the adventure ahead. They declare that they will split it fairly among the four of them. The others quickly attempt to refuse, fully aware of what they have done. Kital insists that the reward must be shared despite there being virtually nothing to divide. With that settled, he happily suggests they all go out for a celebratory drink. The trio can only manage some very awkward smiles as they reluctantly agree to go along with it. The moment he's out of earshot, they are nearly in tears, pleading to be released from this terrifying ordeal. As the guard watches them leave, he reflects on what he has just witnessed. A barbarian who defeated a skeleton knight with a single blow. The barbarian is monstrously strong, exhibiting a level of strength that is truly extraordinary, at least knight level, or possibly even higher. This isn't just any barbarian. He is the legendary Barbarian, an otherworldly presence in this realm. Having made up his mind, the guard decides this is the path he must take. This matter is above his pay grade, and he must report it to his lord. Later that night, in a grand estate, a powerful figure is writing a report by candlelight. A sudden knock echoes through the room. A voice from the throne calls out, inviting the visitor to enter. Inside a lavish hall, the guard from the city gate approaches the throne. With a sharp click of his heels, he addresses the man. "The king awaits your presence." Luke Barkin, the lord of this domain, looks up from his work. "What is it?" he asks, his expression unreadable. The first captain of the guard stands at attention and gets straight to the point. "A barbarian has appeared in the domain." Lord Barkin's voice booms. "Did you grant him permission?" The guard captain is sweating profusely as he tries to explain himself. "I assess that it wouldn't be a significant problem." Lord Luke Barkin, appearing as though he is ready to dismiss someone, is clearly not convinced. "They might overthrow your kingdom, strong as it is." Now Barkin is intrigued. He leans forward, fully attentive. "Just how strong are we talking?" The answer is absolutely unbelievable. Apparently, this mystery man took out a skeleton knight in one shot. Just like that, poof, gone. Barkin is floored. A skeleton knight is a significant figure in this world. It usually takes a whole team of professionals to even make a dent, but this guy accomplished it all on his own. He takes a hit, but then remembers the guy is a barbarian and scoffs. Clearly, he views barbarians as nothing more than big, dumb, walking muscles. He confronts the captain, questioning whether this brute is truly a first-rate warrior. The captain essentially agrees, saying it's likely. He even acknowledges the guy could be on a whole new level. The sweat is practically pouring off him like a waterfall now. And this, folks, is what we call a political nightmare. An unknown superpowered warrior roaming your territory. That's a big yikes for any ruler. Barkin decides it's time to rip off the band-aid. "Bring him to me," the captain commands. He nearly has a heart attack. "Are you really sure about that, boss?" The Lord makes a valid point. Allowing a walking nuke to roam unchecked is a dangerous gamble. He needs to assess this individual personally. The captain warns him that it's risky, but Barkin simply smirks. He gestures behind his throne and reassures, "Do not worry, I've got backup." Barkin turns to his shadow knight and asks, "So, what do you think?" The knight clenches his fist, oozing arrogance. He dismisses his opponent as nothing more than a barbarian and ignorant brute who has simply enjoyed a stroke of luck. He boasts that he was trained by the great sword masters themselves, so it's clear that this barbarian is nothing more than a bug to be squashed. That is all Barkin needs to hear. He delivers the final order: the barbarian to be brought to me. I will take care of this. Meanwhile, the oblivious brute Catal is indulging at an all-you-can-eat buffet. His new party members can only watch in silent, traumatized horror, their faces capturing the essence of a perfect meme. Completely unaware of their shock, Catal slams his mug down and exclaims, "This food is fantastic! It's my treat, everyone. Go ahead and dig in." They respond with the most strained, pained laughter you've ever heard. Catal then puts Alessandro on the spot, saying, "You are a dungeon. Ouch!" Alessandro starts to sweat again as he explains that he is still in training to harness his holy power, and he hasn't awakened it yet. Catal bluntly remarks that it's a shame, revealing his complete lack of social skills. Next, he turns his attention to Hayes. "You worship Kalasha, correct? Is there a temple nearby?" Hayes awkwardly explains that her goddess is the deity of deception and deceit, which means there aren't many fan clubs or mega-churches dedicated to her. She quickly shifts the topic to the million-dollar question. "Just how incredibly strong are you?" The other two snap to attention. Intrigued, Catal simply stares back, a chicken bone hanging from his mouth, completely clueless. He essentially states, "I do not know. I just got here." Then he asks them, "How strong is a skeleton knight anyway?" The man has no frame of reference. Hayes explains the situation. If a second-rate warrior can barely hold their own against one opponent, then a first-rate warrior could likely win just as easily as he did. Catal remarks, "Huh, so that's considered second-rate." Suddenly, a trembling voice calls out, "Excuse me." The shop owner is terrified, stammering that they are closing. He likely wants this monster out of his tavern. Our boy cheerfully agrees to leave and asks if anyone else is coming along. He wants to hang out later. Oh, you sweet, simple man. In perfect synchronized terror, the other three essentially froze in place. They scream that they need to go wash their hair for the next 10 years. Kettle gives a friendly wave and says, "See you next time." Meanwhile, they are all things considered. I can understand why they would never want to see you again. Finally free from his terrified friends, Kettle discovers a room and collapses onto a bed. For him, this feels like pure luxury. He feels incredibly fortunate to have been able to afford a room with his dungeon loot. After living in the snow, a lumpy mattress feels like a 5-star resort. He begins to contemplate his future. Now that he is finally out of the wilderness, he wants to truly live and experience the world. His bucket list includes classic adventure activities. He wants to see the world's wonders, tackle thrilling challenges, and experience the great outdoors. In the Elf Kingdom, visitors explore the majestic Magic Tower and take in the sights of the vibrant capital. He dreams of all the popular tourist spots as he drifts off to sleep. The next day, he wakes up bright and early, but is jolted awake by someone banging on his door. He stumbles out of bed and swings the door open, revealing the source of the noise. It's our favorite sweaty guard captain from the castle. Kittle stands shirtless, resembling a walking mountain of muscle, and simply grunts, "What?" The poor captain nearly jumps out of his armor. The captain takes a deep breath and delivers the announcement. "The Lord wants to see you." This should be interesting. The big boss of the entire territory wants to have a little chat with our boy Keetle. He grins and accepts immediately, embodying a fanboy in a brute's body. He's thinking, cool, let me just grab a shirt. Meanwhile, the poor guard is sweating, convinced this has to be a trap. Why did he agree so easily? They begin walking through the bustling fantasy town, and Keetle is soaking it all in. He had only seen it at night before, but the daytime graphics are reportedly quite impressive. He flashes a cheesy grin and gives the flustered guard a big thumbs up, as if to say, if this is a lucky fantasy, count me in. The guard, however, looks like he just wants to disappear. With little time left in his shift, he decides to avoid making eye contact with the Barbarian as much as possible. Finally, they arrive at the grand doors. "I brought the Barbarian, my lord." The massive doors swing open, revealing the opulence within. The lord gestures for them to enter. Keetle steps onto an incredibly long, luxurious red carpet. Now that's a VIP entrance. The lord extends his hand, introducing himself. He introduces himself as Luke Barkin, the ruler of the land. Surprisingly, Kettle shakes his hand and gives a slight nod, even going so far as to introduce himself properly. Lord Barkin's mind just short-circuits. A barbarian bowing? That doesn't make any sense. Barbarians never bow their heads, as it's a sign of weakness. He was expecting a savage, not this polite individual. Barkin tries to play it cool as we observe him learning. He gestures for Keetle to take a seat, demonstrating some manners. Keetle surveys the opulent room, excitedly admiring the classic medieval castle aesthetic. But then his eyes lock onto something. Uh-oh, a knight in shining armor stands there, fully adorned in his gleaming suit. Our boy's inner nerd is in full swing, completely starstruck at the sight of a real-life fantasy knight. But when you're a barbarian, simping feels different. The knight's eyes widen with surprise. He's certain of it. This expression is pure bloodlust. He can't believe this barbarian would display such bloodlust in his lord's presence. If only he knew the truth. The knight is absolutely furious, believing the man is dead. His hand instinctively reaches for his sword. Before things get messy, Lord Barkin interrupts, stating that he has just a few questions. Keetle sips tea casually, as if it's no big deal. "What would you like to know?" The Lord's first question is a significant one. "Where did you come from?" Kettle gives a slight smile and responds cryptically, "I come from the coldest place, a world covered in ice." And just like that, both the Lord and his knight appear completely shocked. He's referring to the legendary white snowfield. This confirms it. Barkin is sitting across from the legendary Barbarian. Barkin says it's hard to believe, but Keetle is truly remarkable. "Just chilling," he says. "Believe it or not, you are my call buddy." Lord Barkin changes things up. "All right, how strong are you?" What he is really asking is whether you will be a problem for him. Keetle points out that it's the wrong question, as he has no context for the power levels in this new world. The Lord and his knight exchange a solemn glance, acknowledging the weight of their responsibilities. "Look, I see a plan taking shape here." Barkin proposes a classic test of strength, a friendly spar with his knight, promising a nice reward for the victor. You could see Ketol's ears perk up at that moment. The Lord has to add, "Well, not to the death, okay? Let's keep it clean." Ketol just grins and says, "Sounds good to me." The Lord appears a bit surprised by how quickly he agreed, but Ketol is completely thrilled. He gets to fight a real fantasy knight, complete with armor and a shining sword. Aura powers this is better than any video game. Lord Barkin clenches his fist, thinking, yep, a storm is coming. A barbarian is a true warrior, driven by a singular focus, the pursuit of a good fight. Fight! Oh, you just a poor, misunderstood main character? Suddenly, we shift to a massive arena where Lord Barkin observes from his private box seats. Below, Kettle and the knight stand poised for their confrontation, ready to engage. The knight appears extremely serious as he prepares for battle. Kettle looks like a child on Christmas morning. From his throne, the Lord gives the signal. Let's begin, and please try not to kill each other. A bell rings, and the knight draws his sword. He tells for Kettle it is an honor to witness his swordsmanship. Kettle agrees, saying he would prefer that as well. But oh snap, the knight is officially on edge. He thinks to himself, I will show this punk. To demonstrate the significant disparity in their power levels, he powers up, erupting in a massive green aura. Now then, he taunts, what will you do? With a massive swing, his sword splits into 3 giant blades of pure energy, aimed directly at Kettle. Kettle simply looks up, completely stunned. Kettle realizes there are 3 of them. Uh-oh, is it an illusion? Oh, heck no. He's having a minor freakout, realizing that all 3 of those glowing green swords are completely real. Was this what they call swordsmanship? Kettle wondered. The knight grows a bit cocky, taunting Kettle. Is dodging all you can do? How charming. He admits it's impressive, but he's starting to feel bored. It's time to wrap this up. Just before the final blow, bam! Kettle suddenly raises his hand and flicks a finger at the sword, shattering it instantly. The knight's mind goes blank. Huh? What was that? Did he just break my sword? In an instant, Kettle closes the gap and grabs the knight, who strikes his chest plate, crumpling it like paper. With a mighty yeet, he hurls the fully armored figure. The knight clattered across the hall like a tin can. Watching from his throne, Lord Luke Barkin observed the unfolding events with keen interest. He is completely shocked. His jaw dropped in disbelief. The knight lies defeated in a massive crater. It took just one punch. Barkin can hardly believe what he just witnessed. What kind of absurd power is that? Meanwhile, Kettle simply smiles as if it were nothing and asks, so, are we done here? Lord Barkin needs a moment to reboot his system. He quietly confirms, yes. His mind races. Defeating a first-class knight in a single blow? That's not just impressive, it's downright superhuman. A barbarian with those stats could completely disrupt the game for everyone involved. He decides it's time to call a friend, a very specific one who holds the title of Swordmaster. He's curious whether the guy has arrived yet, and if this news will be engaging enough for him. And just as expected, a mysterious voice echoes through the room. You mean my interest? A window gently swings open, revealing someone standing right there. An elderly man in a green robe made a very dramatic entrance. Barkin gives the old man a serious look. Side-eye. Your hobbies remain just as unusual as always. Barkin chuckles nervously, trying to play it off. After all, everyone needs a little fun. And here comes the name drop, folks. This is Swordmaster Kane, and he's eager to hear all about this intriguing matter. Lord Barkin immediately jumps up and, oh yeah, this guy is a big deal. We transition to a new scene, and now the knight is seen recovering in bed, likely feeling quite sorry for himself. The door creaks open, revealing Lord Barkin walks in to check on his walking L. The knight jolts awake in a panic, repeatedly apologizing for his poor performance. But it's Kane's voice that interrupts, insisting, you should be apologizing. And in a surprising twist, he turns out to be his master. Kane points out something strange. His armor has been altered, absolutely wrecked, yet the knight himself remains unscathed. His conclusion was clear. The barbarian was not a mindless brute. He controlled his power with remarkable precision, all to spare him. That level of control elevates him far beyond that of a typical knight. He operates at a superhuman level. Hearing this, both Barkin and the knight looks like he's just seen a ghost. Barkin asks how the barbarian compares to Kane, who just, scoffing, I declare, I'm a swordmaster. Brute strength can't touch this. But Barkin points out a strange detail. Kettle had all. That power was undeniable. Yet there was no aura, no trace whatsoever. Barkin confirms his theory, believing that Kettle hails from the infamous White Snowfield. This prompts Kane to reflect. He has heard legends about the inhabitants of that region. Or perhaps they aren't exactly human. Could he be a heteromorph? A non-human being? A creature is simply walking around in plain sight. But Kane quickly dismisses that notion. A true monster would have simply turned the knight into a fine red mist in an instant. Still, the big question remains. Why would someone from the literal edge of the world, they suddenly appeared here? Kane dismisses the concern with a mutter. The Emperor was enigmatic, often making strange and puzzling requests that left many wondering about his true intentions. He tells Barkin that it's nothing for him to worry about, a classic line suggesting it's above his pay grade. The Swordmaster's focus shifts. Is this barbarian still around? He asks. Barkin confirms that he is. With a determined look, Kane makes his decision. It's time for him to go check out this mystery man for himself. Unaware of the unfolding events, Ketal is engaged in a conversation with a guard outside. The guard poses the million-dollar question, "What's next, big guy?" Having received the cash reward, Ketal recalls Barkin's promise that he is free to do as he pleases within the territory. He considers that obtaining an official ID would be a good start to make getting around easier. The guard considers his options. He could seek out a high-status sponsor to vouch for him. Alternatively, he could choose to become a mercenary. The guard explains that if he earns enough achievements, the guild will officially recognize his identity. Most low-level mercenaries are simply glorified errand boys. He believes that for a powerhouse like Ketal, securing a sponsor is the smarter move. But did Ketal listen? Of course not. His eyes lit up. A mercenary taking on quests and slaying monsters? He's all in. He asks with a huge, goofy grin, "Where do I go to become a mercenary?" The unfortunate guard is completely taken by surprise, stammering that there's a guild hall nearby. "Guide me," Ketal says, beaming at him with a dazzling, full-power anime smile. The guard simply melts away. The poor guy never stood a chance. The reality of being a mercenary is far from a grand adventure. In fact, they occupy the lowest rung of society. Even the strongest adventurers often meet their end in dungeons or find themselves doing the dirty work of nobles. This is why the bottom tier of mercenaries often struggles to find consistent work. Society is crude, filthy, and deeply flawed. Welcome to the Mercenary Guild Hall, where a full-blown bar brawl is already underway. The other mercenaries? They're simply not on the same level, watching and placing bets. Meanwhile, at the reception desk, a woman with pink hair inquires with her colleague about how the new recruits are faring today. Rosa, the blonde receptionist, lets out a sigh, feeling hopeless. She thinks to herself that they're all just a bunch of weirdos. The latest group features a disgraced holy knight, a suspicious thief, and a nun who reveres a questionable deity. Her friend is disappointed. Rosa groans, expressing that there are no decent options available. People rarely show up, and the current mercenaries just cause destruction. She begins to daydream about a handsome prince on a white horse coming to rescue her. Girl, you are in the wrong story for that. Just as expected, the guild hall door creaks open. Rosa looks up and suddenly a gigantic figure looms before her. It looms over her desk. Not quite a prince, is it? Ketal smiles as he surveys the chaos around him. So, this is the guild hall. The brawl comes to an abrupt halt. The entire room falls silent and everyone is staring, jaws dropped in disbelief. A barbarian. Ketal, completely unaware of the panic around him, slams his. "With my hands resting on the desk, I'm here to express my desire to become a mercenary." Rosa is absolutely terrified, stammering as she asks him why he would want to join. He explains that it's a way to obtain official status. Rosa confirms this, but warns him that it will require a lot of hard work to achieve. The registration costs 5 silver coins. He provides his name but admits he has no idea how old he is. Rosa simply shrugs and types in a random age. "All right, your registration is complete. Here's your mercenary badge." Ketal takes the badge, and without hesitation, he steps forward, ready to embrace the challenge ahead. Without missing a beat, he says, "Enlist me." He's eager to start right away, inquiring about available quests. She presents him with a list of jobs that he can realistically accept as a complete newcomer. Ketal stares at the list, utterly bewildered. Is this really everything? The F-rank quests are essentially just chores, gathering herbs, cleaning basements, and clearing out sewers. This is far from slaying dragons, my friend. Rosa feels extremely nervous. Barbarians are known for their pride. Will Ketal react strongly to these disappointing jobs? As she begins to explain how he can rank up, Ketal simply points to the list and says, "I'll take this one." Rosa stares in confusion as he points directly. At the herb gathering, we embark on the most basic fetch quest in history. She asks if he's certain. He crosses his arms and replies, "Isn't this something that needs to be done? There's no problem." He then asks where he can find the herbs. Rosa explains that they are outside the village and hands him a small drawing of the plan to assist him. "Got it. I'll be back shortly," Ketal says with a confident smile as he takes the card. As he walks away, Rosa is left feeling completely abandoned. Stunned, I couldn't believe it. What the? He's so calm about all this. Meanwhile, her pink-haired friend rushes over and literally shakes her back to reality. Out in the forest, Ketal discovers the flowers, and he compares them to the drawing. Yep, it looks right. He wonders if they are meant for treating wounds, as they appear somewhat unusual. "Well then," he says, "I've got my UV protective gear on, and I'm ready to embark on my first mission." The absolute dork. About an hour later, he returns with a thump, dropping an enormous sack of herbs on the table and making Rosa jump. Will this be enough? He asks cheerfully. Rosa wonders if he has just destroyed the entire flower field, but when she examines them, she is shocked to see that they are all in perfect condition. She notes that most mercenaries just tear them apart, but Cadell smirks and says, "Despite how I look, I'm quite confident in my delicate touch." She hands him his reward for all his hard work, a single silver coin. That is barely enough to buy the cheapest meal in town. The struggle is real. As Cadell examines his earnings, he feels a deep sense of pride. This is the first money he has ever earned through honest work. To be honest, he's genuinely touched by it. Oh, the emotions. He tells Rosa that he's very satisfied and immediately asks for another quest, leaving her completely baffled. She just can't understand it. This massive, intimidating presence looms over her, leaving her feeling small and overwhelmed. The barbarian seems oddly cheerful as he picks flowers, a sight that contrasts sharply with his fierce reputation. Rosa, the guild receptionist, is completely overwhelmed. Her final thought is that this new mercenary seems strange as well. After flower picking, cleaning the basement, and enjoying a lovely stroll through the sewers, our boy Cadell is on a roll. He confidently points to his next F-rank quest, warehouse cleaning. Rosa, the receptionist, is on the verge of a meltdown. After dealing with the herbs, this is now his third consecutive cleaning job. She gazes at this towering man, smiling as if he just won the lottery, and a thought crosses her mind. Wait a minute, does he actually enjoy cleaning? With the most strained customer service smile in history, she nervously stamps his request form. You do you, big guy. A few moments later, Cadell arrives at the warehouse, ready to get his hands dirty, or rather, clean. He finds the owner waiting for him, a simple woman in a white hood, likely expecting a scrawny kid looking for pocket change. Instead, she encounters Cadell, who beams at her and announces, "I've come to clean the warehouse," and the unfortunate horror. He asks if she's the owner, and she can barely stammer out a yes. All her mind can process is the sight of a barbarian. It turns out he's the best mover she's ever hired. Lifting massive crates is no problem for him at all. It's easy peasy. Next on his core list is street sweeping. He recalls that controlling his superhuman strength was tricky at first, but he eventually mastered it. Little does he know, he has a stalker watching him from a window. Swordmaster Kane watches through binoculars, completely baffled. Kane is losing his mind. This man, Cadell, possesses enough power to topple a kingdom. Any nation would welcome him with open arms. And what is he doing with that power? He's sweeping garbage off the street. He's not slacking at all. He's taking it 100% seriously. Kane is left utterly speechless. Meanwhile, Keto wipes his brow, reveling in the satisfaction that comes from a hard day's work. Ah, the glory. He awakens to a brand new day. He's a bit sore, but he feels amazing. That honest work is incredibly rewarding. It's real, folks. He stands up and spots a small pouch on the table. He remembers Rosa handing him his pay. Good work on your first day, Mr. Cadell. Here is your reward for completing all 15 requests. His eyes widen as he sees the pouch filled with 15 coins. Silver coins. This could be the most money he has ever encountered. He is absolutely glowing with happiness. Thanks. I'll be back again tomorrow, he says, grinning from ear to ear. That memory brings a smile to his face as he thinks to himself, it's time to begin my second day in civilization. The next morning, Cadell enjoys a pleasant stroll through town, oblivious to the terrified expressions of the villagers. He walks with the confidence of a man who has just achieved something significant when he suddenly comes to a halt. He looks up, his eyes widening with curiosity. That looks like a library. A small bell jingles as he steps inside. The librarian turns to greet the new patron. She immediately lets out a blood-curdling scream when a shadowy 7-foot barbarian asks if he can please read some books. Sometime later, after the screams have faded, Keto sits peacefully, completely absorbed in a book. The librarian watches him from her desk, frozen in place. Her mind struggles to process what she is witnessing. Outside, our favorite stalker, Kane, is back on the job and just as bewildered as ever. The savage barbarian finds himself in a library reading. He starts to wonder if the Snowfield barbarians are simply misunderstood, or if this particular one is just a massive weirdo. Meanwhile, Cadell finishes a history book and succinctly summarizes the entire conflict, concluding that the Empire ultimately emerged victorious. He recalls his friend Mylena mentioning that she was heading to the kingdom at war with that same empire. Now, he understands how that turned out for her. The book confirms that the empire has become a superpower, effectively turning the kingdom of Barkin into its personal puppet state. They have already consumed half of the human world and are still advancing. The administration's aggressive foreign policy has sparked significant debate and concern. By adopting a hard-line stance on international relations, it aims to assert dominance and protect national interests. This approach often involves an increased military presence in strategic regions, as well as sanctions against nations that defy U.S. interests. Critics argue that such tactics can escalate tensions and lead to conflicts, while supporters believe they are necessary for maintaining global stability and deterring adversaries. As the world watches closely, the long-term implications of this policy remain uncertain. Cadell sits quietly for a moment, contemplating the entire concept of world domination. But that's enough of the mundane human matters. He shifts his focus to what he truly sought was the book on non-human races. He is absolutely thrilled to discover that all those legendary fantasy creatures are 100% real in this world. The book describes a variety of incredible locations, including a dwarven cave filled with rare minerals and gleaming treasures. It also mentions a fairy village, a city, celestials floating in the sky, and the super-secret elven sanctuary known as Elfos Agrada. This hidden holy land is said to be impossible to locate. Cadell smirks and remarks, "In that case, I must have earned the extraordinary right to visit the elves' sanctuary." However, as he turns the page, his expression changes. What is this? Are there more locations like the White Snowfield? He has discovered a section on Demon Realms, places where humans cannot venture, filled with twisted monsters. There are 5 major realms to explore. The book details them, including the Forest of Silence, the Fiery Abyss, the Deep Sea, and a phenomenon known as the Deep. Each realm offers exciting vacation spots that promise fun and adventure. And guess what? The 5th one is the White Snowfield, his home sweet home. The book states that although these realms are filled with terrifying monsters, they cannot truly extend their influence into the human world. Cadell is completely taken aback, pondering just how vast this world truly is. The White Snowfield was enormous, and there are many other places just like it. Having absorbed all the knowledge he could, he neatly stacks the books and stands up to leave, startling the librarian. He offers her a friendly smile as he leaves, saying, "Thanks, that was very informative," with one final, terrifyingly polite smile. Cattle. The little bell jingles as the door closes behind him. He heads straight back to the Mercenary Guild, cheerfully asking a startled Rosa if she has any new jobs for him. His face lights up with pure, unadulterated excitement as she hands him a new quest form. This man truly loves to grind. Meanwhile, Swordmaster Kane continues to watch from the shadows, and he can't help but admit it, this guy is just plain weird. After 2 full days of surveillance, he has witnessed enough oddities to last a lifetime. Now it's finally time to meet this man in person. Walking through town at night, Cadell felt the cool breeze brush against his skin. The streets were quiet, illuminated only by the soft glow of streetlights. Shadows danced along the walls of the buildings, creating an atmosphere both eerie and enchanting. As he strolled, the distant sound of laughter echoed from a nearby cafe, reminding him of the warmth and vibrancy of life just beyond the stillness. Cadell took a deep breath, savoring the moment as he continued his journey through the tranquil night. He feels pretty good about his day's work. He glances at his pouch of coins. Hey, even the small jobs are adding up to a substantial amount of loot. If he maintains this pace, he believes he will become a recognized mercenary in no time. Meanwhile, in a dark alley, a mysterious figure watches him from the shadows. A figure steps out, blocking his path. Cadell halts and turns around, wearing a questioning expression. Well, look who it is, the old man from before, Swordmaster Kane, appearing quite grim beneath his hood. Cadell remains completely calm and simply says, "You've been following me around all day, haven't you?" Kane stands in stunned silence. The arms reach out, asking what he wants. Meanwhile, Kane is internally screaming, "You notice me." He is confident that he has completely concealed his presence using aura, believing it should be impossible for anyone to detect him. Seeing the silent cloaked man, Cadell's mind goes blank. He cracks his knuckles and asks, "Are you perhaps a bandit?" Kane's face is a perfect picture of utter confusion at this moment. Taking the silence as a yes, Keto concludes he was right. Even the nicest towns still have their share of bandits, it seems. Kane begins to deny it, but then hesitates. Would this kid even believe he's a famous swordmaster? Cadell gazes at him with genuine pity. Do you really have to resort to robbery in your old age? The economy must be in terrible shape. What a sharp remark. Then, a brilliant idea strikes our boy, bringing excitement and hope for what lies ahead. Being a bandit would be a great achievement for his resume. Kane stares, completely bewildered. How did we end up in this situation? But then an idea dawns on him. If Kettle believes he's a bandit, and this is the perfect opportunity to test his strength. Just as he reconciles his feelings, Kettle disappears just before his eyes. Poof, they vanished. Kane whips his head around, completely shocked. He's gone. In an instant, Kettle reappears right in front of them. Behind him, eyes glowing, he reaches for Kane. Realizing he's about to be caught, Kane unleashes his full strength. A burst of green energy erupted, successfully blocking the attack. Kettle stops, and a huge grin spreads across his face. Oh, not bad, old man. You're quite fast. Kane lands a few feet away, his mind spinning. He can hardly believe it. No way. He almost caught me. Even more shocking, he realizes that Kettle moved with such speed purely based on physical abilities. He couldn't sense any aura at all. Kettle stands there, smiling, completely unbothered by it all. Kane grits his teeth. All right, it's no longer a test. He is going all out. But once again, in the blink of an eye, Kettle finds himself gone. This kid is incredibly fast. Before Kane can fully comprehend the situation, Kettle has seized his arm. The Swordmaster is in complete disbelief. Despite having his senses on high alert, he still couldn't react in time. The grip is immense, as if his arm is firmly lodged in a boulder and his entire body is being dragged against his will. Straining against the hold, Kane realizes he can't break free. They are locked in a power struggle, but the difference in strength is staggering. Faced with this reality, he has no choice but to go all out and unleash his power. Meanwhile, Kettle notices a strange light emanating from the forest. Kane's hand is raised just before a massive wave crashes down. A surge of energy erupts from the Swordmaster, creating a blinding flash of light that pushes Kane back as well. He lands, panting, his heart racing as he struggles to catch his breath, his hands still crackling with residual energy. Kettle stands completely unfazed, remarking that bandits these days have all sorts of tricks. Kane, furious, wonders why this big lug keeps calling him a damn bandit. Kane is fuming. He just used mana materialization, an elite warrior technique, and this kid thinks it's nothing more than a cheap trick. But Kettle simply stares back with a wide, impressed expression. Kane is left speechless by the almost cartoonish grin. Kane cannot comprehend it. His attack should have shredded hardened steel, yet Kettle doesn't have a single scratch on him. He stares at Kettle's absurd physique, wondering how it is possible for someone to look so outlandish. He's absorbing such a powerful attack with his bare skin. Kettle steps forward, determined to bring this to a close. In response, Kane finally grabs his sword. Before he can even grasp the hilt, Kettle's index finger is already in place, completely halting the draw. The Swordmaster's eyes nearly bulge with shock. This simply cannot be happening. He strains with all his might, but he cannot break free and cannot withstand the pressure of that single finger. He looks up into Kettle's eyes, which are once again filled with intensity. Once again glowing with an unsettling purple light. A single tear of despair rolls down Kane's cheek. He thinks to himself, this is the end for me. With one swift chop, it is all over. Kettle holds up the unconscious Swordmaster, revealing what a bandit in a fantasy world truly looks like. A few minutes later, he arrives at the guardhouse. Barbarian, what's the meaning of this? Stammers the guard. Our boy Kettle strolls up, dragging the legendary Swordmaster. Kane fell like a sack of groceries. The guard struggles to comprehend what he's witnessing. Did this random barbarian just take down a superhuman all by himself? I caught a thief, Kettle announces. The guard can no longer hide his shock. He then asks whether turning in this loot will count toward the completion of his mercenary quest. The guard's brain just short-circuited. Error 404, page not found. Logic was absent. He's thinking, that's Swordmaster Kane, the legendary warrior renowned for his unmatched skill and prowess in battle, and yet he's being treated like a bag of dirty laundry. The poor guy finally manages to speak up, insisting that he's not a thief. Kettle's brilliant detective mind quickly concludes, so you know him. If he's not a thief, he must be an accomplice. Panicking, the guard snaps to attention and bows before the unconscious body. I greet you, Swordmaster Kane of the Gehenna Kingdom. You can almost see the single gear in Kettle's head finally beginning to turn. He looks down at the old man. A man known as Swordmaster is just a common thief? No way! He doesn't believe it for a second. It's impossible. He's a thief who attacked me for my silver coins. The guard is practically begging him at this point. No, he truly is the Swordmaster. I would never mistake that face. As the guard attempts to reason with him, Kettle arrives at his own brilliant conclusion. Is Swordmaster some sort of cool nickname for thieves? The guard simply stares, bewildered. What on earth are you even saying? After a lengthy and uncomfortable silence, the guard realizes that this situation is far beyond his capabilities and pay grade, so he decides to report it to the Lord. Sometime later, Lord Luke Barkin is completely lost in thought, struggling to comprehend the news. He can't believe it. Lord Kane has been defeated. Meanwhile, we witness an incredibly awkward apology session unfold. It's entirely my fault. The two of them sit in a silence so thick it feels as if it could be cut with an uncomfortable knife. Watching from the doorway, Lord Barkin struggles to process everything unfolding before him. He expected a fight, of course, but he never anticipated that the Swordmaster would be completely overwhelmed. The conclusion is straightforward and, frankly, quite terrifying. This barbarian is stronger than a Swordmaster. Even though Kane is the rookie Swordmaster, the title is no joke. Defeating one opponent means Kettle becomes a completely unpredictable powerhouse. This is giving him a headache, so he decides to leave. It seems there's been a misunderstanding. I'll let you two have a private chat, he declares, and exits, closing the doors behind them. The room falls back into that awkward silence. You can sense the second-hand embarrassment as Kane takes a shaky sip of tea, his pride completely shattered after that defeat. He collects himself and makes a formal reintroduction. I am Kane, the Swordmaster. Kettle, ever the clever one, asks if Swordmaster is his last name. Kane explains that when you're that powerful, you don't need a surname. Kettle simply nods and then inquires about the strange energy. He wants to know if the earlier attack is a special skill. You mean this little thing? Kane asks, casually charging his hand with green energy. Suddenly, Kettle's eyes light up as he admits he initially thought it was a silly parlor trick. It's a clever trick, and now that he realizes it's a Swordmaster skill, it becomes even cooler. Kane shares the lore, explaining that it's called aura, a manifestation of a fundamental energy known as the mystic. The light bulb finally clicks for Kettle. That was aura back then. Now he feels like a kid on Christmas morning, filled with excitement and wonder. How can he harness that energy? Kane explains it clearly. Mystic is the raw power source that swordsmen utilize, while mages use aura to harness mana. Kettle flashes a sly grin, catching everyone's attention. I can learn to use this mystic stuff. Will you teach me? Kane is left speechless. Kettle leans in with a smile and, please teach me, she says. And what can you do? Kane agrees, but he's still confused. Why ask me for help? You're clearly stronger than I am. Kettle openly admits that he knows nothing at all. He swings wildly, completely unaware of what he's doing. And just like that, Kane's fighting spirit has returned. He has the chance to teach this barbarian a lesson and restore his own shattered honor. He puffs out his chest and declares, very well, a Swordmaster is nothing without his sword. Without it, I am only half a man. Kettle nods seriously and replies, I thought so. No wonder you seem so weak. You didn't have your sword. In that moment, Kane's soul leaves his body once again. He keeps twisting the knife, too. I really thought it was. That's strange. If you had used your sword, perhaps you would have emerged victorious. Kettle flashes him a big, friendly smile, completely oblivious to the situation. Meanwhile, Kane is weeping internally, aware that his self-esteem is about to be crushed. With his fragile ego barely held together, Swordmaster Kane begins the lesson. He is trying to illustrate the difference between basic sword swinging and his fantasy swordsmanship, which harnesses the power of aura. He claims that the main selling point of his style is the ability to make illusions and reality one and the same. That's a pretty bold assertion, my friend. He quizzes Kettle, asking, when you fought my disciple, what did you see? Kettle immediately recalls the man's sword splitting into 3 completely real attacks. Ah, so that's materialization, Kettle says, instantly grasping the concept. He even correctly guesses that it's a style focused on finesse rather than brute force, which Kane confirms through gritted teeth. Kane puffs out his chest once more, declaring that the only path to becoming a true swordmaster is by combining a sword with aura. He channels his energy, and suddenly his sword ignites with a vibrant green aura. It looks pretty cool, I have to admit. Kettle's eyes widen with pure excitement. Ooh, so that's aura. A completely flustered Kane can only stammer, yes. Kane still can't believe he's teaching a barbarian these concepts. He believes that showing is far more effective than telling with this guy. I'll show you myself, he says, taking his stance. His focus is unwavering. This is his moment to truly shine. He unleashes a powerful downward slash, and with a whoosh, a fan of energy erupts. Green energy attacks scream across the entire hall, tearing up the floor. Kettle watches intently, not even flinching. The strike is divided into 5 parts. As the dust settles over the now demolished floor, many people have the ability to create illusions using their aura. Only my swordsmanship allows them to take physical form. He looks so proud of himself as he asks, what do you think? Kettle delivers the most devastating blow. A simple reply in history suggests that I believe I can achieve the same. Cain just sputters, dismissing it as nonsense. Internally, he feels a mix of disbelief and frustration. He screamed about the years of relentless grinding it took him to master this art. "It's faster if I just show you," Kettle says, completely interrupting the old man's internal crisis. He hefts a massive battle axe, leaving Cain completely bewildered. An axe? What is happening right now? Kettle plants his feet firmly and swings the giant weapon. The axe moves in a blur, its speed astonishing, creating multiple distinct afterimages. Cain stands stunned and silent. A sword strike echoes, followed by the horrifying aftermath. The truth dawns on him. He had relied solely on his brute strength and moved too quickly. Kettle slams the axe down, and suddenly a monstrous figure emerges. A shockwave tears a trench through the entire hall in a fiery blast. Cain's face is a perfect mask of pure, unadulterated emotion. Shock fills the air as smoke gently curls off Kettle's axe. With a confident smirk, Kettle asks, "What do you think?" He knows exactly what he just accomplished. Cain is struggling to comprehend the situation. It appeared to be an illusion brought to life, but it was merely an overwhelming display of speed and power. Even he was nearly deceived. He tells Kettle it was just a simple swing, but Kettle counters that if the result is the same in a real fight, does the technique really matter? Cain is left completely speechless. He knows Kettle isn't wrong, and the blow to his pride is truly significant. Refusing to accept defeat, Cain shouts, "Then how about this?" In a flash of green energy, he creates several solid clones of himself. Kettle is genuinely surprised, looking at them as if his body is split apart. This experience is new for him. Cain and his clones launch their attack, and as their combined force strikes, it gouges a deep wound, leaving a massive smoking crater in the floor. Cain proudly explains that this technique is achieved through ultimate dedication. He takes control of his aura and then challenges Kettle, asking if he can replicate it. In response, Kettle remains silent. He simply plants his feet and hefts that giant axe once more. He begins to spin faster and faster, becoming a literal whirlwind. A vortex of raw, destructive power is forming, and things are not looking good for Cain. The spinning intensifies, whipping up a powerful tornado inside the building that shatters the very stones from the walls. Chaos reigns. When everything settles, Kettle stands calmly at the heart of utter devastation. This is the final straw for our swordmaster. Cain collapses, shaking and wailing about how his life's work feels completely meaningless. He is utterly broken. The legendary swordmaster has been reduced to a sobbing wreck on the ground, a scene that is both tragic and absurd. Kettle looks down at the disheveled man and remarks, "Your mental fortitude is weaker than I expected." Switching to therapist mode, he began to guide the conversation with empathy and understanding, offering an unexpected compliment. "Your swordsmanship is truly impressive." Kettle responded, "I merely swung my axe quickly. That's not true swordsmanship, that's just brute force." He continued, "The swordsmanship you displayed wasn't just an afterimage. It was real. I can never truly attain that level of mastery. That small bit of validation is all Cain needs." His spirit is instantly restored. He realizes he's right, his swordsmanship still holds great value. He asserts that materializing illusion and reality is a unique technique that only he can master. His ego has returned. With fire in his eyes, he thinks, there may be a flaw in my technique, but that barbarian is truly incredible. He reasons that no normal human could possibly move fast enough to create solid after-images without using aura, which is, to be fair, true. Seeing that the old man has recovered, Kettle asks once more, "Can you teach me true sword techniques?" Cain quickly gathers himself. My apologies, I got a bit emotional for a moment." With his pride mostly restored, Swordmaster Cain finally begins Kettle's lesson in earnest. He explains that to control aura, one must first awaken to the concept of mystery, which is the secret sauce of this world. No wizard or swordsman can attain the highest levels without it, unless you're a cleric receiving your powers directly from the gods. Kettle wonders whether divine power is different from this. Cain agrees, clarifying that a cleric's powers are granted by the gods and do not reflect their own personal abilities. Kettle appears to be absorbing all this new information with great interest. Cain continues to describe mystery as the innate power within a person, emphasizing that how one controls it determines everything about their abilities. Whether it's harnessing aura, mana, or spirits, awakening this inner power is the first and most vital step on the path to greatness. He reveals that there are 5 stages to mastering the art of mystery. The most basic one is simply called sensing mystery. Kettle asks if anyone can handle it, but Kane quickly shuts that down. Without talent, you can't even grasp it. Sorry, noobs. In fact, Kane refers to those who can merely sense it as third-rate. That's quite a harsh ranking system. Based on your mastery of this mysterious power, everyone in the world is assigned one of 5 distinct ranks. The ranks progress from third-rate to second-rate, then to first-rate, followed by superhuman, and finally culminate in the legendary hero class. As Kettle hears this, a flicker of recognition appears in his eyes, suggesting he is recalling something from his past. Kane simply waves it off, stating that the ranks are a loose guide, and advises Kettle not to worry about it for now. With the lecture finally over, Kettle confirms that he understands everything. Kane announces that it's time to begin the practical lesson. Kane stares intently, prepared to guide our boy Kettle through the first stage, sensing an air of mystery. Let's see how this unfolds. Alright, class is in session. Kane instructs our protagonist to awaken a new sense he has never experienced before. The instructions are straightforward. Feel the wind, feel the earth, and become one with nature. Kettle concentrates, but it proves difficult. Suddenly, he opens his eyes and says, "Yeah, I can't feel anything, though." Kane is completely taken aback. He expected someone with maxed out physical stats to easily pick up on this. He mutters that strong people usually have a better knack for it. However, Kettle, my friend, is the exception to the rule. Kettle confirms that no one from his team is present in the snow. The covered homeland has never experienced anything like this mystical phenomenon. It's time for Plan B. Kane decides to jumpstart Kettle by channeling his own energy into Kettle's body. Kettle's eyes light up. "You're transferring aura?" Kane responds with a vague remark, something along the lines of, "Looking starstruck." Our boy agrees. He has only ever read about this in novels. Kane places a hand on his back and says, him to relax and feel the flow of mana. But the moment he makes contact, Kane is in for a massive shock as he discovers the body. What kind of body could this possibly be? He describes the sensation as feeling like solid rock and is seriously questioning whether Kettle is even human at this point. Kettle snaps him out of his trance, and Kane awkwardly apologizes for losing focus. Getting serious, Kane begins to channel his aura, hoping to awaken. Kane feels confident that this will work, but then something feels off. Kane stops, looking completely baffled. He can't find the path, and he can't even go deep. It's simply out of reach. From Kane's perspective, it's akin to searching for a Wi-Fi signal. A signal in a black hole reveals a vast, empty abyss. He finally has to give up, realizing that this is a complete dead end. Kane pulls back, and Kettle immediately panics. "What do you mean it won't work? Do I really have no talent?" Kane attempts to clarify that it's not about talent. Kettle must discover the path on his own to awaken his power. Kettle understands, but he's worried. "You seem to be saying, I can't sense any of the mystical elements at all." Kane struggles to find an answer, unable to even check. Kettle's body has a unique build that sets it apart. Kettle's body is so incredibly dense that it effectively acts as a shield, preventing the aura from penetrating. He admits he's never seen anything like it. Pure physical power nullifying magic. That's a first. Kettle slumps in disappointment. "So I can't." Kane admits he isn't certain how to gain mystical power. He suggests that our boy go bother some other sword masters or perhaps the wizards at the magic tower. Kane apologizes, but Kettle simply brushes it off. She reassured him, saying it's okay and that there's still a chance. Then he breaks into a sincere, wide grin. "Thank you, Kane, for all your help. You're a great guy." Kane watches him, contemplating the implications of his actions. All the other barbarians he has encountered are monsters who thrive on violence, but Kettle is different. Seizing the moment, Kane asks if Kettle would consider settling down in the kingdom. He offers loyalty, a title, and the chance to rise in power, a high-ranking position, giving it his all. Kettle's response is straightforward and direct. "I refuse. I have no intention of belonging to anything." Kane devises a plan. If he can secure the allegiance of the Barbarian, they might gain their freedom from the Empire. He makes one final attempt, dangling the promise of nobility in front of him. Kettle simply smiles, completely unfazed by the offer. "I'll do things my own way," he says. Kane is momentarily shocked, but then a look of realization crosses his face. Understanding crosses his face as he realizes the situation. He gets our boy, offers one final heartfelt thank you, vowing that he won't forget the favor. As Kettle walks away, Kane realizes that attempting to control everything around him is futile. It was a ridiculous idea. No one can control this man. He's a true force of nature. A free agent, acting entirely on his own accord, he remains a complete enigma, making him potentially intriguing and more dangerous than any barbarian Cain has ever encountered. Sighing, Cain gazes out over the castle, his thoughts drifting to the Emperor's intense focus on an expedition to the demon realm. Meanwhile, a few minutes later, Lord Barkin sits at his desk, fully aware of the Emperor's intentions. Cain reports that people are dying for no reason, and it seems the Emperor aspires to be like that ancient ruler. Cain simply brushes the thought aside, deciding it's a problem for another day. He continues his grim report, noting that the Empire hasn't even conquered all human territory, which makes this entire endeavor seem foolish. Barkin understands the situation. It's only a matter of time before the Emperor's hungry gaze turns toward them. Cain confirms his fears. Since their land is technically part of the Empire, a summons could arrive at any moment. Leaning back, Cain sighs as he voices his frustrations about the world and the half-crazy Emperor who is causing so many problems. Suddenly, Barkin's entire mood shifts as he leans in. He leans forward, dead serious, and asks Cain about a particular rumor, and Cain confirms it. One by one, the movements of demons are becoming increasingly evident. Dungeons are appearing more frequently, and adventurers are preparing for the challenges that await them. As the landscape transforms, heroes from all corners are lured by the promise of treasure and glory. Each dungeon conceals its own secrets, waiting to be discovered by those bold enough to venture inside. Whispers hint that something is seeping out from the demon realm. Whatever is happening, you can be sure it won't be good for humanity. Then Cain stops. But if you think about it, it's strange that the Barbarian is also here. Barkin agrees, noting that it's a very valid point. Cain presses him for an answer, but all the Lord can say is, "I don't know." He explains that, at the very least, our boy Kettle hasn't shown any hostility towards them so far. However, beyond that simple fact, everything else remains a complete and total mystery. Meanwhile, the mystery man is simply taking a moment to reflect. He takes a casual stroll, but soon he begins to notice that something feels a bit off. Yeah, everywhere he goes, people part like the Red Sea. People are literally grabbing their kids to get them out of his way. And what is our hero's brilliant conclusion? He believes it's due to his clothes. Completely misunderstanding the situation, he is utterly convinced that his beast-hide vest isn't civilized enough. So, that settles it. It's time for a significant wardrobe upgrade. He eventually makes his way to an upscale restaurant, searching for a tailor shop. What could possibly go wrong? When the tailor turns around, he nearly has a heart attack. A literal barbarian stands in his high-end store. With genuine tears in his eyes, the poor guy explains that they don't have anything in Kettle's size. You think? Seeing Kettle's disappointed face, the tailor panics and quickly offers to create something custom for him. And just like that, Kettle's mood takes a complete 180. He's thrilled and tells the guy to go for it. The tailor agrees, but his mind is racing with a highlight reel of all the ways this giant could end him if he makes a mistake. On his way to the guild hall, he notices something shiny on the ground that catches his eye. Look at that, a small, shimmering blue orb. You know what that means, everyone. It's time for a side quest. He examines it more closely, completely intrigued by the swirling patterns dance within. This object appears to be quite significant. He decides to ask about it at the guild. He casually pockets the mysterious artifact. Once he arrives, he shows the orb to Rosa and asks if she has any idea what it is. He places it gently in her hand. He explained that he had just found it lying on the street. Rosa examines it closely. It's clearly well crafted and valuable, yet it bears no maker's mark. But then, her eyes begin to glaze over. Suddenly, there was a sharp snap. Kettle breaks the enchantment. For a solid moment, she simply stares into space. The lights are on, but nobody's home. Kettle leans in and asks if she is okay. He observed that it seemed as though her mind was being drawn directly into the orb. Rosa has no memory of it, but she can sense a strange energy surrounding her. Energy radiates from it, and she offers to have it appraised. But our boy just laughs it off, saying that figuring it out is part of the fun. It's all part of the fun as we dive into today's quests. She hands him a list of the typical F-Rank's jobs, cleaning and harvesting. Kettle looks like he's just won the lottery. After another glorious day of hard work, he returns to his room, feeling completely satisfied. He pulls out the strange orb once more, reflecting on the unusual effect it had on Rosa. Suddenly, a faint voice whispers directly into the air. From the orb, a voice calls out, "Come to me." The voice keeps repeating, feeding him directions directly into his mind. His head, he was with this eerie invitation, sets the tone for what's to come. Naturally, he decides to go check it out. He follows his mental GPS to a dark, ominous cave. "I've arrived," he announces. "Where's the one who called for me?" A sinister voice echoes in response, declaring that another sacrifice is required. He has entered. The entity refers to him as a dumb barbarian, but acknowledges him as a decent offering. And there he is, folks. The source of the voice is a terrifying skeletal mage, its eyes ablaze with blue flames. He sits on the throne within a vast glowing ritual circle. His resurrection is finally at hand. So, who is this skeletal figure on the throne? Long ago, he was a powerful and malevolent sorcerer, pulling the strings from the shadows. He was the mastermind behind all the wars, a true menace. Eventually, the heroes caught on and set out to hunt him down. Just as they were on the verge of victory, he resorted to the oldest trick in the book. He abandoned his body and transferred his soul into a life vessel, transforming himself into a lich. Now, he's essentially immortal. As long as his soul jar remains safe, he cannot be killed. To reclaim his body, he established a presence near this remote town. He scattered shiny orbs to attract easy sacrifices for his ritual. These orbs served as magical batteries for his grand plan, just the usual world domination stuff. Everything was going perfectly until a major wrench was thrown into his plans. Why is there a barbarian here? He chose this remote location specifically to avoid strong distractions. Guys like this, so the appearance of a barbarian is simply strange. The Lich observes our hero through his magical crystal ball and thinks to himself, "Well, you're quite a large fellow. You'll make an excellent sacrifice." His magic orb has a clever trick. It only hypnotizes those who haven't yet unlocked their own magical potential. He assumes our boy Kettle is a total magicless nobody, just a big dumb piece of meat for the grinder. He sends out a spooky mental invitation. "Come on in. Barbarian, you will be the final piece of my glorious comeback tour." Keto confidently strides up to the front door, a massive and imposing wooden entrance set in the heart of a cave. He pushes it open and takes a step inside. Inside, he immediately spots him. Standing right there is the man of the hour himself, a skeletal figure. A mage in elaborate robes, featuring eerie, glowing blue eyes. Kettle is completely fanboying as he whispers, "It's a real, live lich." He is completely geeking out, saying, "Wow, this is the ultimate fantasy story final boss. This is so cool." Now it is the lich's turn to be confused. "What are you?" he demands, realizing that the mind control has completely failed. Kettle glances at the piles of bones scattered across the floor. "Ah," he says, "so that's how you've been luring people in." The Lich still cannot sense any magic from him, and is absolutely convinced that Kettle is just an ordinary barbarian. His only explanation was, "You must have some, a super rare artifact that safeguards your mind." Kettle simply gives him a blank stare. However, our boy is honest to a fault. The Lich finishes speaking and his staff begins to glow ominously. "Do you really think you can fool me? If you had simply obeyed, this would have been painless. But now I'll simply have to overpower you with sheer force," he declares, raising his minions from the dead. "Go, my bony boys," and the newly armed skeletons charge directly at him. Kettle isn't bothered at all. He simply smirks. "An evil lich is hiding in a dungeon, huh? I think I understand the situation." He casually slaps the skeleton with his bare hand, and it shatters into pieces instantly. The lich is utterly speechless. Kettle simply shakes his hand and says, "You are much shallower than I expected." Oh, that did it. The Lich is now furious. "Let's see you talk tough when I take away your arms and legs." He sends in the entire team. "Squad, take him down." Kettle scoffs and cracks his knuckles. Bam! He punches the first skeleton into dust. He follows this with a powerful kick. Crunch! Another one bites the dust literally. "You bastard," the Lich sees. All right, playtime is over. His staff glows with an intense brightness as he reveals his trump card, Rise. Kettle's eyes grow wide. A towering, fully armored skeleton knight emerges, wielding a massive sword and shield. And what does our boy do? He gets excited once more. Since this one was created by a lich, it could be different from the last. "Kill him!" The lich screams. The knight charges forward with the force of a freight train. Kettle grins and cracks his knuckles once more, finally ready for a real fight. The knight swings its giant glowing sword while Kettle simply watches. He finds it quite unusual that a skeleton knight has been summoned by a lich. With a swift motion, Kettle winds up and delivers a powerful punch that completely shatters the knight's skull, sending the undead warrior into a shower of sparks, bone, and rubble. So much for that real fight. The lich is left utterly speechless, his bony jaw nearly dropping to the floor as he witnesses this casual display of pure annihilation. As the dust settles, Kettle casually stomps on the knight's fallen armor, twitching his hand. He crushed it for good measure. That seemed like a bit of overkill, my dude. He glances over his shoulder, looking utterly bored. Is that all you got? The Lich desperately scans our hero, trying to assess his strength, to understand his situation. Who is this guy? However, his magical scan yields no results. There's no magic, no mana, and not even a hidden artifact. The findings simply don't add up. Could it be? Did this barbarian truly just defeat a top-tier undead with nothing but his bare fists? Is that even possible in this world? Deciding that this barbarian is far too reckless, special to kill. The Lich figures prominently in the story. He'll need to get his hands dirty. Consider it an honor, the Lich proclaims, descending to the ground with all the drama of a final boss. Suddenly, Kettle cries out and stumbles backward as he is enveloped by a dense, black fog. The Lich's voice echoes through the darkened chamber, a chilling sound that sends shivers down the spines of all who hear it. Cave. Yes, fear me, barbarian. You will pay for trespassing in my sanctuary. Kettle simply looks confused. No, I came because the orb called to me. Weren't you the one who scattered it? The narrator confirms it. The Lich sent out a spam email to lure powerful individuals, and Kettle clicked the link. The Lich completely loses control. Shut up. I am the great mage who destroyed 5 kingdoms. I am Kratos Bernula's Kessis. Kettle suddenly remembers the Elf Queen and begins to wonder if having an exceptionally long name is a trend in this place. Tired of the chit-chat, Kratos unleashes a massive attack. Vortex of dark magic. Become the foundation of my resurrection. The spell completely engulfs Kettle, and his eyes glaze over, swirling as if he has been hypnotized. Kratos begins to gloat, showcasing his special magic. It controls emotions and ensnares individuals in negativity until their minds shatter. He's absolutely certain that a simple barbarian with no magic resistance is completely doomed. It's an easy win, but something feels off. It's clear that this barbarian is a special case. Kratos decides to capture him for study instead and orders his minions to move forward. Another skeleton warrior emerges, crawling forward. Emerging from the ground, sword at the ready, and shuffles toward the dazed Kettle. But just as it approaches, Kettle's eyes gleam with a menacing purple light. In a flash, he pivots and kicks the skeleton, instantly turning it to dust. Its entire torso disintegrated into dust. Talk about a rude awakening. He turns to face the Lich, appearing completely unscathed. Once again, Kratos' jaw drops in disbelief. It seems like it might be broken this time. The Lich can hardly believe it. How is this possible? That mind control spell should have worked perfectly. Kettle looks at him, unimpressed. Are you just going to stand there watching? It's not working, dude. Ignoring him, the Lich channels all his remaining energy. Chanting dramatic incantations, he unleashes his ultimate attack, a massive sphere of pure dark energy that seems capable of swallowing the entire world. How does Kettle react to this world-ending spell? His eyes sparkle with excitement, resembling a child on Christmas morning. Kratos cackles, declaring, "Victory is mine." But suddenly, he begins coughing violently and collapses. He used up all his mana, but he still feels pretty confident. There's no way the barbarian could have survived an attack of that magnitude. He looks up, expecting to see a crater, but instead, he freezes in sheer terror. Kettle is standing right there, completely unscathed. Impressive, but is this really all you've got? Powerful weapon, and now he's grappling with the overwhelming consequences of his actions. The weight of his choices bears down on him, pushing him to the brink of despair. As he struggles to regain control, the chaos around him mirrors his inner turmoil, leaving him questioning everything he once believed. A powerful spell, capable of breaking the mind of a great hero, was cast, yet it had no effect. He demands to know what Kettle is, but our protagonist is lost in thought. While that was impressive, he feels nothing from it. The Lich stands paralyzed with fear. Kettle picks up his axe with a grim determination. Smile, I guess it's my turn now. Just as Kettle is about to turn him into bone meal, the Lich experiences an epiphany. A dark, eerie smile spreads across his skull as he thinks. So that's how it is. The Lich is now fully convinced that Kettle knows his secret identity. He says, "You came here because you know who I am." So it's true then. Kettle stands there wondering what in the world this bag of bones is babbling about. Kratos lets out a massive villainous laugh. "Oh, Empire, are you that afraid of me? I must admit, you're clever to track me this quickly." His ego is completely off the charts. He begins to scream, "But I will rise again. I will bring destruction to your world once more." He has heard rumors about a secret empire project, a human production field, where they essentially grow super soldiers. And he's completely convinced that Kettle is one of them, a weapon created solely to eliminate him, an assassin dispatched by the big bad empire. Yeah, buddy, that's definitely the case. However, he's determined not to go down without a fight. He announces his full, ridiculously long name. I am Kratos Branulus Kessis. I will kill you and destroy the Empire. Kettle's reaction? He's just thinking, is this guy insane? Yes, Kettle. Yes, he is. Finally finished with his monologue, the Lich summons a glowing spectral urn. This, my friends, is his phylactery, his soul jar. He catches the urn from the air, prepared to unleash his final trump card. A massive beam of pure magic erupts from the urn and slams directly into Kettle's chest. Kettle's eyes turn completely white. Is the spell really working? The Lich's plan is flawless. He intends to use the urn to transfer his soul directly into Kettle's body, allowing him to possess it. It's a one-way trip. Once he's in, he's trapped in this new body, unless he can become a Lich once more. But hey, it's his only choice. He takes it over, declaring, now this body belongs to me. However, the moment he enters Kettle's mind, he realizes he has made a terrible mistake. He looks around wondering what this place is. Is this really the Barbarian's subconscious? Just gazing at this mental hellscape is enough to shatter his spirit. He senses that something is profoundly, profoundly wrong. He's beginning to doubt whether the Empire was truly behind this. As his soul begins to tear apart, he realizes that this can't be the work of the Empire. Not even they could have imagined something this horrifying. It's truly shattering his mind. With one final bewildered, the great Lich Kardos is simply erased. Poof, gone forever. Back in the real world, Kettle is left scratching his head, wondering what just happened. He felt a slight tickle, and that was it. In front of him, the Lich's body collapses to the floor, utterly hollow. You might expect him to be pleased, but Kettle is actually disappointed. He thought the attack was impressive and wanted to learn what kind of magic it was. He strolls over to the bones, thinking the Lits in this world are pretty weak. Little does he know what just transpired inside his own head, but a win is a win. He cleared the dungeon, and now it's time to collect the loot. He grabbed the Lich staff, recalling that the skeleton was glowing as he used his magic. A light bulb goes off in his head. Perhaps this magic stick will finally allow him to use magic. So, into his inventory it goes, or as he puts it, in my pocket. Then he spots another one, the urn. He picks up the physical urn, correctly identifying it as a life vessel. He decides to take it to Rosa for appraisal. With all his new toys gathered, he surveys his surroundings. But suddenly, his gamer instincts kick in. He notices a strange pattern on the wall, something he hadn't seen before. A secret room? He wonders, before doing what every RPG character would do. He presses the button, and what do you know? The wall grinds. The door creaked open, revealing a hidden chamber. Classic. He steps inside and discovers a room full of people gathered together, engaged in lively conversation and sharing their thoughts. They stand there like mannequins. His first thought isn't about the people, it's, wow, secret rooms are real. His second thought is that, who are all these unusual characters? He waves a hand in front of one guy's face. Hello? Is anyone home? He tries it on someone else, asking if anyone is still alive inside. He gets nothing, leaving him uncertain about what to do with a room full of human statues. He decides that the best course of action is to simply, his logic is sound for once. He'll report it to the guild, and they can send someone else to handle it. It's not his problem. Back at the mercenary guild, Kettle strolls in, proudly displaying his new loot. Rosa greets him with a friendly smile, slightly surprised to see him back so early. Kettle simply grins back, mentioning he has a few things to take care of. Just a light afternoon of erasing an ancient evil. Rosa feels confused, so Kettle takes the time to explain. She explained the orb and revealed who was behind it. She laughs it off, telling him not to joke about something so serious. I mean, come on, a Lich? One of only 5 in the entire world, hiding out in this remote little town? It sounds like a bad joke. To prove he's serious, Kettle slams the Lich's giant purple urn down onto her desk, silencing her immediately. He calmly explains that this is the Lich's life vessel, and then asks if she can appraise it for him. Just another Tuesday for Kettle. And Rosa, her brain just short-circuits. She completely loses her train of thought. She freezes, finally realizing that this absolute madman isn't lying. Then Kettle casually adds, oh, by the way, there are some people inside. He explains that he could have rescued them, but they appeared somewhat brain dead. So, he thought, that's a job for the guild. And then, ding, the light bulb goes off in Rosa's head. She realizes the solution to the problem has been right in front of her all along. Finally, the connection is made between the Lich and the recent string of missing person cases. She jumps out of her chair and says, "Wait a second, I'll call someone right away." A few minutes later, a city guard bursts in exclaiming, "Did somebody say Lich?" Kettle gives a little wave and says, "Oh hi, nice to see you." He assures them that everything is settled and that it's no big deal. The guard stammers out the Lich's lengthy, unpronounceable fantasy name. When Kettle casually confirms it, the poor guy completely short-circuits. This Kratos was a legendary evil mage who had terrorized the land for a century. He drove kings to madness and erased 5 entire kingdoms from existence. He can't believe that a monster like that was in their small village. "Yeah, but he wasn't that impressive," Kettle says. "He did some strange things and basically defeated himself." The guard stands there, stunned into silence. The guard is sweating profusely as he demands more. Kettle's single brain cell has already processed the details. Clocked out for the day, there's nothing more to share. Realizing this situation is far beyond his pay grade, the guard he decides to leave, reporting this directly to the Lord. The news reaches Lord Barkin, and he is furious. "A Lich? Right next to my territory?" he roars. The guard confirms everything. He has testimony from those who were rescued, the victims, and of course, the Lich's actual phylactery serves as undeniable proof. Barkin quickly recognizes the political nightmare ahead. A Lich of this magnitude will draw the Empire's attention. Attention is drawn to the fact that his top fighter is on vacation. "This is truly troublesome," he mutters. He slams his fist on the desk and issues the order. "Prepare a communication for the capital immediately." Barkin admits they got extremely lucky. If Kettle hadn't discovered Kratos, right after he respawned, would have made them his first victims. He knows that Kettle's timing was perfect, but the accomplishment is still mind-blowing. This barbarian deserves a fitting reward. Staring at the moon, he wonders what kind of loot you would even give a guy who can solo a legendary Lich. The next morning, an urgent atmosphere filled the air. Shouts reverberate throughout the castle. Barkin was already awake. Calmly, she says, "Let him in." The massive doors swing open, and a frantic maid rushes inside. "My lord, the Inquisitor of the Sun God, Lord Aquaz, has arrived." Barkin's eyes widen in pure astonishment and shock. Why would a VIP like her show up in his small, remote territory? There she stands, enveloped in a radiant holy aura. The Inquisitor of the Sun God has officially made her entrance. Later, Barkin sits across from her and gives his. "As the Lord of the territory, I extend a warm welcome to you. It is both an honor and a privilege to have you here among us. Your presence enriches our community, and I look forward to forging a strong bond as we work together for the betterment of our land." She introduces herself as Aquaz, Inquisitor of the Sun God, a judge who punishes the lost. Just a completely normal job title. Barkin knows exactly who she is, the youngest and strongest Inquisitor on the entire continent, a true celebrity. She is renowned for eliminating warlocks, and her authority is absolute. Aquaz dives straight in, acknowledging that his territory is somewhat chaotic. Barkin attempts to downplay the situation, realizing she can't possibly be here about the Lich. Can she? He finally asks her why she's here. He looks at him and says, "I am here to discuss a divine revelation." Barkin is completely stunned. However, before she reveals the sacred message, Aquaz has a request. She wants to hear all about the recent incident. He begins recounting the entire story, and she is captivated. Shocked, the barbarian defeated the Lich and asks, he confirms it, revealing that the Lich was none other than the infamous Kratos. That name sends a shockwave through Aquaz. What? That creature was here? As proof, Barkin presents the Lich's phylactery. Staring at it, the urn causes Aquaz's calm and collected composure to completely shatter. "What exactly has happened here?" she whispers, clutching her holy symbol in hand. Her mind races, focused solely on the task at hand. She wants to know if the barbarian is still in town. Lord Barkin confirms her worst fears. Yes, the incredibly powerful barbarian is still lingering in his territory. Barkin notes that with this guy, anything seems possible. He even casually mentions that Kettle also defeated Swordmaster Kane, leaving Aquaz completely stunned. A new powerhouse has entered the game, and Aquaz quickly attempts to identify him, questioning which tribe this formidable figure belongs to. Barkin reveals that Kettle claimed to be from the White Wasteland. That name hits Aquaz like a truck. The White Wasteland is simply another term for the snowy desert, a literal demon zone. My friend is not happy about it. Suddenly, a thought strikes her, and all the pieces begin to click into place, a new unknown power emerging from a demon-infested land. She wonders aloud if perhaps this barbarian is the very reason she was sent here. Meanwhile, Barkin stands there, completely bewildered. With a fire in her eyes, she makes it official. She needs to meet this barbarian face to face, and she needs to do it now. Meanwhile, Kettle is back in his room, admiring the stone he took from the Lich's staff. He believes it enhances magic or something similar. Then he decides to ask the mage about it later. His brilliant train of thought is interrupted when he notices the sun is up, signaling it's time for our hero to rise. On cue, a fully armored guard arrives with a message. The sun god's inquisitor wishes to see him, and the meeting will take place at the church. The guard offers him some advice, suggesting that he should show respect when he meets the others. Kettle simply flashes him a big grin, and he assures everyone not to worry. He's got this under control. Looking a bit flustered, the guard he simply asks if he's ready to head out. Kettle, now fully geared up in his barbarian outfit, flashes a confident smile and says, "Let's go." All right, folks, here's a bit more about the world. The gods are absolutely real. They distribute power like it's candy and can even make an appearance in person. The main hub for all this divine action, the central gathering spot for the faithful, is the church. The guard escorts Kettle through the city, eventually stopping in front of a massive building. Kettle looks up and instantly becomes starstruck. He gazes at the magnificent church of the sun god. The guard informs him that someone will meet him inside. Kettle thanks him and continues on inside. He pushes open the massive doors, taking a deep breath as he enters the sacred building. The interior is equally impressive, featuring massive statues, rows of pews illuminated by a heavenly light. He is immediately greeted by a welcoming committee of 3 nuns. "Welcome, Sir Kettle." One of them mentions Inquisitor Aquaz. She is waiting and offers to show him the way. They guide him into a beautiful room filled with yellow flowers, where a woman stands with her back to him. She turns and introduces herself as Aquaz, Inquisitor of the Sun God, and she means business. Kettle offers a friendly smile and introduces himself. "I'm Kettle the Barbarian." He thinks to himself that she seems a bit too young to be an inquisitor. He believes she must possess some serious skills to land a job like that so early in her career. Aquaz, on the other hand, is immediately suspicious, wondering what this giant is smiling about. Kettle gets straight to the point. She asked him why he had been summoned. She explains that it's about the dungeon incident. Apparently, the Lich he killed was the infamous Kratos, a world-class villain with a significant body count. She says that Kratos was so strong that only certified heroes could stand a chance against him. Kettle acknowledges he's heard the stories, but he insists that the Lich he fought was a complete klutz who essentially defeated himself. Seeing her total disbelief, he closes his eyes and says, "Look, I'm just telling you what I saw." Aquaz makes a bold proposal. Why not invite her god to be a direct witness to their conversation? She explains that it's essentially a holy lie detector. If he lies, a divine alarm will sound. She thinks there's no way this barbarian will agree to it. She even offers him an easy way out by saying he can refuse. To her absolute shock, Kettle is thrilled. Why would I refuse? This is his opportunity to experience true divine power. What a nerd. His pure, almost childlike excitement completely overwhelms Aquaz's mind. She simply can't grasp why he appears so happy. She gently inquires if this makes him uncomfortable. Kettle, bless his heart, is simply confused and asks her to clarify what she means. He sees no reason to be disturbed at all. After all, everything seems to be in order. He's just been telling the truth. What is there to worry about? Seeing his confidence, Aquaz agrees and closes her eyes to begin the ritual. She clasps her hands together and begins to pray. "God, who guards the sun itself, please reveal all lies in this place with your gaze." The moment she finishes, a massive pillar of golden light bursts forth, radiating holiness. Light erupts from the church, shooting straight into the sky. Boom! Kettle stands frozen in shock, caught right in the middle of it all. "Oh my gosh, I can feel it!" he exclaims. A presence from way high above, a being so immense and powerful that it defies description. At this moment, he can sense the emotions of this powerful god. Confusion reigns as the god finds himself completely and utterly bewildered. Even the deity struggles to understand what to make of our boy. And just like that, the light fades away. The room returns to normal, leaving both of them sitting at the table. Aquaz lets out a quiet sigh of relief, grateful that there was no holy reaction. Pulling herself together, she makes it official. "Then let's start. From now on, inside this place, no one may lie." Kettle simply glances back at her with a cool, confident grin. Everything seems just right. With the sun god's anti-lie detector officially activated, the interrogation is set to begin. Kettle rewinds the tape, recounting for the 100th time how he conquered the dungeon all on his own. Not a single lie detected. Aquaz realizes that this guy was telling the truth all along. He just got lucky that he encountered the Lich when they did. She apologizes for being so rude, but our conversation took an unexpected turn. Boy Kettle just grins back, saying he kind of enjoyed it. Just when you think it's over, Aquaz delivers one final blow. She has a personal question and it seems serious. She leans in and asks the big question, "Are you really from the White Snowfield?" His answer, "Yep, just like that." Aquaz is completely floored. The guy is actually from the demon realm. Her mind races with possibilities. Could this man be the legendary Gray Barbarian from the old tales? But wait, Keto flips the script. "My turn," he says. "Why are you really here?" She attempts to play it cool, mumbling about personal matters, but Keto sees right through her. He gets right to the point. "Was that business just to see if I was some kind of monster?" Oof, that was a direct hit. Aquaz gets flustered as she tries to deny it, but Kettle isn't letting her off the hook. He gestures toward the glowing room, referring to it as the Eye of the God. That seems a bit excessive for a simple lie detector test, don't you think? And she's completely exposed. Under the watchful eye of the gods, she can't even deceive about her true intentions. Checkmate, Keto. "So you came here just for me?" he presses. She panics and exclaims no, insisting that there was an oracle. It turns out a prophecy brought her here, and she believed he might be the one. The test results were, to say the least, quite confusing. She finally comes clean and apologizes for hiding things. However, Kettle, in his usual quirky manner, simply responds that he found it interesting. But now his curiosity has piqued. He confronts her with the oracle revealed a cryptic prophecy, hinting at a future filled with challenges and choices that would shape the fate of many. Its words spoke of a hero rising from humble beginnings, destined to confront darkness and restore balance. The message was both a warning and a call to action, urging those who heard it to prepare for the trials ahead. Aquaz hesitates. This is top secret information she has never shared before. Normally she would share, but for some reason, she decides that Ketal gets a pass. She reveals the details of the prophecy and everything she knows. It leaves our boy Kettle absolutely speechless. A little while later, Aquaz sitting by a window in the massive hall, she receives a visitor. It's Lord Barkin, and he knows. It's clear right away that something is on her mind. She admits that she met Kettle, but now she feels more confused than ever. What exactly is he, she wonders. Barkin confirms one thing for certain. Kettle is undeniably a barbarian from the White Snowfield. He claims that obtaining intel from that location is impossible, but his origin has been confirmed. Barkin was truly hoping it was all just a big mistake. If this news leaks, the entire world will panic. Many people are eager to claim a piece of the White Snowfield, particularly the Emperor. If the Emperor gets personally involved, it will lead to absolute chaos. Aquaz tells him to relax. They will handle the situation regarding the Lich incident, and Kettle's identity remains under wraps, allowing Barkin to finally breathe easy again. Then he asks the million-dollar question. Are all the barbarians from there like him? Aquaz thinks for a moment. Probably not. Her logic is sound. If they were truly that overpowered, they would have already conquered the entire world by now. It's true that most barbarians are essentially walking embodiments of chaos, muscle-bound individuals with only a few brain cells to spare. But what happens when you give those powerhouses a big brain? You get someone like Kettle. Barkin mentions a rumor about the new barbarian king, who is said to possess both brains and brawn. Aquaz confirms it. She's met the guy, and he was definitely not your typical club-swinging barbarian. Barkin believes a Kettle versus the king showdown would be incredible, but Aquaz firmly disagrees. She reminds him that both barbarians and god-worshippers not getting along makes it difficult to grow stronger together. Barkin circles back to address what was so important about the situation. That oracle mentioned she needed to confirm something regarding Kettle. She needed to determine whether he was truly human or merely something pretending to be one. Barkin is shaken. What on earth did that oracle say? As she finally reveals the true prophecy, Barkin, it seems like he has just seen a ghost. Sometime later, Kettle is summoned to Lord Barkin's office, where the Lord begins with some polite small talk. Kettle isn't here to play games. I'm fine. Why did you call me here? Barkin shifts into a serious tone. First, he expresses his gratitude. You saved the entire domain from the Lich Kartos. He admits that if the Lich had been at full power, they all would have been doomed. But then the bad news arrives. He informs Kettle his epic win will remain a closely guarded secret. Defeating the Lich is a significant achievement, but if the Emperor finds out, he will swiftly mobilize his forces, which is not ideal. Kettle simply shrugs. Fame was never his goal. Barkin clarifies that it's not an apology, but he does have a reward prepared. He taps the desk, and a servant approaches, bringing in the goods. Kettle's eyes sparkle with excitement, practically bursting from his head. It's a massive, sparkling bag of loot. Oh yeah, our guy is about to cash in. Kettle stares at it, confused, but Barkin smiles and tells him it's no ordinary bag, encouraging him to check it out for himself. Kettle stares at the tiny pouch, completely mesmerized by the magical sparkles. Barkin tells him to stop gawking and just open the thing already. He then reveals that it's a pouch-type artifact, a magical item designed for storage. Believe it or not, the space inside is reportedly as large as the entire room they occupy. An artifact. Our boy's mind is completely blown. It's the first time he's ever seen one up close. Barkin claims he can even accommodate items that are larger than the kettle. True to form, has to test that right away. He thrusts his comically large axe at the tiny figure. The hole draws it in completely. Barkin explains how to retrieve it. Just reach in and visualize the item in your mind. Kettle is completely amazed by how cool it is. He loves it and promises to put it to good use. Now that everything is settled, he has one final challenge to face, the prophecy. He recalls Swordmaster Kane's report. Aberrations from the demon realm are beginning to appear. Barkin can't help but wonder if these strange events are connected to that same dark prophecy. The prophecy warns of a great evil descending upon this land before spreading throughout the entire world. It's important to note that the Barkin territory consists of a network of small villages that maintain regular communication with one another. But then one day, a remote village suddenly goes completely silent. Poof! It's as if it vanished off the map. A nearby town sends a group of people to investigate, but spoiler alert, they didn't return either. Upon hearing this, the Lord summoned the guards, and as you might expect, they vanished as well. That's when Lord Barkin finally realized this was much more than just a communications issue. Back at the Mercenary Guild, Rosa posts an urgent request that comes directly from the Lord. Kettle requests the details. The task? Investigate the village that has gone dark. She claims it's just a simple dispatch mission, yet the pay is astonishingly high. Say no more. The kettle is on. Rosa smiles to herself, confident that our boy is the right man for the job. Later, at the quest meeting point, the other mercenaries whisper nervously among themselves. The cleric, Hayes, stands off to the side. She sat to the side, looking as if she wanted to be anywhere but there. She glanced up when someone approached and called her name. Just a moment. Is that Mr. Kettle? Kettle smirked, revealing a brand new look. In his custom-made outfit, our boy has truly had a glow-up. He explains that his old clothes were falling apart, so he had some new ones made and even showcased the design himself. Hayes realizes that Kettle is on the quest as well. He confirms this, stating that he couldn't pass up a job as intriguing as this one. He inquires whether their former party members are present. Hayes believes they were wise to decline. Kettle looks around at the sparse gathering. What seemed like a straightforward quest now feels more complicated, especially given the significant reward. Hayes must tell him the truth. This isn't a simple mission. The pay is far too high for just reconnaissance. She mentions the rumors about the guards who have vanished, making it clear that this request is anything but ordinary. Despite this revelation, Kettle can't shake his disappointment over the low turnout. Hayes leans in to whisper that there's yet another rumor, but she trails off with a nervous laugh. The rumor is about Aquas, the heretic of the sun god. The Inquisitor makes her grand entrance, confirming the speculation. The Inquisitor herself is joining, which explains why everyone else has backed out. Kettle reassures a terrified Hayes not to worry, describing Aquas as a polite and kind woman. Hayes is stunned. You know her? He replies that, of course, she is a friend and Inquisitor. Barbarian and Hayes are friends, but the math isn't adding up for Hayes. Kettle walks right over to greet her, and Aquas, she immediately shuts him down, saying, I don't recall being friends with you. Ouch. Unfazed, Kettle simply laughs it off. Well, maybe we can start being friends now. He's as smooth as sandpaper, this guy. Aquas ignores him and instead asks if Hayes follows Lady Calrocia. Kettle is thrilled that she knows the name, but Aquas, seeming troubled by this, Kettle asks if something is wrong. Aquas explains that Calrocia's followers are currently in a period of rest, with only high-ranking members permitted to be out. She quickly dismisses it, thinking she's mistaken, just as Hayes begins to wave them over. Just then, another person arrives. Well, look who it is. The guard captain and a few of his men, all suited up. Kettle, the social butterfly, greets him with a broad grin, while Aquas appears to have had enough of his antics. Meanwhile, Hayes appears completely overwhelmed by this formidable Dune super team. The guard captain formally welcomes everyone who has accepted the invitation. With the request in mind, they set off without further ado. The party was in full swing, with laughter and music filling the air. Friends gathered around, sharing stories and enjoying each other's company. The atmosphere was lively, and everyone seemed to be having a great time. As the night went on, the energy only intensified, creating unforgettable memories for all involved. She sets off for the village. Kettle surveys the entire squad and feels a sense of determination. This really feels like a raid. He notices Aqua's looking anxious and asks, "Does this mean the time of your prophecy has finally arrived?" She says the gods haven't given her a specific time, and this could simply be a case of poor cell service in the village. But Kettle isn't letting it go. He presses on. She pointed out that there is still a possibility. The prophecy foretold a great evil about to descend upon the world. Kettle's reaction to this world-ending news is a small smile as he thinks to himself, "A great evil, huh?" He seems far too excited about it. A few hours later, the party gathers to discuss their next move as they finally arrive at their destination. The guard captain announces that they have arrived at the village entrance. And folks, it is completely and utterly silent, like the eerie quiet of a horror movie. He asks Aquaz for a vibe check, and she confirms his fears. She can't sense a single person inside, not one. One of the guards suggests that perhaps they all just packed up and left. In response, the captain orders everyone to spread out and begin searching for clues. The team prepares to move, but the captain is contemplating what we are all thinking. How do 100 people simply vanish into thin air? He's determined to get to the bottom of it, issuing orders to investigate further. The search is about to begin. There must be something here. Almost immediately, one of the guys discovers something. He yells, "Captain, over here, there's food on the table." The captain believes they left it behind when they fled with the soldier. He yells back, "No, that's not it. The food is still warm." And freeze frame. The gears in the captain's mind are turning away. He dislikes the horrifying picture they are painting. This is seriously bad. The village went dark days ago, and every single person they sent to investigate has completely vanished. Back in the house, the mercenary confirms that they found no trace of anyone leaving or attempting to hide. With a grim expression, the captain instructs him to stay alert, searching for answers. This entire situation feels fundamentally unjust. Everywhere they look, they encounter the same eerie scene, signs of life that occurred just moments ago, yet not a single living soul is in sight. Another soldier returns with a report, indicating there is evidence that people were present here, but there is absolutely no sign of where they have gone. They just seem to have evaporated. The captain turns to Aquaz, desperate for an answer. She finds herself completely clueless. He turns to Cattell for a clever idea. Cattell confirms he hasn't found anything either. He can't sense a single presence. Super helpful, my man. Just as the captain is about to lose his temper, Cattell casually suggests, "Why don't we just ask someone who knows?" The captain's mind is completely scrambled. Cattell looks at them as if they're crazy. "Didn't you notice?" he says. "There's someone else here." The captain begins to panic, realizing he is referring to a new person. And right on cue, a mysterious woman appears in the distance, wearing a very smug smirk. "Well now, isn't this interesting?" she says, feigning surprise. "I thought I was perfectly hidden. How did you spot me?" Kettle approaches her with some impressive logic. "You weren't here just a moment ago, and now you are. It's hard to overlook." She laughs, explaining that her magic is designed to trick their brains into thinking. She had been there all along, even pointing out that the Inquisitor had fallen for it. The woman sighs as she looks up at Cattell, noting he's not a magic user. Her smile fades. "Real sinister," she asks. "Who are you?" The guard captain's instincts are on high alert. He yells at his troops, "Everyone, fall back now!" As his men begin to flee in panic, he realizes Aquaz stands there, completely frozen in fear, with a look of pure terror. Aquaz stammers, I can't sense anything at all from her." That sends a chill down everyone's spine. If the top-ranked Inquisitor can't decipher this, for a woman, it can only mean one of two things. Either she isn't evil at all, or she's a demon so incredibly powerful that her presence is completely undetectable. I'm betting on the second option. Mercelia lets out a big, dramatic sigh, expressing her disappointment that she wanted to follow them around for a while. What a bummer. Then her face transforms into a drooling, monstrous grin. "Well, I've decided," she purrs. And in a flash, her world changed. The true form is revealed. With a wicked grin, she makes a chilling promise. "I'll take you as my slave and drag you to hell." With a snap of her fingers, a massive surge of dark magic erupts from her claw. A sphere bursts open, and she rises into the air, looking down on her terrified party as if they were their aunts. Kettle, Hayes, and the ever-serious Inquisitor Aquaz can only stare up in utter horror, their jaws dropping in disbelief. A city guard begins shouting for everyone to flee, but it's far too late. A massive purple energy dome descends from the sky, trapping them all inside. Whoops! The demoness gloats, declaring that the entire village is now her personal playground. No one can escape, she purrs. She licks a long purple nail, her glowing eyes fixed on her victims. You're all my prey now. The crowd is in disbelief. A demon here. Meanwhile, a kettle simply looks curious. Hayes stammers that it's a named demon before immediately collapsing into a prayer position. Kettle gently places a hand on her head, and he tells her to relax, because he is right beside her. She looks up, contemplating whether she should believe him or not. Kettle crosses his arms and asks, "So, what's the big deal about a demon with a name?" Hayes needs to provide him with the lore dump. You see, most things, what people call demons, are merely weak fragments of corrupted mana. However, some emerge from pure darkness itself. They forge a name through sheer force of will, effectively elevating their very existence. These are true demons, and even the weakest among them possesses enough power to devastate an entire kingdom. So, it's definitely a big deal. Kettle finally catches on and concludes that it's a named demon. Hayes shakily confirms that he is correct. She recognizes the demon as a Setiar, a legendary villain from centuries past. What could it be doing in this random village? Kettle approaches the energy barrier, contemplating whether he can simply punch his way through. Hayes explains that it's unbreakable. The only way out is to take her down. He taps the shimmering wall, a look of understanding on his face. I see. Suddenly, the barrier begins to crack at the point where he touched it. But wait, that would mean the end of the fun. He begins waving his arms around like a complete fool, trying to hide the crack from Hayes while laughing. The completely baffled Hayes asks what he is doing. He simply gives her a cheerful thumbs up and says nothing at all. The scene shifts back to the battle. A sinner taunts the Inquisitor, questioning whether she enjoyed the little games she played with the village. Aquaz recalls the abandoned village, where meals were left half-eaten, and wonders if this was merely the result of a demon's mischief. She grits her teeth, utterly disgusted by this demon who toys with human lives for mere amusement. Meanwhile, Kittenil is watching their epic psychic battle with 3D glasses and a bucket of popcorn. I can't make this up. Aquaz's mind races. Summoning a named demon demands a tremendous sacrifice, far greater than that of an entire village. For a being that powerful to establish her territory without anyone noticing should be completely impossible. A Setiar smirks under a blood-red moon, taunting. You really thought I was going to reveal my master plan? Aquaz clenches her fist and declares, foul corruption dares to defile the earth, as she fully embraces her righteous warrior mode. The demon throws her head back and cackles with delight. Corruption? Filth? She revels in it. Hey, dog of God, she sneers. Do you really think your little god can save you from me? The world is fracturing, a CTR proclaims. This world no longer belongs solely to you. Long ago, an ancient war erupted in which gods and humans united to battle against evil. In the end, the heroes triumphed, and all the demons were banished from the world. It's a classic tale. From the foul depths of hell, I have awaited this very day, she snarls, a terrifying grin spreading across her face. And now for the big reveal. I am a CTR, the demon of gravity. That's a pretty cool title. She vows to wash away the shame of her past defeat and drench the entire world in darkness. Aquaz retorts by calling her a disgusting creature and declaring that the world belongs solely to the gods and humans. Evil will return to its rightful place. She raises her hand, summoning a brilliant light of holiness, summoning her god. She is enveloped in a towering pillar of holy energy. The light fades, revealing her adorned in a suit of radiant golden armor, wielding a massive holy keyblade. Kettle, our resident anime critic, notes with approval. Just as I thought, she doesn't get attacked while transforming. Thanks for the insight, buddy. Her transformation is now complete. Aquaz glares at the demon, her eyes filled with determination and defiance, eyes ablaze with pure divine power. A CTR, however, appears completely unfazed. A slight smirk plays on her lips as she simply says, "Interesting." "Fine," she replies, crushing a sphere of dark energy. In her hand, she summons a massive demonic scythe of her own. "Let's do this, dog of the gods." She challenges Aquaz, calling him an insolent wretch as she launches herself forward to attack. The two powers collide in a blinding flash of holy gold and demonic purple. Here we go. The impact creates a significant change, a massive shockwave tearing the battlefield apart. When the dust finally settles, a CTR has caught Aqua's enormous weapon with her bare, clawed hand. She mocks the Inquisitor, saying, "You've lost your dignity in battle. Don't hunting dogs know any better?" Aqua's eye twitches with fury as her rage reaches a boiling point. "Are you done yapping?" Oh, she has stopped barking. Aquaz slams down, cloaked in holy golden light. "I am absolutely ready to confront this demoness." But then, suddenly, a CTR disappears. This revelation shocked the Inquisitor. From the darkness, a voice softly whispers, "I'm here." A CTR lunges from behind and catches the unsuspecting target off guard. Aquas barely raises her golden shield in time. The demon's claws slam into her. She grins and says, "Get crushed," while raising her shield. A massive wave of dark energy erupts, sending our unfortunate Inquisitor hurtling backward across the pavement. Aquas digs her heels in, literally carving a trench. In the street, she is fighting fiercely to withstand this chaotic assault. Her shield begins to crack under the pressure, and naturally, she starts reciting scripture. "For none may trespass upon the light of radiance." A Bible study in the midst of a fight now. That's a bold move. And what do you know? It works. Whoosh! A massive burst of energy fills the air. An explosion of golden light blasts the demoness clean off her feet. Aqua stands there, surrounded by holy fire, delivering a CTR, the ultimate death glare. It's a total anime moment. But a CTR simply gets back up, looking more impressed than anything else. It's impressive that you can read the holy scripture at your age. Aquaz isn't impressed. She simply continues on, praying. Commodon, chapter 5, verse. "Its radiance burned away all that was evil." This time, however, a CTR effortlessly blocks the massive holy blast from her wing, appearing more annoyed than anything else. Feeling hurt, Aqua switches to plan B, brute force. She charges in, swinging wildly, but the demoness is incredibly fast, evading every single strike. The two become a blur of motion, trading blows at an astonishing pace. It's happening at lightning speed. You can barely see what's going on, folks. You can see the difference right here. Aquaz is straining and sweating bullets, while Acidior is grinning as if she's having the time of her life. Their weapons lock in a precise formation, ready for the impending confrontation. A massive clash erupted, followed by a thunderous boom. The shockwave rips through the city. Streets were torn apart, leaving chaos in their wake. Meanwhile, the rest of the party is screaming in terror as they are thrown back by the shockwave. Meanwhile, back at the main event, these two competitors are locked in an intense battle. The powerhouses remain locked in a brutal close-quarters struggle. Then, there's Kettle, watching the entire scene unfold with a big, goofy smile on his face. It's clear he's enjoying the show. Hayes, the cleric, rushes over to him, clearly panicking. "Lord Kettle, can't you help Lady Aquas?" he pleads desperately. Kettle glances down casually and says, "I probably could, but why should I?" Hayes' expression says it all. What on earth, dude? His logic is simple. It's not his problem. So why should he interfere and ruin such a good fight? This guy is definitely not a team player. He even admits that he's eager to fight a demon himself, but for now, he's content to simply watch the show, treating it like pay-per-view. Poor Hayes is completely stunned. His mind has short-circuited. This is not how a hero is supposed to behave. While they engage in that brief conversation, the battle of light versus darkness rages on. Darkness rages on, culminating in yet another spectacular explosion. The CTR deflects another blow and sneers. "So, you truly are God's hunting dog." She's returned to being the dog. "Despite the insults, my strength remains superior." But Aquas catches her off guard, reflecting on the demonic power. One can never truly oppose the gods. Famous last words perhaps. The CTR recognizes that the situation is evolving into a stalemate. If this continues, if she keeps this up, they'll be here all day. She needs an advantage, and she needs it quickly. She pulls a classic move. The villain lunges forward, charging straight at the defenseless party members, the ones who were screaming just moments ago. Aqua screams a warning, trying to intervene, but it's too late. It's far too late. The CTR is simply too fast. The demoness unleashes a devastating attack, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. Her power radiates, causing chaos and destruction in every direction. As her enemies scramble to regain their footing, the air crackles with dark energy, signaling that this is only the beginning of her wrath. She targets the vulnerable adventurers with a sneaky tactic. Once again, the party members scream in agony as holy and demonic energy explodes all around them. They are having a truly terrible day. Aqua's, furious and gritting her teeth, confronts the situation head-on, desperately blocking the blast aimed at her utterly useless comrades. Her eyes glow with pure divine rage as she screams, "Filthy creature!" Now she is truly furious. A CTR laughs right in her face. Did you really expect a demon to play fair? She has a point. That was definitely a rookie mistake. Aquas is absolutely livid. Her eyes glow with power as she begins chanting once more, on the verge of unleashing her ultimate move. And there it is, spitting a holy verse. Aquas unleashes a massive surge of golden energy. She creates a radiant sanctuary, calling out for her completely useless companions to set aside. But watching from the shadows, the demoness observed, Setter is thoroughly enjoying this little show. She mocks them for wasting such a powerful spell, but Aquas, his eyes blazing, simply tells her to be quiet. A CTR simply smirks, clearly enjoying the reaction she provokes. Yes, that's the expression I was hoping to see. Let's get started. The two of them charge at each other head-on. Aqua swings her massive cross-shaped weapon with incredible force, painting the air with a powerful golden arc. The CTR dodges effortlessly, reappearing above her. Death is simply death itself. All right, fine. She closes the distance in an instant, whispering that no one will remember Aquas's noble sacrifice. She delivers a kick, sneering that Aquas will only bring shame to her god. Then comes the classic villain's offer. Drop the pretense and join me, and together we can achieve greatness. A shield, protecting your friends, and perhaps she'll allow her to win. But Aquas sees right through it, calling out her cheap parlor tricks. A wicked smile returns to the CTR. You don't really think you're getting out of here alive, do you? Aquas takes her stance, declaring that she has heard enough of this nonsense. The demoness's grin widens. Fine. Then die like a good little martyr. She unleashes a massive pillar of dark energy, forcing Aquas to brace against the sheer force. And then, suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the room, startling everyone present. CTR appears right in front of her, moving swiftly, faster than the eye can follow. Before she can react, before you can even blink, the demoness strikes. Boom! A massive explosion rocked the area, sending shockwaves through the ground and illuminating the night sky. An explosion of energy sends the unfortunate individuals flying. The Inquisitor is flying backward. Aquas looks up in shock and pain as a CTR approaches, closing in for another attack, moving far too quickly to be stopped. Tendrils of dark energy lash out around Aquas, completely trapping her. She doesn't understand. Her sanctuary should be pushing back the darkness, but instead, it seems to be creeping closer. Feeling completely overwhelmed, a CTR's voice pierces through the chaos. Enough. I'm tired of listening to your god's dull verses. She smashes her fist into Aquas's stomach, shattering her golden aura. As the CTR moves in for a closer look, the atmosphere grows tense, and anticipation fills the air. The team braces for what comes next, knowing that every detail counts in this critical moment. Another hit, and Aquas barely manages to stay afloat. She raises her shield just in time to block, but it's no use. The shield cannot withstand the pressure and ultimately explodes in a cascade of golden glitter. A CTR's energy blade slices through her armor, and she feels the sharp sting of the attack, realizing the gravity of her situation. He catches the shield's crystal core just as Aquas screams in pain, and just like that, Aquas is completely transformed. Defeated, ensnared by dark magic and writhing in agony. With the Inquisitor defeated, the golden dome protecting the others begin to crack and then shatter completely. The party is exposed and filled with terror. It seems like it's game over for them. A CTR grins at them and says, "Don't worry, I'll save you all for dessert." But first, she turns back to Aquas. I wonder what a noble hound of God would taste like. Just as she opens her fanged mouth to take a bite. Bite? A calm voice commands. Stop! A hand grips her face, bringing her to a halt. Cold. It's Kettle. That's close enough. The demoness is utterly stunned, left wondering what? How? Kettle stands there, effortlessly holding her back. She is in disbelief washed over her. She couldn't even sense his presence. With a casual flick of his wrist, he sends the powerful energy soaring through the air. A demoness soars across the square. Bam! Kettle stands over the fallen Inquisitor asking, "Are you all right?" Aquas looks up, completely stunned. She realizes this is the man who defeated Swordmaster Kane. Even as she processes this, a menacing presence reveals itself. Oh, she's back. The demoness glares at the two of them, and she is not happy. Picking herself up from the rubble, she growls, "Insolent barbarian." Her eyes blaze with fury as she screams, "How dare you interfere with my meal?" Kettle coolly crosses his arms and declares, "She's my friend. I can't just let her die." A CTR scoffs, claiming she intended to keep him as a toy. However, Kettle simply states, "I have no intention of becoming your toy." With a wicked grin, she asks, before summoning a massive force with a purple scythe in hand, "Your fate is sealed. You will have to die." But just then, someone appeared. "Step aside." It's Aqua's, and she's adamant that Kettle can't defeat a demon. He assures her that he's strong, but she counters, "No, this is not about being strong or weak." She explains that only divine power can banish a demon, as if it's a fundamental rule of the universe. Especially within a demon's territory, she warns. You can't simply rely on a lucky miracle. Kettle quietly murmurs to himself that only gods can stand against demons. He glances at her weakened state and points out, "But even if that's true, you certainly don't look like you're in any condition to fight." Despite her fatigue, she grits her teeth and reminds herself, "I must do this. I serve the gods, and I stand against evil." Kettle watches her, genuinely impressed. This is the will of someone who serves the divine. "Impressive," he says with a smile, giving a pat on the head. "But leave this to me." Aquaz is completely bewildered by Kettle. Just grinning, "I express my desire to fight a demon myself." A CTR is unimpressed. "You still don't understand. I warned you that you cannot defeat me." Kettle's smile only grows wider. "Would you like to test that theory?" A CTR licks her sharp teeth, reveling in the thrill. "I want to see your eyes twist in agony." She leaps into the air and disappears. In an instant, a wormhole opens right in front of Kettle, and there she is. She plummets toward him, claws extended and a wild look in her eyes. Watching in horror, all the Aquas can do is scream. "No." A CTR grins triumphantly, as if to say, "I've got you now." But hold on. Kettle's fist connects squarely with a CTR's face. Bam! The demoness is sent flying, her head completely shattered. Aqua stands there, her mind completely short-circuited. Aquas is still trying to process what just happened. Did Kettle really just punch a demon's head clean off? Kettle, on the other hand, appears almost bored, standing there as if he's questioning whether what he accomplished was even possible. He glances over at the headless demon and feels a chill run down his spine. His eyes suddenly go wide. Wait a minute. In a surge of dark energy, her entire body regenerates from absolutely nothing. "She's back again," Kettle grins, finding the whole situation fascinating. "So, even if your head is crushed, it regenerates." A CTR is absolutely furious, yet also confused. "What exactly are you?" Kettle scratches his head and delivers the most sarcastic response. "I am simply an ordinary barbarian." She definitely isn't buying that for a second. Don't make her laugh. She can't sense any magic or aura from him at all. He feels like just a regular guy, which makes no sense. He won't talk, so she'll have to force the answer out of him. Suddenly, a creepy demonic face emerges from behind, and Kettle lunges forward, screaming, "Die!" Kettle looks a bit surprised, muttering that her human form makes it feel somewhat awkward to hit her. But with no other option, he delivers a punch that goes right through her. The demon is a formidable presence, lurking in the shadows and instilling fear in all who encounter it. Its dark energy radiates malevolence, drawing in unsuspecting victims. With each passing moment, the tension grows as the demon's true intentions remain shrouded in mystery. Stunned, I couldn't believe what was happening. What on earth was going on? The punch sends her soaring through the air. The impact creates a massive shockwave. A shockwave coursed through her, literally shattering her body into pieces. She crashes to the ground and struggles to get up. I was completely unable to believe what had just happened. She thinks to herself that it was just a simple punch, no aura, no magic. Kettle cracks his knuckles with a smile, signaling that you've regenerated once more. A CDR is sweating profusely, while Ketiel is doing his best to analyze how her power functions. He propels himself forward like a cannonball. She hardly has time to blink before he instantly appears directly in front of her. He unleashes a powerful force. Another devastating event unfolded, leaving a profound impact on everyone involved. The fighter threw a punch, carefully aiming for the target. She aimed for her head once more. Dark vapor seeped from her body, transforming into dark tendrils that she immediately began to pull herself back together. Kettle simply watched, observing intently, impressed as she fully reassembled. Oh, he says with a grin. When the head is destroyed, it generates an entirely new body. I suppose that makes sense for a demon. As he contemplates whether her head is her core, a CTR begins to tremble, a dark aura flaring up around her. She can't believe it. This is absurd. Do you really think you can confront me with brute strength alone? Then she has an idea. Perhaps fighting force with force is pointless. You, she calls out. Me, answers the clueless Kettle. With a wicked grin, she introduces herself once again. Listen closely. I am a CTR, the demon of gravity. She challenges him, asking if he truly believes he can keep facing her armed only with his fists. Kettle is quiet for a moment, then resumes its gentle bubbling. Deadpan, they replied. Well, you don't really look that impressive. That one comment completely shatters her pride, and she loses. Her mind screamed in pure rage while Kettle looked on, confused. Now she is truly angry, and her eyes glow with intensity. She charges forward, her face flushed with determination, ready to unleash her true power. With her weapon now transformed into a powerful tool, she felt a surge of confidence coursing through her veins. With a swift motion of her mallet, she unleashes a wave of gravity magic toward him. Kettle casually raises a hand to block it. The attack comes to an abrupt halt. Not bad, Kettle says, before adding, heavy indeed. With that, he shatters the mallet, sending all that raw power hurtling back at her. He follows up with another message. Punch that, you guessed it, obliterates her head once more. It seems impossible, she thinks. And just like before, her body reforms emerged in a flash of purple light. She can't believe it. She is the demon of gravity, capable of concentrating the weight of a fortress wall into a single attack. She was completely overpowered by a barbarian who hasn't even unlocked his special abilities yet. Kettle watches with genuine curiosity. Oh, you're back again. So, are demons immortal? His casual tone is the final straw, and you can practically see Essiter shaking with pure rage. She unleashes another massive burst of purple energy, screaming in disbelief. Die, barbarian, she shrieks, summoning. A massive claw of dark energy loomed above Kettle. His solution? He clenched his fists and threw a punch straight up into the air. His strike shattered her magic, drilling a beam of pure force directly through her attack. The force struck Essiter directly, resulting in a massive explosion as she screamed in agony. Watching from her holy bubble, Inquisitor Aquaz is left speechless. What am I witnessing, she wonders. She recalls the legends of Essiter, a demon so powerful that she wiped an entire kingdom off the map hundreds of years ago. Yet now, a demon of that caliber is being completely overwhelmed by simplicity. The punches are unbelievable. Once again, Essiter's body twists and reforms in a swirl of dark energy as her regeneration activates. She crashes to the ground, and Kettle casually places his foot on her head to hold her down. Truly unkillable, it seems. He thinks to himself, finally starting to understand the situation. He comes to a conclusion. Pure physical force alone cannot kill her. Hearing him say that, a sharp, wicked grin spreads across Essiter's face, while she lies pinned beneath his boot. Essiter can hardly believe it. This is the first time she has ever felt such pressure. Pinned beneath Kettle's boot, she realizes his strength is on an entirely different level. So what does she do? She begins to laugh maniacally. Essiter screams, demanding to know what he is, while Kettle, cool as a cucumber, simply replies that he is an ordinary barbarian. Yeah, right, Essiter isn't buying that for a second. Don't make me laugh, she snarls. There's just one more thing she'd like to try. A massive wave of dark magic surges forth from her body, surprising everyone. The entire party stands there, completely stunned. The energy coalesces into a dense sphere before exploding, revealing her transformed appearance. With a sinister grin, she tells the barbarian, I will unleash everything with all the power I possess. Suddenly, a barrage of dark energy spears appears, shooting straight for Kettle. But look at Kettle. He's grinning, completely excited about the whole situation. Aquaz, on the other hand, is panicking. Brute strength alone won't secure a victory. She begins to channel her own divine power. A CTR doesn't wait. With a final command, she takes decisive action. She unleashes her attack. Demonic spear, pierce, and kill. The swarm of deadly spears closes in, poised to turn Kettle into a human pincushion. Yet Kettle deflects each attack with ease, not breaking a sweat. Sweat drips down Essiter's face as she stands completely stunned. What kind of monster is this? She shrieks. In a complete whirlwind, Kettle launches himself at her, while the demon struggles to comprehend the situation. Aquaz begins to chant a sacred verse, and that radiance burns away all wickedness. Kettle's axe starts to glow with a radiant golden divine light. Kettle appears genuinely impressed for a moment, intrigued by the shout from below. Power of a god! Strike her down now! Aquaz calls out. He had hoped to observe the demon a bit longer, but he knows time is running out. So long, demon, he says, slashing the axe across her chest. And wouldn't you know it, the holy power cuts right through her. The demon can't believe her eyes. In her final moment, a CTR reflects, I lost. The divine energy completely engulfs everything around it. The demon slams her into the ground. Kettle stands over the crater, smiling. I had fun, he says. What a Chad. As her body begins to fade, she chuckles softly. It's a shame, but it wasn't in vain. I confirmed that something like you exists on the surface. She asks for his name, and before Aquaz can intervene, our boy Kettle simply gives it to her. Aquaz begins to scream, no, don't, but it's too late. Oopsie, was all Kettle could manage to say. A CTR's face breaks into a terrifying grin as she broadcasts a message straight to the underworld. All beings of hell, etch the name of the barbarian Kettle into your memories. Aquaz collapses in despair deep in hell. Countless demonic eyes snap open, all gazing upon our world. A horrifying, writhing mass of eyes emerges. They are concentrating on the entity known as Kettle. Kettle stands there looking confused. A massive demonic figure suddenly appears right in front of Kettle. A voice from the CTR laughs. Barbarian, you now belong to us. The eye monster lunges forward and pierces straight through Kettle's body. Everyone is left stunned, thinking, huh? They can't even penetrate Kettle's body. What on earth is going on? A massive, shadowy hand suddenly reaches out. He plucks it, and poof, it dissolves into dust. Back in the real world, Kettle just received some unexpected news. Blinks, completely unfazed by all of this. What did she just do? He wonders, touching his chest. It felt like something entered my body. The tiny remnant of the demon is horrified, unable to comprehend why its darkness failed to take root. Kettle casually kicks the last remnants of dark energy on the ground away, as if it were just dust. Meanwhile, Aquaz and Hayes are completely losing their minds, screaming in total disbelief. But Kettle is just stretching as if he's finished a morning workout. He jogs, completely relaxed as his energy begins to fade. He turns to his stunned friends with a satisfied smile and asks the only thing on his mind. The request is complete, and you can count on it. Our favorite barbarian friend. While our heroes enjoy a pleasant post-battle conversation, news of the incident is spreading through the Barcan territory like a raging wildfire. A paperboy is shouting at the top of his lungs, Extra! Extra! We have news from the village that went dark! You can bet the citizens are snatching up these papers, their eyes widening in total shock. The headline reveals a massive bombshell. The name Demony Satyr surfaced immediately following the entire Lich incident. Lord Barcan is having a full-blown meltdown, slamming his fists on his throne. He is bewildered, questioning why his small territory has suddenly become the epicenter of a biblical apocalypse. The poor guy can't comprehend it. A legendary demon from the history books has just decided to drop in for a visit. His guard captain reports that the rumors are spiraling out of control. But fortunately, they have some good news to share. The official story, if you catch my drift, is that the Sun God's Inquisitor arrived just in time and successfully expelled the demon. Barcan realizes they are in damage control mode. One wrong move could cause the entire situation to spiral out of control. Meanwhile, Cadell is chatting with her new best friend, inquiring why everyone seems so on edge. Well, it's not a small matter, Aquaz replies. She then asks if Cadell is leaving already, and suggests that she should take some time to rest. But she's all business. No, I can't waste a single second. The Holy Land must know about this immediately. Cadell simply shrugs. All right, if you say so, I'm not going to stop you. But just as he turns to leave, she calls out. His name stopped him in his tracks. She gives a slight bow and says, thank you for saving me. Without you, I would have become that demon's chew toy. Cadell, in his usual style, simply waves it off. There's no need to worry about it. He says it was no big deal. He was just saving a friend. Then he turns back with that $1,000,000 grin and says, hey, we're friends now, right? Aquaz is completely stunned. Her mind has just short-circuited. A barbarian and a divine inquisitor as friends? She reminds him of her title, the Sun God's Inquisitor, as if that's meant to intimidate him. Kettle's response is simply perfect. Is there any reason I shouldn't feel this way? His genuine, honest confusion melts everyone's hearts. Her defenses are crumbling. The guy is just too wholesome. He laughs it off, saying it doesn't matter. A small smile finally breaks through her serious demeanor. You're right. Now that they are officially best friends, Cadell has a question for someone. So, is it truly a bad idea to reveal your name to a demon? Aquaz's expression turns serious once more. It's due to something known as the brand. All right, folks, grab your notebooks. It's time for some lore. She explains that demons use names to carve a dark mark on your soul. It's like wearing a giant neon sign on your back that screams free lunch for every evil entity nearby. If you get branded, you either need a holy power wash to remove it, or you risk becoming demon food. Neither option is ideal. Cadell looks confused as he points to himself, wondering, wait, did I get one of those? Aqua shakes her head. No. Surprisingly, you weren't branded, Cadell. However, she says with a grim look, your name is probably trending on Hell's social media right now. She tells him not to panic. Without the brand, they know his name, but they don't have his address. Unless you encounter them on the street, you should be fine. Cadell finds the entire situation fascinating, particularly that his fists of fury didn't instantly eliminate the demon. Aqua simply sighs. That's just the nature of demons. And here we go with part 2 of our history lesson. Long ago, the gods created humans. Humans often acted recklessly, pursuing their desires without much thought, while the gods shrugged and decided to let them figure things out on their own. Then, some mysterious interdimensional party crashers took an interest in the human world. These beings, now known as demons, crossed over and began causing all sorts of trouble. The gods could no longer sit back and watch their creations be destroyed, so they decided to intervene. Joining forces with humanity, they pushed the threats back to their own dimension. After that, humans constructed numerous churches to express their gratitude to their saviors, and for a time, everything was going well. However, the demons gradually began to re-emerge in the human realm. The gods bestowed some of their power upon their most loyal followers, as only holy power can genuinely harm these beings. Cadell finally understands that they can't be harmed by normal attacks because they are essentially aliens from another dimension. Aqua nods in agreement. Exactly. They were never a part of this world's ecosystem. Cadell realizes it would be a major hassle if these things began appearing frequently. Aqua reassures him that the powerful demons can't just appear at will whenever they choose. However, she reveals that the seal on the demon realm appears to be weakening. Dungeon cycles are disrupted, and monsters are appearing more frequently. This all began about a year ago. Cadell freezes. A year ago, the gears in his head begin to turn as he realizes that was precisely when he was completing his final quest in that snowy field. Snapping him out of his thoughts, Aqua announces that she has to leave. As she approaches the door, she invites him to visit her holy order, assuring him that he will be warmly welcomed. He gives her a warm smile, and I like that. And with that, Aquaz is on his way, riding away in a carriage to deliver a report. Even though she is still recovering, she knows she must get this information to the Saints as soon as possible. As she rides, one question is bothering her more than anything else. Why on earth did the sun god fail to mention anything about that barbarian? But while Aquaz is left scratching her head, another major player is experiencing a very different situation. It's quite a day. We see Swordmaster Cain strolling through the palace, releasing a heavy sigh. He's grumbling to himself that meeting the Emperor is utterly exhausting. Just another typical Monday morning meeting with the boss. And right on cue, a smooth voice from behind him says, "You seem to be having a rough time." Cain spins around to find a seriously striking man with long, flowing hair and an intense gaze. Dark features that evoke a character straight out of a gothic romance novel. But this isn't just any random pretty boy. This is the great master of the Magic Tower, the one who essentially oversees all magic in the world. The master smirks and asks what brings Cain here. Cain, without missing a beat, she throws the question right back at him. The master remains composed, insisting it's just a routine visit. Meanwhile, Cain is present to report on his latest mission, and that captures the master's attention. He remarks, the recon mission to the Demon Realm's Forest of Silence. Right? So how did that go? He asks. Cain's face immediately turns grim. That's not a good sign, folks. He answers with pure dread in his voice, defying everything we know. It was a horrifying place. He flashes back to the forest, a place enveloped in complete silence. Even his magical detection skills proved ineffective there. Imagine this. He could shout at the top of his lungs, yet there would be nothing. No sound, no echo, just silence. It was pure nightmare fuel. One by one, his soldiers vanished into the silence. He sums it up perfectly. It was a deeply unpleasant place. Back in the present, Cain wonders why the Emperor is so obsessed with conquering the demon realm. He concludes that it's just a case of powerful people being a bit unhinged. The master smirks again, acknowledging the fascination of the demon realm, and he appears genuinely intrigued. This man is a walking red flag, but Cain wants no part of it. He expresses, "I hope I won't get dragged into it. I prefer to stay ordinary." With a snap of his fingers, the atmosphere shifts dramatically as the master traps them both inside a massive, radiant magic circle. So much for remaining ordinary. Spatial magic, Kane says, totally stunned. What is this all of a sudden? The master simply grins and strides toward him. There's no need for a formal announcement. You met someone very special, didn't you? That question hits Kane like a truck. The jig is up. Kane quickly realizes that he has been spied on. The eye of observation. When did you place that upon me? The master simply laughs it off, calling it a hobby. A hobby. Kane's response is essentially to tell him to go die. And honestly, I feel the same way. But now the master gets straight to the point. He wants to know. Kane has mixed feelings about the Barbarian from the White Snowfield. He admires the Barbarian's strength and resilience, recognizing the harsh environment that has shaped such a formidable warrior. However, Kane also feels a sense of unease, as the Barbarian's fierce demeanor and unpredictable nature make him a potential threat. Ultimately, Kane respects the Barbarian's skills, but remains cautious, aware that their paths may cross in ways that could lead to conflict. Kane plays it safe, acknowledging that he isn't quite sure what to make of the guy just yet. The master presents the statistics. A barbarian from the demon realm who has defeated both the sword master and the lich, Kratos. That certainly makes it seem likely, doesn't it? Wait, hold up. Kane is shocked. He actually defeated Kratos? The master appears surprised that Kane is only just now learning about this. He explains that, although it isn't public knowledge, yet rumors of Kratos failing his mission began to circulate. Resurrections are already spreading throughout the Magic Tower. Then, folks, the master makes a grand reveal. He is a lich. He claims he even went to pay his respects to his fallen friend. Kane remains completely unfazed, dryly questioning whether a lich can even feel sadness. The master insists that friends are essential for those who have lived as long as he has, but then he mentions Kratos' most valuable asset. The artifact was never found, and he has no leads. I have an idea where it could possibly be. Sure thing, buddy. Setting that aside, he poses the crucial question to Kane. Do you really believe that the Barbarian defeated Kratos? Kane considers it for a moment. I believe it's possible. The Lich's master notes that Kane hasn't informed the Emperor about this yet, and Kane scoffs at the very notion. He calls the Emperor a madman, fearing that if he finds out, a massive war is all but guaranteed over Kettle. A wild barbarian facing off against a control-freak emperor? That's definitely a recipe for tearing the entire kingdom apart. The Lich Master finds the entire concept fascinating, claiming that a barbarian could take on the entire empire alone. Kane isn't certain, but he admits, I felt something similar to what I felt when I first saw you. The Lich Master's eye glows with intrigue. Could it be a hero class? Kane claims he isn't qualified to make that decision, but the Lich Master, he knows that Kettle must be incredibly valuable, having already sold. The expression on his face has Kane feeling anxious. Meanwhile, the guy they're fixated on is simply, he strolled through a bustling market, dressed in his brand new adventurer gear. Suddenly, a woman stumbles over a stone. With lightning reflexes, she is caught before she can even hit the ground. He flashes her his most charming smile and says, "Oh dear, you need to be more careful. Are you okay?" The woman stares at him, stunned. Kettle's first thought is that he has scared her once more. Oops. But to his total surprise, she simply bows, thanks him, and he calmly walks away without screaming or running. There's nothing. Our boy is completely baffled. This has never happened to him before. He's having a typical human interaction for the first time. Another villager walks by him calmly. Kettle's brain completely short-circuits. He is absolutely floored, his mind racing with one simple thought. It's hard to believe, but people seem to have stopped avoiding him. Sometime later, Kettle is enjoying tea with Lord Barkin in his extravagantly decorated office. He's heard the news and is asking if Kettle is all right after nearly being branded by a demon. Kettle simply shrugs it off, insisting there's no issue because he genuinely doesn't even know what a brand is. Barkin is utterly speechless. He knew Kettle was strong, but this is an entirely new level of cluelessness. Kettle notes that things seem to have changed around him. You mean the people? The Lord asks. Yes, the people in his territory. With a sigh, the Lord reveals the truth. It all stems from the rumors. It seems that every Garden mercenary who survived the attack has been talking non-stop. The story they're weaving is legendary. After the Aquas was defeated, everyone else fell apart. Everyone except Kettle. When they woke up, his axe was practically humming with divine power, glowing like a sacred beacon. Now, the entire town is convinced that Aquas personally blessed him with her power, and they are calling him the hero who fought the demon right alongside her. Finally, the single light bulb in Kettle's brain flickers to life. So, that's how it all turned out. Barkin apologizes, explaining that the rumors had already transformed into a full-blown legend by the time he could attempt to set the record straight. Kettle connects the dots, revealing why people stopped running away from him. Barkin agrees. They no longer see a monster. Instead, they refer to him as the demon opponent. Our boy reflects on his cool new nickname. A demon opponent, huh? So this is what it feels like to have a reputation. At the Mercenary Guild, Rosa shares some exciting news. With a beaming smile, she congratulates Kettle on his promotion to C rank. Kettle is genuinely stunned by the C rank. That means he just skipped 3 entire ranks. Rosa beams with pride, telling him he accomplished something truly remarkable for such a significant level. A slow, satisfied smirk spreads across his face. Rosa continues to share the good news. His badge is being reissued, but since it's a custom job, it will take a little time. Our boy is excited. A custom-made badge just for him? Rosa confirms it. Once you reach C rank, you're officially recognized as a real mercenary certified by the guild. She adds that as a C rank, he'll have no trouble waltzing into most capital cities and churches. Except for the imperial capital, of course. Ketal observes that the empire seems quite strict. Rosa agrees, noting that only individuals recognized by the nobles are allowed to enter the empire. She leans in and lowers her voice. Honestly, nobody really knows what's inside. All they hear are creepy rumors, even less than what's known about the demon realm. Kettle looks genuinely concerned. It's that bad. Rosa quickly clears her throat and refocuses on the task at hand. She explains that he can now take on nearly any request available. He can even enter A-rank dungeons as long as he has a party. Ketal's eyes practically light up with dollar signs. The idea of all that new loot and adventure brings a classic smirk to his face. We cut to Alessandro, who suddenly spits out his drink in shock, unable to believe that something like that actually happened. He asks if everything is okay. Kettle replies that the demon is gone and the Inquisitor has given the all clear, so he assumes it's settled. The cleric, Hayes, lets out a sigh of relief as she sits with her companions, including their other party member, Kessan. Kassan is thoroughly impressed as she talks about how incredible the Inquisitor was. However, Hayes slams her hands on the table and screams, "No!" Here's a little secret, folks. Hayes didn't actually pass out during the fight. She witnessed it all. Ketal completely overpowered the demon. Aqua swooped in at the last moment to take credit for a battle that had already been won. Trying to change the subject, Kassan asks Kettle what his plans are now that he's a big shot C rank. Kettle coolly responds that nothing changes for him. He'll continue doing his job, but now as a C rank. Kassan is completely amazed by his humility, believing it's the most impressive thing he's ever encountered. But Hayes is experiencing a full-blown panic attack, reminding himself not to be fooled. That thing is not human. Kettle then turns the question around, asking the others about their plans. Kassan simply shrugs. As F-rank scrubs, there isn't much they can really do. He admits that, honestly, his original life plan was simply to be a freeloader until he died. Now, he wants to try living his best life, just like Kettle. Alessandra scoffs at him, calling him a bottom feeder for only thinking that way now. As the two begin bickering like an old married couple, Kettle shifts his focus to Hayes and inquires about her plan. Flustered, she insists that she'll simply follow her own will. Kettle recalls something Aquaz had mentioned. The moment he utters Aquaz's name, Hayes completely short-circuits. Kettle recalls that most of the servants of Colossia are on break, leaving only the high-ranking ones still active. Hayes begins to sweat profusely. What's going on? She frantically denies everything, insisting that Aquaz must have been mistaken. Kettle, however, calmly accepts her terrible, terrible lie. Internally, she is experiencing an absolute meltdown, convinced that he knows everything. Is he waiting for her to confess, or is he simply toying with her for amusement? The poor girl is now completely and utterly terrified of him. Much later that night at the Mercenary Guild, Rosa is joyfully packing up her belongings, finally ready to clock out and head home. Suddenly, the door creaks open, and a pair of worn-out boots steps inside. Rosa's good mood instantly disappears. "You got to be joking." A mysterious old man in a hood speaks up, stating he has a request. All Rosa can think is one word: overtime. She sighs, attempting to conceal her annoyance, and asks what kind of request he has. The man clears his throat. He needs an escort. The mission involved 2 people, himself and a young girl. Rosa begins typing up the details. 2 people and the destination. The man replies that it is the kingdom of Dinian and its capital. She can't believe it, an escort mission all the way to Dinian's capital from this remote backwater town? That's unbelievable. Her mind races as she observes him. He speaks elegantly, yet he's dressed in rags and concealing his identity. This man is undeniably suspicious. She cautiously agrees to accept the request for now. But first, she tells him that she needs to see some form of identification. The mysterious old man calmly slides across the room, his movements deliberate and measured. A metallic token lay across the table. Raza's eyes nearly pop out of her head. It's a token from a mercenary guild, which is similar to the VIP pass to their world is not easy to obtain. She stamps it as verified and immediately gets down to business. All right, she says, it's time to collect the fee. The old man reaches into his tattered cloak and pulls out, wait for it, one single gleaming gold coin. Raza glances at the coin and then back at him. For this amount, the old man is stunned. Only one? She explains it clearly to him. This is a high-stakes situation. A month-long bodyguard gig comes with its share of risks. The journey to Dinian is anything but a walk in the park. He desperately pleads for at least 2 people. Raza sighs, likely regretting his decision. She reflects on her life choices and suggests that, while it's possible, he'll need to hire from the bargain bin. She tells him that a reliable guard should be at least a D. He may be ranked, but he insists on finding someone skilled, while Rosa remains firm in her stance. He only gets one skilled person for that price. You can see her patience wearing thin as she wonders, what in the world? Why is this guy so desperate? However, she softens her stance slightly. It is, after all, difficult to find anyone willing to take a job from such a remote town. Finally, she agrees to try, but warns him it won't be easy. After he leaves, she notices that the gold coin has been filed down to conceal its origin. This is sure to cause trouble. Later that night, the old man knocks on the door. A woman stands by the door and asks, "Who's there?" He responds, "Your loyal retainer." Ah, so this is that kind of story. The door swings open, revealing a stunning scene. A blonde woman named Elaine greets the old man. Aaron opens the door and lets him in. She anxiously asks how it went. Aaron tells her the meeting was productive and that they made significant progress on the project. The guild accepted the request for now. She feels relieved, but then he asks the million-dollar question, how many mercs are there? Aaron can't even look her in the eye. Just one. Elaine is left in stunned silence. Aaron apologizes, explaining that they are broke. She simply states that it can't be helped, and Aaron begins to react. He blames himself for getting scammed on the road. They try to console each other, but it's clear that both are deeply devastated. Soon, they spiral into full drama, wailing as tears stream down their faces until someone steps in to silence them. Poor kids. She asks how long the search will take, and Aaron responds, defeated. Elaine decides they should simply move on and get some sleep. The classics rely on their strategy. Aaron bows, drowning in shame, feeling like just another failure. It was a night filled with anticipation and anxiety. They're running low on food. Aaron blames himself, but she quickly shuts him down. He insists it's not his fault. Aaron argues that they cannot possibly inform the local lord about their situation. Elaine agrees, even going so far as to hire a single bodyguard, which poses a risk they can hardly afford. Then comes the exposition drop, as she reminds him why they fled their kingdom. They were surrounded by enemies, uncertain of who was a friend and who was a foe. Aaron apologizes again for what he sees as his weakness. Elaine asks if he is sure the Denian kingdom is safe. He reassures her that it is, revealing that the king of Denian broke his oath to protect her. He also warns that their enemies may target Denian because of his assistance. And then he drops the bombshell. You must survive, Elaine Mavrochi, our princess. Just like that, she's royalty on the run. If she fails, their kingdom is doomed. The princess remains concerned, but can we truly trust a mercenary? Aaron takes her hands, assuring her that their gold represents a reliable choice. So who will be her guard? A blush creeps onto her cheeks. Her face lights up as she envisions a handsome, charming hero. Oh, you sweet summer child, you truly have no idea. Meanwhile, that handsome hero is none other than our boy Catal, sprawled on his bed and utterly bored. He reflects on his old companions in the white snowfield. He remembers they were the only ones who stayed close to him. He sighs, guessing they are still off living their typical foolish lives. He suddenly wonders if his quest has come to an end. The system window that had been with him since he arrived in this fantasy land is now nowhere to be seen. He remembers his very first quest, to survive for 1 week in that frozen hellscape. Just survive. At that time, that little blue quest window was his sole guidepost, his only companion in the freezing cold. After finally escaping the snowfield, the quest came to an abrupt halt. Now that things have quieted down, he's finding himself feeling quite bored. He sits up with a jolt as a sudden thought strikes him. Wait a minute, was the system only designed for the white snowfield? As he gazes out at the night, he concludes that it doesn't matter. Thank you for everything, system window, he thinks. Now I'll enjoy this world in my own way. The next day, Kettle returns to the guild, looking sharp in his new gear. Rosa has a job for him, and he perks up at the news. An escort request? Rosa is absolutely beaming, clearly thrilled to have found anyone to take on this ridiculously sketchy job. Naturally, Kettle is curious about what makes this job so special that Rosa is so excited. She lays it out. It's a D-rank request to escort a woman and an elderly man to the capital of the Danian kingdom. Sounds easy enough, right? Kettle is unimpressed. Rosa cautions him that it's a long journey and he will need to manage all the preparations on his own. He knows it will be a hassle, but the pay is worth it. Unusually high. However, there is always a catch. That ominous tone she uses certainly grabs his attention. With a grim expression, Rosa bluntly states that this request is unacceptable. She even tells him he can refuse it. No questions asked, but Kettle just flashes this massive sparkly smile. He grins and tells her that this is exactly what makes it a good job. Rosa's brain short circuits. She knows she will never understand this guy's logic. Not in a million years. He looks back at the request form. The destination, the Danian kingdom. Sounds familiar. A light bulb flickers to life in his thick skull as he remembers Melina Akasha, the enigmatic figure who played a pivotal role in his past. She is the noble lady he rescued from the White Wasteland. She had mentioned that he should visit her if he was ever in her kingdom, and even gifted him that elegant family crest. With a huge smile, he slams his hand on the table. This is perfect. He will take the request. But the moment he accepts, he finds himself facing unexpected challenges. He catches a glimpse of something from the corner of his eye, and just like that, the holographic display appeared. A blue window suddenly appears right in front of his face. Well, look who decided to show up again. It's a new system quest has begun. Escort the client to the Danian kingdom. Our boy is completely stunned. Why has it resurfaced? Why now? Of course, Rosa cannot see it. She only sees him staring blankly into space. Looking a bit strange. Concerned, she asks if he is okay. Meanwhile, in another part of town, an old man named Aaron bursts through a door, filled with energy and determination, revealing a young woman behind him. Elaine immediately panics, fearing that their enemies have finally discovered their location. But Aaron has good news. He announces that the only Sea Crank's mercenary in the entire area has accepted their job. Elaine's face lights up with pure hope at the news of a Sea Crank. He informs her that the meeting is scheduled for tomorrow. Back with Kettle, he continues to struggle with his task, process the return of the system window. He sits alone in his room, contemplating the reasons behind his quest. He had paused when he left the demon realm, but now he was beginning anew. He wonders if the system was flawed, especially for the White Snowfield. Or perhaps, just perhaps, there is something much bigger at play. The following day, a dramatic turn of events unfolded. A storm rolls in as Elaine prepares for the unexpected changes ahead. Aaron arrives at the guild till they encounter their enigmatic guardian. Elaine nervously wonders what he will become. She envisions a sharp, handsome hero, or perhaps a battle-hardened warrior adorned with impressive scars. Regardless, she feels he is going to be really cool. Just then, the door creaked open. It's showtime. Rosa greets the newcomer, while Elaine looks up with breathless anticipation. Her fantasy shatters instantly. Standing in the doorway is not a hero, but a figure shrouded in mystery, embodying both strength and vulnerability. A terrifying, hulking monster with glowing white eyes. Kettle calmly introduces himself, but his demeanor quickly shifts as he realizes the gravity of the situation unfolding around him. Elaine is completely frozen in sheer terror. The shock is overwhelming, and her eyes roll back into her head. She faints on the spot, but fortunately, Aaron is there to catch her. Her guardian glares at Kettle, demanding to know who he is. Kettle finds this quite amusing. It has been a while since anyone here has looked at him with that much fear. He was getting accustomed to his role as a hero. Aaron frantically asks Rosa if this is truly their guy. She calmly confirms it and starts the formal introduction. She announces, "This is the one who will be in charge of your escort, Barbarian Kettlenim." Aaron cannot believe it. A whirlwind of emotions floods his mind as he processes the unexpected turn of events. Barbarian? He immediately demands a different approach. This is absolutely ridiculous. Rosa's expression hardens. "So you are. Are you questioning the decision of our mercenary guild?" she asks. Aaron quickly begins to backtrack, but Rosa is not having it. She tells him that if he doubts them, the contract will be considered void. As they argue, Kettle lets out a sigh. This situation is turning into a train wreck. Suddenly, a voice interrupts. "I'll accept it." Elaine is now awake and ready to take charge. Aaron attempts to reason. She is determined. She extends her hand to Kettle. She formally introduced herself as Elaine. With that incredibly awkward handshake, the journey officially begins as Kettle takes the lead. His clients, however, are practicing extreme social distancing. Really, a lot of distancing. Kettle finally stops and turns around to inquire if it might be going a bit too far back. He thinks it's probably a good idea to stay close for protection, but the two of them immediately start waving their hands as if they're trying to land a plane. We're completely fine, really. With no one around, this distance is just right. Kettle simply shrugs. If they want to be strange about it, that's their issue. He simply turns around and continues walking, leaving to eat his dust. Elaine watches him leave, pondering how she ended up in this situation. Her mind flashes back to the chaos of the mercenary guild from the previous night. Kettle introduced himself with a huge, goofy smile, completely unaware of their sheer terror. Meanwhile, Elaine was certain she was on the verge of having a heart attack. "Just trust me," he said with a grin. "Your safety is fully guaranteed." All she could manage was a faint yes, while feeling as if she were dying inside. Back in the present, she remains unconvinced that this wasn't a terrible mistake. As night finally falls, Kettle announces that it's time to set up camp. He checks in on his terrified clients, asking if they're managing to hold up all right. He notes that it's becoming too dark to see, which is precisely what they intended when they left so late. Aaron nervously agrees, clinging to Elaine's arm as if it were a security blanket. Kettle finally understands that the fear people have of his kind runs deep. He casually reaches for a pouch on his belt to begin setting up camp. Then, with a flourish, he tosses out a magical item, and a full-size tent suddenly appears. Aaron and Elaine's minds completely short-circuit on the spot. "An artifact," they scream. How could a barbarian possess something like that? Kettle is just confused. "Oh, this thing," he asks, looking at the tent. "I got it," he explains, as if it's just a common loot drop after grinding through a bunch of requests. His nonchalant response only intensifies their panic. You can almost see the smoke rising from their ears. He offers them the tent, but Elaine nervously inquires about his intentions. Keto simply scoffs. He's accustomed to sleeping outside, and compared to the white snowfields, this feels like paradise. He grins and says he'll stand watch all night, recalling a time when monsters hunted him for an entire month without sleep. That's a bit too extreme. He simply smiles and tells them to sleep peacefully. Elin quickly insists that they take turns on watch, advising him not to overexert himself. Kettle attempts to refuse, however. They are determined to get a positive response. He believes he's failing to earn their trust. "My friend, they're simply terrified that you'll murder them in their sleep." The next morning, Elin crawls out of the tent, looking like she just wrestled a bear and came out on the losing end. Aaron didn't fare any better. He was essentially just a lifeless husk slumped against the tent. She stumbled out, clutching her stomach as it growled loudly enough to wake the dead. Kettle overheard her conversation and, feeling hungry, asked if he could hang out. "I'll whip something up for you," he offered. Ellen simply stares at him, her mind racing to process what she's hearing. It doesn't make sense. To her absolute shock, the towering mountain of muscle begins to cook with the expertise of a master chef. She can't believe what she's witnessing. A barbarian cooking? Is this some kind of prank? Aaron, practically drooling, yells. He steps out and asks if he has truly learned how to cook properly. Kettle simply shrugs and refers to it as a hobby. He flashes back to the snowfields where his people feasted on raw monster meat. Yum! But our boy was built differently. He chose to transform that monster loot into fine dining. The ingredients were so toxic that they nearly took his life. However, after countless trials and errors, he finally mastered the process. He proudly declares that there is nowhere on Earth where he can't cook a decent meal. Compared to his homeland, cooking here is essentially child's play. He presents them with a beautifully plated shrimp dish, pasta that appears to be straight out of a five-star restaurant. Elin's mind goes blank, and she feels a surge of panic. She claims she doesn't like greasy food. Yeah, right. Instead, she pulls out some dry jerky. Aaron nervously imitates her. Kettle, completely unbothered, states that he feels a sense of shame and begins eating the pasta himself. Elaine watches him, her mouth watering as she craves a bite of that delicious treat. However, her fear and prejudice hold her back. She cannot bring herself to trust a barbarian's cooking. Later, on the third night of their journey, something is clearly wrong with Ellen. She groans in pain, and her feet glow with a sinister shade of red. Aaron rushes to her side, panic evident in his voice. "Your Highness, are you all right?" 3 days. That's how long Aaron has been keeping watch over a feverish Aelin. It turns out the sheltered princess life hadn't quite prepared her for roughing it in the wild. She finally wakes up, managing a weak smile. "Aaron, I'm fine." In fact, she's more concerned about him, noting that they must be exhausted from pulling double duty on watch. But Aaron, ever the gentleman, simply smiles it off. "I'm all right," he says. He even cracks a joke about how old men don't need much sleep. Alan gives him a grateful look before passing out again. The poor girl is utterly exhausted. As he watches over the sleeping princess, Aaron's expression turns grave. He now sees her as family. He makes a silent promise. He vows to protect her, even if it means he may not return. The next morning, however, brings a new set of challenges. The glorious sound of breakfast sizzling. Our dynamic duo is staring, miserably chewed on dry rations, while Kettle grills a 5-star feast right before their eyes. Finally, Ellen has had enough. She leaps to her feet, filled with determination, startling poor Aaron. She announces that she's stepping away for a moment, and Cato, with all the social grace of a rock, they immediately ask, "Bathroom?" He actually apologizes, which completely short-circuits Ellen's reaction. A barbarian apologizing simply doesn't make sense. You can almost see the gears turning in their minds. In her mind, something had just shifted. She turns and begins to walk away. As he watches them leave, Kettle finally feels a sense of relief wash over him. He decides to speak up. "I know you don't trust me," he says, "but I am your escort." He holds up a perfectly grilled steak. A little trust is deserved. Then he gives them his best puppy dog eyes. "I'm human too, you know. I can be hurt." "Oh, he's good." And just like that, the guilt trip hits Aaron like a truck. He's completely flustered, stammering that he understands. But that, Kettle presents the masterpiece. "Here, it's venison. Will you try it?" Aaron is completely hypnotized. You can literally see it in his eyes. He sees the steak reflected in his eyes. The man has surrendered. Meanwhile, Ellen has been busy preparing for the upcoming festival, gathering supplies and coordinating with local vendors. She is determined to make this event a memorable one for the entire community. In need of a refreshing escape, she runs off to a stream, where she cries, struggling to choke down her sadness. Alone, she dries jerky, tackling the task by herself. She's hungry, her legs are aching, and she's at her limit, yet she's determined to stay strong. I realize that Aaron must be having an even harder time. That noble resolve completely shatters. However, when she peeks through the bushes and sees Aaron is happily enjoying that venison, the betrayal. Her most trusted knight, her protector, was caught indulging in the enemy's food. As she whispers his name, her heart shatters. Busted, Aaron drops his fork and immediately begins to panic. "Princess, this is a misunderstanding." Kettle, meanwhile, simply observes the entire situation unfold. The soap opera unfolds with an air of curiosity. Elin storms over and grabs the object firmly. "Aaron, what isn't true? We vow to remain cautious of barbarians." Aaron attempts to explain that perhaps, maybe Kettle isn't so bad after all. But Elan is not having any of it. That's when Kettle cuts in, turning to a startled Elan. "Ah, right. So that's why you wouldn't eat my food after all." He lays everything out, dividing the night watch. "That was because you didn't trust me either, right?" The accusation lingers in the air as our two heroes come to the realization that they have made a significant mistake. Kettle just sighs. He understands. The world seems to hate him. He understands that some other barbarians likely earned that reputation as well. He realizes that claiming he's not a barbarian would be pointless at this moment. Then, a brilliant idea strikes him. A sly grin spreads across his face. "Oh yes, this is." He looks directly at the two of them. "There's one thing you seem to be overlooking here," and with a smile, he drops the bombshell. "I am not a barbarian." And just like that, Kettle lays everything out, leaving his clients were left completely speechless. "Yes, that will do." He leans in, adopting a dramatic tone. "To be precise, I was born a barbarian, but I wasn't brought up that way." Aaron and Elaine are standing there, their expressions a mix of uncertainty and anticipation. Brains are buffering as they attempt to process this new information. Kettle begins weaving a deeply tragic backstory about his tribe was wiped out, and he claims that a noble adventurer raised him. Then, with a perfectly straight face, he closes his eyes and thinks, of course, "I just made all that up." But it doesn't matter. He makes his key point with a charming smile. Though he may be a barbarian by birth, he was raised in a civilized manner. He tries to appear sincere, but his true intentions come to light. The monologue is essentially nonsense, yet it clearly has an effect, as both of them look incredibly embarrassed. Elaine remembers how they treated him well, all because of a single word. She's thinking he must have faced this prejudice his whole life. Despite his struggles in life, he remained nothing but kind to them. Overcome with shame, she offers him a heartfelt apology, admitting that she allowed her fear to take control. Kettle simply hands her a gentle smile. Inside, he envisions success. While Aline is still stewing, he extends his hand. Aline appears somewhat confused by the situation. She takes the handshake, but with the ice. Aline, feeling broken, gives him a big smile. But wait, from the shadows a powerful figure observes them. It is the Tower Master Lich. He's using his observational skills, but he can't hear them. He thinks to himself, yep, Kane was right. That barbarian really is strange. He observes that Kettle appears far more civilized than others barbarians, so naturally he decides to take a closer look. That was a bad move, my friend. The Lich freezes, contemplating whether he just saw me. Elaine sees Kettle come to a sudden stop. He stares into the trees, following the tracks. He says, someone's here. Hold on for a moment. Before she can even ask what's happening, he assures her that he'll return shortly. Then, with a powerful thrust, he launches off the ground. In an instant, he closes the gap, appearing right above the completely stunned crowd. Lich had a surprise party planned for his friend, and the excitement was palpable. Friends gathered secretly, decorating the venue with balloons and streamers. As the clock ticked closer to the big moment, everyone held their breath, waiting for the guest of honor to arrive. When Lich finally walked in, the room erupted in cheers and laughter, his face lighting up with joy and disbelief. It was a night filled with fun, games, and heartfelt memories, a perfect celebration of friendship. The Lich panics and quickly conjures a fire shield. As Kettle crashes down on him, the entire forest erupts in a chaotic explosion. He's in disbelief. That barrier was unexpected. As the dust settles, he sees Kettle standing there, completely unscathed. Before the Lich can react, the Kettle slams down with a loud thud, his face pressed into the dirt as he growls, warning not to do anything unusual. The tough act of the guy vanishes instantly. He suddenly starts screaming, the first thing that comes to mind. I admire you, Sir Kettle, which leaves our boy completely baffled. After obtaining the man's name, Patrick Kettle simply drags him along. Back at camp, like a mischievous kitten, Elaine is feeling extremely confused. Kettle. He casually explains that he wasn't sure what to think. He was stalking us, and then suddenly declared that he was my biggest fan. Held up by his own ambitions, he struggled to balance his personal desires with the expectations placed upon him. Collar, Patrick launches. In this entire explanation, Kettle is portrayed as his hero and role model. However, we know he's bluffing. His inner monologue reveals that he simply wants to get closer to his target. But Kettle isn't convinced. He can't simply allow this to happen. A supposed fanboy can't go without some proof that he's not a threat. And just like that, Kettle comes up with a wonderfully terrible idea. With the suspicious mage still in his grip, he lets out a menacing grin and says, this should do it. Our poor Lich is left completely stunned, his mind racing with the question, what is happening right now? And Kettle's wonderfully terrible idea, he simply ties the guy up one of the greatest mages in the world. Our poor Lich had an elaborate Patrick disguise prepared for his big spy mission. He truly believed he was being clever, and that brilliant plan has officially hit a snag, a very, very significant snag. Kettle gives the rope one final sharp tug, looking far too proud of himself. Yes, that should suffice. Then he turns and announces, all right, let's go, dragging his new captive along as if he's taking a very confused poodle for a walk. Patrick's face turns completely white as he's being dragged through. The forest feels heavy, like a sack of potatoes, and his dignity is taking a significant blow. He lets out a deep sigh. This has never happened to him before. But hey, silver lining, he gets a front row seat to the Kettle show. As he is being dragged, his mind drifts back to the report he received from Swordmaster Kane. He recalls every detail about Kettle's incredible speed and his raw power, capable of literally punching magic into oblivion. Even in this weakened human body, Patrick is quite confident that he could take on a superhuman. He begins to wonder if Kettle is truly a legitimate hero class. At last, Alan chooses to voice his thoughts. Lord Kettle, I have something to share with you. Kettle looks back and says, "Oh, so you're finally ready to spill the beans?" Alan is taken aback that Kettle was aware she was hiding something. All the nighttime sneaking around was a clear indication. Kettle simply nods. It's clear to see. Alan looks completely caught. He acknowledges that he understands why it was difficult for them to trust him. Alan sincerely apologizes and is ready to share everything. She even offers him an out, saying he can completely back out of the quest if the full story feels too overwhelming. Just as she's about to reveal everything, Kettle interrupts, saying, "Wait, we have company." At that moment, a rustle comes from the nearby bushes. Elaine flinches, realizing they are definitely not alone. Emerging from the foliage, two heavily armored knights stand ready for battle. As more knights surround them, Kettle simply looks at Elaine. It seems they're here for you. Elaine is completely stunned. The head knight introduces himself as Sir Cedric, a figure of great authority and respect among the knights. Captain Lucento Eidenheimer greets her as Princess Elaine of the Lucian Kingdom. The mage, still tied up on the sidelines, hears this, and it clicks. The Lucian Kingdom? This just became much more intriguing. Captain Lucento steps forward, explaining that they have been searching. Everywhere he looks, the king is worried sick. He pleads with her to please come with him, but instead of relief, Elaine's face is filled with pure, unadulterated terror. The captain then turns to his crew. Kettle essentially states that, "Thank you for taking care of the runaway, princess. We'll handle it from here." But Elaine simply replies with one word, "No." This shocks everyone. Yet Elaine continues. Lucento looks completely transformed. Elaine clenches her fists, overwhelmed by confusion. Her fists clenched, demanding once more, "Who are you?" He begins to stammer his name, but she screams, "Don't make me laugh. I know the real captain, and you're definitely not him." She accuses the imposter of having taken over. In the castle, he confronts her, demanding to know what he did with her real parents, having replaced her friends and family. Meanwhile, Patrick is occupied with his own tasks, making small gestures behind the knight's back. He weaves some magic to put the knight in check, but is shocked to discover that he is completely human. Elaine continues to scream at the knight, her voice echoing with frustration. "You want to devour me too and take over our kingdom, don't you?" Tears stream down her face, but her voice remains steady. "I am pure steel, and I will never let that happen. I will avenge everyone who has vanished." The knight captain listens intently to her entire speech. After a moment of silence, he lets out a big, dramatic sigh. He turns to everyone and says, "Did you hear that? The princess is delusional." Elaine explodes in a fit of delusion, but she calmly advises her to consider the situation rationally. "Are you suggesting that everyone except you has changed? Do you truly believe that's possible?" Just like that, her confidence begins to waver. He tells her she needs immediate treatment. He extends his hand and says, "Your Highness, let's put an end to this and join us." Trapped and out of options, Elaine's hope began to fade and crumble. She whispers a desperate plea, begging for help. Just then, a voice interrupts, asking, "What are you doing?" Elaine looks up to see Kettle stepping directly between her and the knight. The captain glares at him, commanding him to step aside, but Kettle just stands there. He smirks, standing his ground. "Yeah, I'm afraid I can't do that." Elaine stands by, utterly stunned. Lucento is not impressed. He glares at Kettle, demanding that he step aside immediately, but Kettle stands firm. "I'm afraid I can't do that." Lucento's expression darkens as he warns, "If you won't move, I'll have no choice but to use force." He doesn't wait for a reply. The commander charges, swinging his massive sword directly at Kettle's head. The attack is halted abruptly as Kettle seizes his face. With a casual flick, he sends the commander flying. The other knights can only stare in absolute shock as if their minds have just blue-screened. "Commander," they stare at Kettle and ask, "What are you doing?" He points out the obvious. "You attacked first, and my responsibility is to eliminate threats to my employer." Meanwhile, Lucento struggles to his feet, clutching his side after being winded from that throw. Realizing he can't win through brute force, he decides to try a different approach, attempting to manipulate Kettle into believing that the princess is delusional. However, Kettle isn't buying it for a second, responding, "You still don't seem convinced. Do you understand? It's my responsibility to trust my employer." Elaine watches him, and for the first time in a long while, a flicker of hope shines in her eyes. Negotiation has failed. Lucento growls, "You're all insane." Kettle simply smiles back at him, saying, "Well, that's not for you to decide." He then turns to Elaine, who seems a bit unsure. Startled, he notes that they appeared without any warning. She has no idea what that means, so Kettle simplifies it. Suddenly, these guys appeared out of nowhere. The light bulb goes off for both Elaine and our team. The captured lich, Patrick, poses a significant threat. This is not good. Kettle turns back to the knights and asks, "So, how did you?" They appear so suddenly, and then they just give him the silent treatment. Lucento tries to brush it off, but does it really matter? Stop being so particular and surrender the princess. Kettle's eyes narrow, revealing that you won't answer. "Fine, I'll be the one to escort her to the kingdom of Denayan," he declares. Tears well up as she realizes she now has someone in her corner. She recalls how no one, not even her own family, ever believed a word she said. Lucento has had enough of all this talking. His hand moves to his sword. It's go time. Kettle calmly instructs everyone to stand back. He's got Elaine, now fully trusting him, pleads with him to be careful. They were the mightiest men in the kingdom. Meanwhile, Lucento commands everyone to draw their swords. Kettle cracks a smile, and he looks genuinely excited. From the sidelines, Patrick scans their stats. The knights are considered second tier, yet each of them possesses the ability to wield mystic arts. Their commander, however, is top tier. Lucento gives the order, take down the Barbarian. You are permitted to kill him. Like a pack of wolves, the knights surge forward, encircling Kettle in a whirlwind of steel. He stands there as a wave of purple energy ripples outward from him. The real fight begins now. Kettle immediately begins dismantling them with brutal efficiency. Kick, block, done. He unleashes a shockwave from his body, effortlessly sending several armored knights flying. As they hit the dirt, Kettle casually adjusted his stance. Group attacks and negative comments can be quite troublesome. Lucento is furious, screaming at his men to keep attacking without pause. 6 knights leap into the air simultaneously, aiming to crush Kettle from every possible angle. However, that won't work. Kettle transforms into a whirlwind, catching and throwing each knight as they land. Finally losing his patience, Lucento charges in himself. His sword glowed green. Die, you monster! Elaine screams in terror, believing this is the end for her new protector. As the glowing blade descends, Ketal catches it between his teeth. Lucento's eyes widen as he watches the man break down. It's clear that his mind is shutting down. With a loud crunch, Kettle's eyes flash purple as he shatters the enchanted steel with his jaw. The force propels Lucento backward. Kettle simply stands there and asks, "Do you want to keep going?" The remaining knights are all on their knees, completely defeated. Defeated and trembling, Lucento orders the retreat. And just like that, poof, they're gone. Just like that, the kettle is empty. He turns back to check on everyone. He tells Elaine that he'll finish the job. However, first, he needs to know the entire story, no more secrets. With a determined look, she agrees, saying, "Of course, I'll tell you everything." While everyone else is recovering, Patrick is experiencing a full-blown existential crisis. Sawara is meant to be an unstoppable force, yet Kettle managed to catch it with his teeth. Patrick stares, realizing that this guy's body isn't just strong, it's a powerful physique that can nullify all forms of magic. Ketal's entire existence remains a mystery. Later, once everyone is settled around the campfire, Kettle he pops the question. "All right, Spiller, what's the story?" Aaron's expression turns serious as he reveals shocking news. He informs Kettle that their entire kingdom has been replaced. He says that by the time he and the princess figured it out, the entire place had already been taken over. Kettle quickly puts the pieces together. "So that's why you all left in such a hurry." Aaron confirms it. If they had stayed, they would have been next on the list for a body snatcher makeover. He claims this strange behavior began about a year ago. That precise timing causes Kettle's ears to perk up. 1 year ago, Ketal reflects on the moment when the Inquisitor Aquas referenced that same time frame. He recalls her warning, "The seal of the demon realm is leaking, and dungeons are emerging. Evil things have been appearing everywhere, all starting 1 year ago." That's far too specific to be a coincidence. That's exactly what that strange guy was rambling about during his last quest. He dismissed it as just crazy talk back then, but now it seems there might have been some truth to it. Aaron continues, explaining that they had no idea where these distortions even began. They even brought in powerful mages and mystics to assist. Help, but every single one of them was replaced. Kettle seems fascinated by all of this. He then asks how Aaron was able to identify the fakes. Aaron admits that it's difficult to put into words. He simply feels it. The very air surrounding the replaced individuals feels unsettling. He can't shake a deep sense of wrongness, even when they are acting perfectly normal. He didn't believe the princess at first either. That was until impossible things began to happen. And so begins story time, folks. Aaron takes us back to the time when he was managing the castle's servants. He mentions a maid named Kathy, a shy girl who was afraid of just about everything, particularly ghost stories. He admits that he used to prank her and tease her with scary stories constantly. But then one day, Kathy simply stopped, reacting with calmness. There would be no more screaming and no more fear. At first, he believed she had finally found her courage and moved on. However, the real red flag emerged later. A part of Kathy's job involved cleaning the enormous castle statues, which terrified her. One day, her worst nightmare came true when a massive stone statue crashed down right on top of her. By some miracle, she wasn't seriously hurt, but it was a situation in which she absolutely should have died. And here's the unsettling part. Kathy showed no fear at all. Her only concern was the possibility of being punished for breaking the statue. In that moment, Aaron realized the significance of his choices and the path that lay ahead of him. The person standing in front of him was not the real Kathy. Kettle sums it up perfectly. A girl who was once afraid of everything suddenly ceased to fear death. It's quite intriguing. Aaron observes that, on the surface, she played her role flawlessly. He felt similarly, but deep down he understood that the real Kathy was truly gone. After that, he began testing others in the castle and soon realized that most of them were already counterfeit. Kettle asks if that's why they ran, and Aaron confirms it. They realize they would be next if they stayed. Kettle then poses the next logical question. Why specifically run to the Denian kingdom? Elaine finally speaks up. As only the king of Denian has the authority to issue what is known as a human declaration. She starts recounting an ancient legend from an era when humans coexisted with numerous other races. One man sought a kingdom for himself and for humanity. He struck a deal with a nameless god. In return, the god granted him a single powerful ability, the power to discern what is human and what is not. With this newfound power, the man established a kingdom that eventually evolved into the Denian kingdom we recognize today. Elaine concludes by explaining that only the descendants of the founder are permitted to perform the human declaration. Kettle smiles, realizing that something like that actually exists. This world is never boring. He assures her that it's a solid plan. Elaine looks up at him. With tears in her eyes, she asks if he is certain he wants to continue. He simply offers her a warm smile. Nothing's I made a promise to escort you, and I'm keeping it. Overwhelmed with relief, Elaine clasps her hands together and expresses her heartfelt gratitude to him. She then makes a significant promise. If he fulfills her request, she will grant him any wish his heart desires. Kettle smoothly accepts, saying he looks forward to it. This revelation makes Aaron's jaw drop in sheer panic. Later that night, Patrick approaches Kettle and asks the million-dollar question is whether you truly believe her story. Kettle steals a glance at him. Not entirely. I believe she is telling the truth. Patrick pushes back, noting that the turquoise knights they fought were undeniably human. Kettle nods in quiet agreement. I agree with him as well. Patrick outlines the stakes for Kettle, warning him that he's about to make an enemy. For an entire nation, simply knowing their secret is a death sentence. He asks directly, are you really just doing this to fulfill a simple contract? After a long pause, Kettle finally admits, well, that's part of the reason. However, a massive, insane grin spreads across his face as he reveals his true motivation. He believes it would be a significant waste. To miss out on something so exciting leaves Patrick utterly speechless. Kettle makes it clear. He's in this for the sheer chaotic enjoyment of it all.